This man has a unique power. Slaying monsters lets him steal their stats, absorbing their life force. Or he would have been pulp. Terrified, he lay still, muffling his own frantic breathing. After getting a clear look at their faces, Yuan recognized the blonde. You're Lai, right? Yeah. So, this is our spot? This is great, Yuan said, his mind racing. This is Lai, the pretty boy I met in the dorms right before the entrance ceremony. Our first encounter was memorable. In the dorm, Li's greeting had been the point of his sword aimed at his throat, shouting, "Who goes there?" Feeling the cold steel, Yuan's eyes widened. Hey, in this uniform, who else would I be? I'm a new student, your roommate, he snapped, startling Lai, who realized his reaction was overly aggressive. Oh, sorry, just came from my practical evaluation. I'm still on edge. You okay? Yeah, he replied, though annoyance still simmered. He thought, he looks like a prince from some fairy tale. A bit of a hothead, but he apologized, so whatever. Before Yuan could mention his own test against a blind goblin, Lai scoffed, his voice laced with arrogance. That was your practical evaluation? Any rookie can hunt a goblin. My opponents in the practical test were an entire army of ghouls and ogres. He thought, they're blind, hypersensitive to sound and movement. With a fervent tone, he recounted his glorious feat, making Yuan's blood boil, forcing him to take a moment to rein himself in. Not bad, but this guy has zero tact. Regardless, the tension in the main character's face eased. Ah, speaking of, we haven't even washed up and we're just talking away. It's been a while since I've had someone to talk to. Me too, Lai nodded. Right after, the guy grinned, pulling off his shirt, revealing a lean, powerful build. All right, let's go shower. This bathroom is shared, right? We can keep talking while we shower, he suggested. On the other hand, Lai suddenly turned completely red. You go shower first, Yuan. Huh, he turned back, but Lai was too embarrassed to look him in the eye. I'll go shower later, Lai stammered, earning a suspicious glance. Back in the present, he told himself. Time erases awkwardness. Besides, this is the special student area, so those two must be. With that thought, he turned to greet them. Hello. Hi, the pink-haired girl replied, and seeing her innocent and adorable appearance, and they're already cornering their prey. I'll be found. So, you hurled 2 stones into the distance to misdirect them. Yuan was stunned by the sheer contrast. So cute. It's nice to meet you, he repeated. He then turned to the silver-haired girl. Oh, right. You too. Greetings. Across from him, the girl with striking black eyes stared intently at Yugun, unsettling him slightly. What is it? He asked. That thing coiled around your arm is interesting, she stated calmly, and he knew exactly what she was referring to. Without hesitation, he summoned the small serpent. This? You mean this? You can all see it, right? Seeing W's curious appearance, all 3 of them were captivated. Even the typically cold silver-haired girl blushed with fascination. So cute. This snake was that item from before, correct? It's only been a few days. How did it change so much? Lai questioned. Can I touch it? It looks so adorable, the pink-haired girl wished. The silver-haired girl then spoke, introducing herself. I'm Du Jo, daughter of a martial master. And your name? Ah, I'm Yuan, the main character replied. He then asked, but what is a martial master? Is it some kind of martial arts? Like projecting energy blasts? Then seized the opening, while one was turned, to crush its skull with a heavy rock. At this question, all 3 girls began to giggle, leaving him confused. Even Du Jo was shaking so hard, she had to cover her mouth. Your understanding isn't entirely wrong. Really? Since this is a fantasy world, a martial world existing isn't strange, he said with a laugh. The pink-haired girl also introduced herself. I'm Ruo. It's nice to meet you. I'm Alan. You all can just call me Lai. A pleasure to meet you, Dujo, Ruo, and Li said with a bright smile. However, immediately after, Dujo turned away with scorn, earning an eye roll from Lai. Seeing this, Yuan just offered a wry smile. It seems the ceremony is about to start. He spotted the beautiful Professor Yuma seated on the stage. Oh, Professor Yuma is over there, he exclaimed, which made Lai curious. Did Professor Yuma counsel you, Yuan? Yeah, you see, Lai. Before he could finish, the hall's lights shifted, and the roof began retracting, revealing the sky above. The ceiling. It's opening up. What's happening? The bewildered group exclaimed. Suddenly, a cold voice shattered the silence. Blinded by rage, the creature swung its club wildly behind it, accidentally smashing its own teammate. All of you, focus here. That authoritative voice brought an immense, terrifying pressure down on their shoulders, making them tremble in fear. What is this? Where is this pressure coming from? Yuan wondered, his heart pounding with confusion. Still, he gritted his teeth and forced his gaze toward the source of the voice. High above, a colossal entity appeared as the voice continued to resonate. The 2557th entrance ceremony of the Union Academy now officially begins. The entity was a giant eye, a high-level, enigmatic being. Time passed, and Professor Yuma started to greet the group of students. Quite impressive, wasn't it? The headmaster's speech was truly memorable, she said, with a radiant smile. However, the students were still reeling from the aftershock of that terrifying presence. No one reacted. Only Yuan calmly sipped his tea and nodded. It was very impressive. That giant eyeball is the headmaster. His question stunned the entire group. They turned to him in astonishment. Yuan, you saw that eye? You dared to look up? He then yelled. The prey is fighting back. Get it. The goblin that was just struck. The pressure was so crushing, most of us couldn't even lift our heads. It was terrifying. His growth is like a real-life Manhwa level up. A bit taken aback. While he felt the pressure, it wasn't the crushing force they described. At that moment, Dyoko stared intently at Yuan, trying to discern how he could face such a formidable entity directly. That being used a unique method to conceal its true form, so how could he possibly perceive it? Under her scrutinizing gaze, Yuan felt uneasy and quickly explained. It was just a feeling. Like a giant eye was looking down on us. Meanwhile, Professor Yumina steered them back. In any case, that is the headmaster. Unless you achieve something extraordinary or cause trouble, you will rarely meet him again. However, it appears you might meet him privately, Yuan, she said with an amused look, making Yuan feel a bit exasperated. Why does that sound like a curse, Professor? He muttered. Yumina covered her mouth and laughed. As your supervising professor, your achievements are also my own. From now on, thinking the enemy was in front, delivered a devastating swing. And just like that, he had dealt with the two goblins. I expect your absolute best. Hearing this, Lai looked surprised. So, Professor Yumina will be in charge of us? That's correct, she replied, pouring a cup of tea as she spoke. This new information left Lai stunned. One of the Academy's 9 official professors is in charge of us, he thought to himself. After setting down her teacup, Yumina formally began. I haven't properly introduced myself, have I? I am Yumina, a professor in the combat magic department, assigned as the homeroom teacher for this class, Class 11. Let's strive together for the next 5 years. Lai asked, surprised. Aren't teaching assistants usually in charge of lower-level students? Yumina nodded. Correct. However, you all are a special batch of students, so I am taking this role. At this, she marveled internally. It's so very special that I wonder how only individuals like you were chosen. As if remembering something, she turned with a grave expression and warned, beware the obstruction and malice from the regular students. Hearing this, Smart Move saved his skin. But wait. The smaller goblin was somehow still breathing. Yuan was initially surprised, but quickly grasped the hidden meaning. The obstacles and malice she mentioned weren't just academic rivalry, but also brutal physical conflicts and confrontations between students. If these issues escalated beyond the school's sanctioned competitions, even the professors could not intervene. To survive the race against others, you must be strong enough to overcome all obstacles and malice. If not, from now on, the 4 of you will operate as one unit. You are special students, a unique breed. This isn't some simple Manhwa level-up tale. You are teammates, conquering the tower until graduation. Alright, that's enough. The Academy has prepared a small gift for you. Rules and details will be explained after you receive the item. As she finished, she snapped her fingers, and a brilliant item materialized before the group, leaving them astonished. It was a pendant. Is this for student identification? It just looks like a normal necklace. Use it for identification and to access all of the school's facilities. Pinned beneath its dead teammate, unable to move. He ended its struggle with a club. It also allows you to teleport within the Union campus. To test the teleportation function, they mumbled the activation phrase. The incantation was, Professor Yumina is so beautiful. The instant the words were spoken, the trio was violently ejected. Professor Yumina is so beautiful, Lu yelled, his eyes wide in shock. Then, they warped straight back to their starting point. Regarding the chant, the 3 of them could only stand in awkward silence, unsure what to say about Professor Yumina. Unbelievable, the group sighed. We need this identification pendant to even enter the tower, so, like it or not, we have to protect it, Lai stated, while hastily securing the pendant in his pocket. Across from them, the pink-haired Ruo wondered, but why were you the only one held back? Who knows? Lai replied with a shrug. Maybe he sensed that terrifying presence. Hoso voiced her theory. As she spoke, she recalled Professor Yumina's recent phone call with someone. No, we have prepared a tea party. Tragically, among all the students, he was the lone individual who could look directly at the headmaster, sending it into the abyss. Suddenly, cryptic golden runes bled from their corpses, swirling around him. The scene shifts to the headmaster's office. You sat there, still as a statue. What is this? A private meeting with the headmaster on my very first day. I haven't done anything wrong, have I? You thought, bewildered. Noticing his anxious look, the headmaster spoke. Look directly at me. My physical form isn't present right now. The voice emanated from a small doll sitting on the desk. Hearing this, Yu finally dared to meet its gaze, and asked, The headmaster? No. I am the chairman. You may call me teacher, he instructed. Yes, teacher, Yu replied swiftly. The chairman then got straight to the point. I should explain why I've summoned you. I don't normally interfere in a student's development. Whether they grow strong or remain weak, live or perish in the tower, it is of no concern to me. My sole purpose is to witness with my own eyes the one who finally reaches the tower's apex. Everything else is utterly meaningless. Upon hearing this chilling declaration, Yu fell silent. In truth, the tower is the legacy of my ancestors. The Bee clan was destined to reclaim it, with all its power and glory. I would sacrifice my life to take back the entire tower. But facing the chairman, a surge of raw power. By absorbing physical points, a notification window materialized, stating the Code of Babylon was unlocked. Facing these other students, what does the tower mean to them? Why must they come to this dimension to conquer it? Unable to contain his curiosity, Yu finally asked, Sir, what exactly is this tower? Hearing the question, the chairman paused for a few seconds, seemingly surprised by his student's inquiry. Then he slowly answered, The tower is the path to godhood, and a great trial. The gods? Are they the same ones everyone speaks of? This is growing more and more complicated, Yu muttered to himself, his thoughts a tangled mess. Meanwhile, the chairman continued, Normally, I don't interfere with student hardships, but this time is an exception. I see in you a vast potential, the greatest I have ever witnessed. I will make special arrangements to aid your preparation for conquering the tower. As he finished speaking, the arm of the small doll on the desk lifted, firing a strange beam of light that merged directly into Yu's identification pendant. What is this? Yu exclaimed, startled. The chairman quickly explained, activating the ability to absorb and analyze concepts. It let him steal power from monster corpses to grow stronger. I have expanded your exploration privileges far beyond the Academy's borders. You can now freely access any dungeon. Use your time to sharpen your skills before you challenge the tower. Outside the Academy, you pressed on, still filled with doubt. That is correct. You should go now. Remember, improve your skills before climbing. If you perform exceptionally, I will grant you the next privilege. As he spoke, a portal instantly erupted beneath Yu's feet, swallowing him whole. The next privilege? Yu exclaimed in shock. Indeed. It is the right to explore the tower alone. I await our next meeting. As soon as the words were spoken, Yu was ejected from the room, falling right into the arms of instructor Yuma, who was waiting. Did your meeting with the headmaster go well? Yuma asked with a bright smile. Yu looked up, but his view was obscured by two prominent peaks. Embarrassed, he scrambled back and stood up. The headmaster often dismisses his guests like that. Strange, is it not? Yuma shrugged and smiled, while Yu dared not look at her directly. Yes, he replied shyly. Brimming with new confidence, he set out to clear this dungeon alone, a greedy smile on his face. He has been anticipating your arrival from the very beginning, Yu. After composing himself, Yu recounted his conversation with the headmaster and his promises, leaving Yuma completely astonished. My goodness, allowing a student to leave the academy. That is an unbelievably huge privilege, Yuma exclaimed. Is it truly that significant? Yu asked again, still filled with questions. He said, I need to quickly improve my deficient skills. It is monumental. You can freely raid dungeons outside the tower, and even journey to other cities. This means you will have far more experience and preparation than anyone else. No student has ever received this right before, Yuma explained, making you realize the immense weight of this favor. Haha, so that's it. Not weakness, but a chance for a true Manhwa level up. What a relief, Yu chuckled softly. Yuma continued, her voice laced with a hint of jealousy. You are so fortunate, Yu. I'm incredibly jealous. We instructors are normally too busy to go out now. Is that so? Yu asked. It is. Since Union is an academy, everything is student-centered, making it quite inconvenient for us instructors. Time to grind some stats. Before long, he had cleared the entire dungeon, goblin corpses strewn across the floor. With this privilege, you can raid dungeons, visit cities, and even go shopping. You can also eat any snacks you desire. I am so envious. The more she spoke, the closer her face loomed with a very peculiar expression, causing the young man to break out in a cold sweat. Perspiring heavily, Yuma finally revealed her true agenda. There is a truly beautiful city you must visit. It is called Ronica, and the spring temple there is absolutely. Not waiting for his instructor to finish, he quickly interjected, afraid she might devour him whole. Professor, how about I purchase a gift for you? Time flew by, and the scene shifted to a location outside the academy. Yu was now on his way to complete the errand Yuma had assigned, recalling her instructions about the honeymoon wine, brewed by monks, famous for its sweet scent, thick foam, and an enchanting finish. Buy me 1. No, 2 bottles. Okay? The spirited instructor said, her eyes gleaming like beacons as she entrusted this great responsibility to the new student. Yu could only sigh internally. A professor sending a student to buy spirits? A notification appeared. Congratulations, you have passed the test. He thought he could finally go home. This world was certainly full of surprises, but fortunately, I already possess an item inventory. As he said this, he opened it, his bag, a satisfied look on his face, when he suddenly discovered an item inside. Ah, this is the thing my grandfather gave me before enrollment. Yu stared intently at the item bag, its rarity completely unknown. Flashing back to before enrollment day, as Yu prepared to leave, his grandfather approached, carrying the bag. Are you ready, Yu? Yes. I'm mostly set. Did you rest well? Yu replied, and his grandson's answer made the old man set the bag down with a heavy thud. Open it, take what you want. What is it? Yu asked, curious. Just open it, and you will see. His grandfather laughed with a knowing look. The moment he opened the bag, a brilliant golden light erupted, nearly blinding Yu. Whoa, it's all pure gold. Can I really take some? Yu asked, astonished. Haha, don't you worry. This is the family fortune, left by our ancestors for the sole purpose of finding the Tower of Babel. It is all yours now. Use it however you wish, his grandfather said with pride. Yu was so moved he began to weep, but no such luck. He materialized in a dorm at Union Academy, given a uniform, and while he normally looked plain, thank you, grandfather. This will help immensely, but it looks a bit hard to carry, no? He stammered. Why would it be difficult? The old man retorted. Just by looking, it appears heavy, Yu complained. You foolish boy, the old man yelled, annoyed. Back in the present, after opening his inventory, Yu threw all his personal belongings into the bag. Having item storage is so convenient, Grandpa said. Gold is valuable everywhere, so I will just take a few bars. All right, I'm all set. Time to step into this new world, Yu said, looking at the modern city before him as he began to walk into it. He was amazed by the level of development here. Oh, even though this is another dimension, the cityscape is quite similar, isn't it? While he was lost in thought, Yu suddenly saw people on flying vehicles in the sky and immediately fell silent. No, it's very different after all. This is like a real-life manhwa level up. What is that? It's flying. How is that possible? He thought, excited. But his unfamiliar appearance had already drawn the attention of some nearby guards. Hey, you there. Where are you from? Yu turned. The gear made him an entirely different person. He then went to meet a teacher, a green-skinned elf, but before he could explain, the two guards recognized his uniform, and their attitude instantly changed. Oh my goodness. Are you a student from Union Academy? Hello. We are the border guards of Ronica City's west side. They stood at attention and saluted. Yu felt awkward at their intense reception. Just because I'm a Union student? He scratched his head and said, Hello, I am Ban Yuan, a first-year student at Union Academy. Afterward, both of them turned to him, their faces filled with curiosity. Still, how did you manage to arrive here, Ban Yuan? Did you receive permission from the principal already? That is correct, he said. I was given freedom to explore, Yu replied with a nod. I understand. It is thanks to the principal and teachers that our city is so peaceful today. We are eternally grateful to them, the two said with a smile, making Yu reassess the true power of this academy. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. And for Yu, a boy still so unaware, how could he possibly waste this opportunity? He immediately pointed to the vehicle in the sky and asked, I want to buy that. How much does it cost? Not the typical kind, but hey, hot is hot. Time flew by, and now Yu was cruising on his brand new flying vehicle above the grassy field. Oh my god. This is amazing, Yu roared. Rewind 1 hour. Faced with his question, the two guards began to break into a cold sweat. Ah, if you mean that one stammered. You're talking about the HA flying motorcycle, a very rare machine. Its base model is 250,000 ronia, an extreme price. Hearing this, Yu's face went blank as he asked, How much? 250,000 ronia? He repeated. So, flying motorcycle was its name. He then casually produced a pure gold ingot. Can I trade this for it? He asked, holding out the gleaming bar. Seeing the youth conjure such a valuable item from thin air, the guard's eyes bulged in disbelief. Is that gold? Where did you get an ingot that large? Is that thing even real? My grandfather gave it to me, Yu said, with an unnerving calm. Back in the present, he was still reeling from the exchange. A single gold ingot was worth 75 million ronia. A sudden, almost absurd manhwa, level up in wealth. He had to thank his grandfather for forcing it on him. Gold is useful anywhere, you idiot. Make sure you take it. The old man had thundered at him. She introduced herself as Ya, the Academy's combat magic instructor. She cheerfully asked, Are you using some kind of exploit? But it's heavy and a pain, Yu had complained. The truth is, for a young man, too much money can be a dangerous burden. Feeling the fierce wind tear past him, the small serpent Y materialized, prompting Yu to excitedly show off to his familiar. Oh, Y, it's you. What do you think? Just like you, the concept of spirit and demon has given this machine a soul. Its name is Lilith. From now on, you two should try to get along. Lilith was now a sentient creation, born of his power. Yu had bestowed upon it the concept of spirit and demon, turning it into a living being with a will of its own, just like Y. Hearing its master's decree, the small serpent flicked its tongue, its expression entirely unreadable. Annoyance or pleasure? Ignoring the reaction, Yu remembered the task that Professor Yumina had given him. Alright, I bought the wine for Professor Yumina and created a little sibling for Y. My objectives are complete. Everything I needed to do is done. So, it's time to return. Let's go back to the academy, Yu declared with a bright smile. However, a short while later, our hero was uncomfortably sprawled on a table, his head spinning as if drained of all blood. For the last 500 years, no one has scored so high in the evaluation round. He didn't really care. Oh God, my head, our protagonist groaned like a wounded animal. Just then, Lai walked over, placing a glass of water before him. She set the glass down in frustration and shook her head. I am very disappointed in you, Yu. I truly am. I can't believe that right after our get-together, you vanished without a word and came back completely wasted. Lai gave Yu a piercing look, causing him to stammer an apology. Professor Yumina forced me. I couldn't possibly refuse. As he spoke, Yu recalled the professor grabbing his collar, her iron grip determined not to let him leave. Bottoms up, drink another round. Her voice echoed until his face burned as red as a sunset. This is the first time I've ever had alcohol, Yu said, quickly grabbing the glass of water and chugging it down. Meanwhile, Doko coolly noticed the pin on his chest. The flower-shaped pin caught his eye, and he asked, So, is that the prize you got for becoming the professor's drinking buddy? The class representative pin? Yu leaned back and replied grimly. Class representative? If you mean class president, then that's right. At that moment, Doko startled them both by declaring, If we must choose a representative for the four of us, his very form is instantly forged into a weapon. This nightmare began just moments ago, while he was liking his girlfriend's posts. He just wanted to go home. Then, his attention was snagged by something massive in the distance. It has to be me, because I am the strongest one here. His gaze locked onto Yu. You agree, don't you? Don't you? She stared. Uli instantly objected. That's a bit much, Jiho. Even though we are equal teammates, I must make this clear. Your arrogant attitude is detrimental to our future climb up this tower, and I also refuse to accept that you're the strongest, Uli yelled, pointing directly in Jiho's face. Jiho just scoffed and shook her head. Haha, did you just claim we're equal? How utterly ridiculous. Just yesterday, you were the one begging the professor to let you climb the tower alone. Where is the equality in that? She shrugged, causing Uli to flush with shame. That's, Uli stammered, completely at a loss for words. Yoon and Ruo eyed him with suspicion. Oh, right. You did say that, Uli admitted awkwardly. No. I was only asking out of sheer curiosity. It's not that I don't want to be with you all. Meanwhile, Yun slumped onto the table, thinking, damn, I hoped I could prevent this kind of fracture from the start. I was going to suggest we formulate a plan together. The professor explained this was the very purpose the academy was founded. We nurture students from all dimensions, but our group is already a wreck. I have no interest in being class president either. But now, I see why the professor chose me. Uli lacks tact but has immense pride, while Jiho is a tyrant. Even if she's strong, she'll only breed resentment. Ruo is too passive, unfit for leadership. Heh, what a special band of misfits. With that thought, Yun spoke up. Hold on. Everyone, calm down and hear me out. The class president doesn't have to be the strongest one. In fact, they absolutely shouldn't be, he proposed. Jiho narrowed her eyes and demanded to know why. Because if the strongest person is the president, they'll just steamroll every decision. A president needs to unify the class, which they can't do. The president must be someone who can broker fair solutions for everyone. Thus, I think an easygoing person like me should be the class president. You, easygoing? Jiho nearly erupted in laughter. Fine, the professor has the right to appoint the president, so I'll follow your lead for now, Jiho conceded with a smile. Seeing that the most volatile person had agreed, training them to conquer that tower with its innumerable dungeons and mysteries within. It is the Tower of Babel. Yoon let out a sigh of relief, the knot in his chest slowly loosening. Thanks, Jiho continued, her tone now dead serious. From the very beginning, the only one I truly wanted to keep here was you. Well, even though I hate it, to get what I want, I suppose I must accept this extra baggage. As she spoke, she shot a glance at Uli and Ruo, her gaze cold and heavy with meaning. That's it. See you. After saying that, the white-haired girl coldly turned and left, leaving behind Uli, who was visibly shaking with fury. What? Extra baggage? Uli seethed through his teeth, his voice thick with indignation. Seeing this, Yoon quickly tried to pacify him. Easy, Uli. After temporarily placating Uli, Yoon felt utterly drained. My god, this morning feels more like a battlefield than a classroom. Anything tied to pride is a nightmare to resolve. Let's just take this slow, Yoon, our protagonist, told himself, trying to steady his nerves. But before he could even rest for a few seconds, Ruo stood up, her voice brimming with excitement. Hey, Yoon, did you not bring that cute little snake from before? Yoon was utterly staggered, recalling what his grandfather told him in his youth. I want to try and touch it. The girl's eyes were shining with curiosity. Oh, for crying out loud. Why is this place so full of landmines? Yoon sighed. Internally, I'm being ambushed by one crisis after another. The scene shifts to a brutal fighting arena. Erector, a man with magma in his veins, shot to his feet, roaring, Professor, I demand to know just how skilled these so-called special admission students truly are. His challenge echoed, forcing every eye onto Yuan's group, their gazes a mix of curiosity and cold assessment. The referee, clad in a prisoner's jumpsuit, simply nodded. For the first session, we'll have a little warm-up spar. Any objections? Hearing this, the first-year students erupted with excitement, clamoring for a piece of the action. Professor, let me at him. Get in line. I'm first. Hey, you. You gonna lose that pin or what? The barrage of taunts and enraged shouts left both Yuan and Li speechless, as Li shot Yuan a worried glance. So, this is how Union Academy operates, classes based on raw power. No wonder Class 1 is the elite class. They really seem to despise our Class 11, Yuan noted awkwardly. That his ancestors were the rightful masters of the tower, and that he was destined to reclaim the fallen glory of the Ban family, the family of masters. Well, it might be that this thing I'm wearing is a bit of a trigger. As the crowd bickered, Hector's gaze locked intently on Yuan's badge, a furious inferno igniting within him. How dare that worthless runt? Wearing the pin gifted by the goddess of flowers, Professor Yuma, and flaunting it right in his face was an unforgivable insult. The more he stewed, the more Hector's rage boiled over, and he bellowed, "Professor, I demand to test that punk's strength myself. Let me fight him." The professor instantly agreed. Very well. Step into the ring, Yuan. You will face Hector. Yuan felt himself being railroaded into a corner with no escape. Meanwhile, Professor Yuma was quietly observing Yuan's first-ever class. Seeing it was a joint session between Class 1 and Class 11, a knot of dread tightened in her stomach. What is this? Why are my students scheduled with the elite class for their very first session, in comprehensive combat, during the first period, no less? How could a special admission from a mere subspace possibly contend with a high-ranking student? They had to have known that. A mastery of language. Then, with his professor's guidance, he was able to return home. After explaining the situation to his family, which is exactly why they arranged this schedule. I don't know who's pulling the strings, but I can feel their malicious intent, Yuma thought, her heart aching with worry for her student. Back in the arena, Yuan was no fool. He wasn't about to charge headfirst into a fight with the hulking magma man across from him. He quickly raised a hand to object. "Excuse me, Professor, but my combat abilities are severely lacking. I don't believe I would learn anything from this match." The professor in the prison jumpsuit casually retorted. "Oh? Is that right? Then that's a 3-point deduction." The statement left Yuan stunned, completely blindsided. "Just get up here and stop making excuses," the professor sneered, adjusting his glasses with a smug look. In that instant, Yuan realized with dawning horror that this man was deliberately targeting him. Why? Why is the professor forcing this fight? Does he want to humiliate me in front of the entire academy? The more he considered it, the darker his expression grew. "I am not making excuses. It is the truth. My special admission was for a unique skill set, not my prowess in combat." His grandfather became ecstatic, proclaiming, "You found the Tower of Babel? Excellent, that is my grandson. If the professor is truly curious about a special admission's capabilities, then please find a more appropriate way to evaluate me than this, shoving us into the slaughter." Your logic was sound, yet seeing your defiance, the professor in the prison garb snarled through clenched teeth. "Are you trying to school me on my own turf?" Hearing that, you dropped all pretense of respect and fired back. "Professor or student, it makes no difference. If you're ignorant, you learn. Besides, I'm the class rep, aren't I?" Another 5-point deduction. The professor shrieked, drawing a weary sigh from Yuan. "Haha, so that's the game we're playing?" he thought, and swiftly countered. "How about this? I'll use this week to prepare, and I'll fight next week. Just give me 1 week. I'll enter the tower once, and when I emerge, my preparations will be nearly complete." Yuan's confident proclamation sent a chill through the room, as every eye turned towards him as if he were a madman, looking at a lunatic. What did he just say? A duel next week? Prepare? What nonsense is this? His uncle had to swiftly calm the old man, lest he get too excited and pass on from the shock. His power was clearly at rock bottom. How could he possibly face the special class after a mere week? As for the professor, the man in the prison uniform chewed his lip in rage. "Now he's ignoring me, setting his own terms. Fine then, do as you please." Seeing him seethe, Yuan's face twisted with scorn. "So what if I ignore you? You're not even an official professor," he muttered, the words sharp enough to startle Lai, who was standing right behind him. After swallowing his rage, the professor announced, "Class Y and Hector. Next Tuesday, you two will have an official sparring match. The match will be public, broadcast live for the entire academy to witness. Everyone be sure to tune in." He smirked, already savoring Yuan's public humiliation next week. So he doesn't just want to shame me, he wants to make a spectacle of my demise. Yuan's brow furrowed, before the professor addressed the entire class. "Yuan, since you demanded time to prepare, you'd better deliver. If you fail." Annoyed, Yuan cut him off. "Of course. Hey Hector, right? We have an official match next week. I'm really looking forward to it." Once things were settled, Yun began preparing for his academy enrollment. Now, in a low-level Union dungeon, he said, with a brilliant smile. Hector immediately spat in his direction, his contempt obvious. You weakling. Yuan cringed, not understanding why he was being so cheerful to this magma head. I wasn't expecting a polite response anyway. What I needed to gauge wasn't his attitude. Hector's stats materialized clearly in Yuan's eyes. Hector's stats were B, C, vitality at 250, physique at 300, and magic at 120. Seeing these numbers, Yuan was even more certain his decision to postpone the match was absolutely correct. This was a true Manhwa level-up challenge. As expected of a special class student, his vitality and physique stats are astonishing. His vitality is 5 times mine, and his physique is 10 times mine. But even so, compared to them, he's still nothing, Yuan thought as he glanced at Li and Ruo. If I want to climb the tower with them, I must surpass Hector's level. Yuan resolved to himself, then said with a laugh, Haha, why the long faces? Are you too worried about me? Ignoring Yuan's words, DHS coldly began to warm up from behind. What's this? No one dares to step up. Unlike the class president, fighting is my specialty. Deep inside a goblin nest, Yun stood ready for a new trial. With an AK-47 and its bottomless magazine in his hands, aren't you all curious about the skills of a special admission student? Does anyone dare to come up here? If it's a sparring match? I'm always ready, Doha declared, her stats shattering their hexagonal frame. Turning back to the group of extras, her provocation landed like a physical blow, freezing the entire group for several seconds. Even the professor in his prison uniform was at a loss for words. The reason was brutally simple. Even someone as weak as Yuan could recognize the terrifying abyss of Doha's power. The silence was deafening, a testament to their fear. Even my myriad poison eye is struggling to fully gauge her might. This whole scene feels like a twisted Manhwa level up ***. There's no way the first-year students can't feel her crushing presence, Yuan thought to himself. Back with Doha, seeing that no one dared to step forward, she spoke with utter boredom. What's wrong? If you lack confidence, shall I pick someone? She pointed directly at Hector. Hector, you're not the type to only prey on the weak, are you? Come on, I'll grind you into a pulp. Faced with this, Hector was startled, likely realizing Doha's power far surpassed his own. Hector must be terrified right now. His screen flashed with cryptic text, and he was violently yanked into another world. He began to educate the goblins on the lethal power of modern civilization. Target was me, but now he's been challenged by someone completely unexpected. Everyone here can sense it. If he accepts Doha's challenge just to save face, he's done for. He'll be severely injured, making it difficult to recover within a week. Although this doesn't affect me, it shouldn't happen like this. With that thought, Yuan decided to speak up. Wait, Doha, sorry, but Hector has a match with me next week. If you want to fight him, you'll have to wait your turn. Doha turned to you and asked, Are you sure? Of course. Thank you for your concern. But this time I will use my own strength to prove I'm worthy, you confidently declared. If he wanted to increase the test's difficulty, Doha had no reason to stop him. Ho ho, I thought you were just a slippery snake, but it seems you've got some backbone after all. Fine, I'll let you do it your way. Besides you, does anyone else dare to step up? She asked once more, but the crowd remained silent. No one dared to face Doha directly. Is there no one? The white-haired girl asked again after seeing the students remain quiet as mice. Doha sighed in disappointment. The creatures didn't even have a chance to lunge before they were annihilated by a storm of lead, and Yun advanced calmly, with nothing daring to bar his path. You were all barking so loudly earlier, but now that you're facing someone truly strong, you just hide in your shells, like turtles. Hearing her words, the first-year students gritted their teeth, but no matter how angry they were, they didn't dare to stand up until a blonde-haired guy spoke out. Who are you calling a turtle hiding in its shell? It's true that the weak and stupid often gather in groups, acting all tough and trying to protect their own by barking loudly. Are you putting on a comedy show or what? When he heard someone dare to challenge Doha with words, you immediately paid attention to him. Asterisk. What is this? This guy might be in the special class too, but his level seems to be on a asterisk, completely different level. Asterisk. You frowned in thought. From your perspective, this blonde guy seemed to be emitting an unusual aura, making those around him too afraid to get close. Besides that, noticing your doubtful expression, Leah spoke up to explain. That's Optima, the ruler of the Centus dimension. Huh? Centus Optima? What's that? You asked blankly. His naive question even surprised Leah. You don't know him? Besides the Union, there are 10 other. I have arrived. Before, my power was confined to language, but now, having acquired this from the goblins, high-level dimensions, Optima comes from the family that rules Centus, one of those dimensions. After hearing this, a cold sweat trickled down your spine. So, he was a scion of one of the most powerful families in these dimensions. Just then, under the crowd's gaze, Optima descended into the arena. Professor, he commanded coldly. The professor understood instantly, scrambling to perform some action. Ah, of course, he stammered, hastily pulling out a curious electronic device. What is that? Likely a recording device. They're planning to broadcast this publicly, Lai speculated. And after they record it? Yu asked, intrigued. They'll share it on the internet, but I'm unsure what that is. Lai shook his head. He clearly hailed from a dimension without modern tech, so he couldn't quite comprehend. However, from your advanced civilization, you instantly grasped the professor's intent. So, that's the game. It's the same everywhere, huh? Seeing your understanding, Lai turned and asked, do you know what the internet is? Everything has fundamentally changed. With the Code of Babylon, I can articulate, absorb, and command the concepts of all things. While connecting to the Union Net, you explained, it's an internal network established by corporations or schools to exchange information. Hearing this, Lai was even more astonished. Is your dimension so primitive you don't know the Union? Yet you know about this? In my own dimension, this is common knowledge. But where is this school's network? You said, continuously swiping on your device, and R had to rush over to show you. Here, a live stream for our class. Thanks, R. You're a natural at finding things. You quickly tapped the live stream, and instantly, the image of Doa and Optima filled the screen. A live stream. The professor wants to humiliate us, but this is no simple Manhwa level up. Things won't go his way, you muttered. On the dueling ground, Doa and Optima both radiated an intense aura, staring each other down. Optima spoke first. Make your move. Doajo offered a confident smirk. The weaker one goes first, so be my guest, she said, hand extended in a clear taunt. Weaker? Each time I vanquish a foe, I claim concepts I can then comprehend. The more I harvest, the stronger I become. Let's see how long that arrogance lasts. Kneel, Optima commanded, extending his hand and activating some unseen ability aimed directly at Doajo. From the crowd's view, a mysterious wave emanated from Optima's palm. As his power washed over your group, Doajo immediately felt an immense pressure crushing her body. What is this? It's unlike the power of language I wield. This is like water flowing downhill, or my need for air. This is a law of nature. Everything in this space is compelling me to kneel as if it were inevitable. Is he distorting the laws of nature? Doajo wondered. Lai, standing nearby, turned to Yuan. Did you just decipher the principle behind that ability? Yeah, Yuan confirmed. Before he could explain, Ruo clung to him, trembling, her terrified gaze locked forward. Meanwhile, Optima's ability crashed against Doajo, as futile as a mantis trying to stop a chariot, producing no effect whatsoever. From her palm, a dark blue energy began to bleed out. With a mere wave of her hand, and the concept I gained from that first dungeon, the Cave of Blind Goblins, was infused into this very club, she effortlessly nullified the pressure, leaving everyone, even Yuan, wide-eyed and speechless. He couldn't trust his eyes. Impossible. She countered with greater pressure, extinguishing the opponent's power. Yuan thought. The golden-haired Optima watched as Dojo completely shattered his technique, his eyes flashing, with interest. Haha, you have some skill. Dojo shook her head, her voice thick with mockery. Your ability is as ridiculous as those horns on your head. If this is all you have, I'm truly disappointed. Not at all, Optima replied, swinging his arm for a technique. But the motion didn't escape Dojo's eyes. Instantly, she powered her legs, dashed forward, and kicked him hard in the stomach, stopping Optima's attack. Did you think I'd just stand there and let you strike me a second time? Are your attacks stronger up close? Dojo taunted. Optima defended with an energy shield, but being forced on the defensive bruised his ego. T-esque. I can't believe I must use 2 hands for a fight like this, he said with annoyance. You're all brawn, no brains, forging it into a formidable weapon. And this is my new partner, Yoon declared. Dojo's voice suddenly appeared by his ear, startling Optima into swinging an arm behind him. You arrogant brat, he yelled, not realizing he was the most arrogant one there. Dojo dodged Optima's attack, using her left hand to swat his arm aside while her right hand grabbed his collar. She delivered a knee strike, aiming directly for Optima's chin. As expected, your movements are incredibly clumsy. Don't tell me you still need someone to spoon-feed you, she mocked, but her attack was blocked by another of Optima's shields. However, being dominated made Optima's blood boil. This damn witch. He gritted his teeth, gathering power in his fist, unleashing a lightning-fast punch. But Dojo simply jumped aside, easily dodging it. Lai watched in amazement as Dojo toyed with Optima like a cat with a mouse. It was unbelievable. Optima, the ruler of Centis, was being completely dismantled by Dojo. Seeing this, Yuan, quietly observing them, stated his own theory. It seems that guy Optima is used to beating opponents by suppressing their movements, eyeing the spiked mace that was autonomously engaging a goblin ambusher, delivering a blow that shattered its jaw and sent teeth flying, such as by distorting the laws of nature. However, that method seems to have no effect on Dojo. And that's precisely what has put him in this current situation. Before the crowd, the blonde-haired guy was being beaten bloody by Dojo with no chance to fight back. Her attacks were precise and powerful. From a barrage of punches to the face to a high kick straight to his chin. If not for his energy shield, he would have collapsed long ago. Back to Yuan. Our commentator continued his analysis. Although he possesses superior strength and physique, It's clear he doesn't train. This remark made Lei marvel at Yuan's observation. He could tell that Dujo could go head-to-head with Optima. Yet, Yuan saw through both of their abilities. Clearly, they are all special recruits from the subspace, a true Manhwa level up, but what is this? Even a chance to counterattack. Dujo's punches flew continuously at a terrifying speed. How dare you be so insolent to me, the fool yelled, unaware of the situation. Immediately, Dujo's fist smashed into his face. This is the Goblins Club, the first item Yoon forged by infusing it with demonic essence. A blow the energy shield couldn't stop. Did you show up just to run your mouth? Or is your tongue too long? Should I shorten it for you? Hoso asked coldly. Overwhelmed, was being driven to madness. A sigil of diamonds materialized above his head, accompanied by an eruption of terrifying power. He slammed both hands down, shattering the arena floor into fragments. I'll never forgive you. You want to die? I'll grant that wish. Optima shrieked, completely unhinged. Seeing his tantrum, Hoso replied softly, Death isn't a word for a child like you to use so lightly. She gathered Mana into her arm, ready to charge and teach the blonde-haired brat a final lesson. Optima was equally ferocious, roaring die, as he thrust his hands forward. But just as the two were about to collide, Professor Yumina's voice cut through the air. That's enough. With a single clap, she halted all movement from both of them, the arena filled with flowers, leaving Hoso and Optima stunned. Yumina said gently, This weapon can automatically materialize at its master's command, and can also transform and move with a will of its own. Seeing his companion being so brutally effective, our academy does not condone death matches. This isn't some Manhwa level-up fantasy. Save that strength for the tower. Do you two understand? She then snapped her fingers, dismissing the skill as the flower garden slowly vanished. From the stands, Yuan thought, what was that? An illusion? But the scent of flowers is still so strong. As for Optima, seeing Yumina, knew the fight was over. He clicked his tongue in frustration, turned, and walked away, oblivious that the professor's intervention just saved his life. Otherwise, Hoso would have taught him the meaning of pushing up daisies. As for Hoso, she ignored the loser's pathetic retreat and turned to address Yumina. You're incredibly strong. The professor simply offered a faint smile. Seeing this, Hoso sighed and returned to her spot. Yeah, welcome back, Yuan said. Hearing him, the white-haired girl turned to ask for Lee's opinion. What did you think? It was amazing. Just watching was a thrill. But before our protagonist could finish, Ruo suddenly rushed over, clinging tightly to his back from behind. The sudden action made the whole group curious. A declaration boomed. The placement test will now commence. He opened his eyes, finding himself trapped in a pitch-black cave. Yoon couldn't help but proudly stroke the mace. Even though it was a coincidence, thanks to it. Ruo, what's wrong? Still scared of Hoso? He asked, frowning as he felt his friend trembling uncontrollably. Haha, how cute. It's okay, you can come out, Yuan said smiling. But Ruo stubbornly held on, refusing to let go. Elsewhere, Yumina's annoyed voice cut in, a sharp tone that attracted everyone's attention. You will be punished, Professor Farron, for permitting a spar on the very first day of class. Not only did you permit it, but you turned a blind eye when it escalated. You know this is a grave error, don't you? I'm sorry, Professor Farron stammered. This isn't something an apology can fix. You had better prepare yourself, Yumina replied coldly. She then approached Yuan. Oh, and for a class president, character is paramount. Yuan, why is your pin on upside down like this? As she spoke, the beautiful professor gently adjusted the pin on our protagonist's chest. It was an incredibly intimate gesture, driving the students behind him mad with envy, but, seemingly oblivious to their gazes, I passed the evaluation test with absolute dominance. Satisfied with his victory, Yoon gazed at the defeated remains and muttered, Yumina left right after fixing Yuan's badge. Well then, I'll be going. Have a good day, everyone. As her figure vanished, Yuan let out a hollow laugh. The professor's intervention was meant to stop the fight, but it only succeeded in fueling their resentment. Even with his back turned, he could feel a sea of venomous glares from Class 1 students boring into him. Why did it have to be that pathetic weakling? He won't escape this, a voice seethed. Time flew, and the news of the duel between Doc Ho and Optima spread like wildfire through the entire freshman class. Hey, did you hear? The new girl from the secondary dimension actually fought on par with Optima. Not just on par, she completely dominated him. A secondary dimension? Isn't that a bit of an exaggeration? What the hell is going on? Curious posts began appearing one by one, and of course, our protagonist, Yuan, saw the chatter. However, this newfound notoriety brought him no comfort at all. It seems like the entire world is talking about us now, Yuan said worriedly. Across from him, all right. It is time to harvest the spoils and verify the codes. With that, he rapidly absorbed the concepts from the corpses. Steam was practically billowing from his friend Lee's ears as he struggled with the high-tech device. Turning to Doc Ho, after she finished scanning the comments, her distinctive eyes narrowed slightly. That's odd. Is that guy really their #1 prospect? No way. There's at least one person in that class who is far stronger than him. So Doc Ho recalled the image of a girl dressed like a mage, huddled alone in a corner of the class, before she turned to ask the protagonist a question. I thought you would have noticed her too, she asked. Yuan simply shrugged in reply with a faint smile. Haha, that's because I was too captivated by your match. Meanwhile, Lai had slumped onto the table, seemingly exhausted. But hey Yuan, they're mentioning your name all over the community page, right? What does Master of Provocation mean? Lai asked. Yuan sighed and explained. Well, they don't have the guts to mess with the person who challenged the #1 prospect, so they're aiming their venom at me instead. That's not the only topic of discussion, is it? Doc Ho chimed in, her gaze shifting to the side. Come to think of it, we usually sit so far apart. Huh? He exclaimed in surprise, reaping from the goblins. Life, 5, mana 3, demonic essence 5, body 3, and soul, 2. Noticing Ruo at another table, trembling uncontrollably, the mood at their meal seemed to turn somber. It appeared Ruo either sensed something from Doc Ho, or was simply too terrified to come near. I wonder what it's like when they share a room. Perhaps she's still on edge from what happened. Maybe I should help her feel more at ease. Everyone needs a little light in their life, Yuan mused, then quickly pulled a jar of jam from his inventory. This is fairy jam, created using my synthesis ability, extracted from a concentrate of tens of thousands of different fruits. It has a special effect that, while minor, helps promote overall stat growth, a true **** Manhwa level up *** boost. Look at this, Yuan said, capturing their full attention. The two of them peered into the jar curiously, and Yuan chuckled. Haha, surprising, isn't it? Give me your bread, he said, as he opened the jar's lid, and a sweet fragrance immediately wafted out. Ruo suddenly snapped her head around, her eyes wide as she stared in their direction. Yuan spread the jam on the bread and pushed the plate toward Lai and Doc Ho. Here, try it. Although they were a bit skeptical at first, Leadership Skill 1, Murderous Intent, 1.7, Kinship, 0.5. As he scanned the notifications, both of them took a taste. From the very first bite, an explosion of flavor erupted. This is incredible. What is this? They both gasped, completely stunned. You smirked in satisfaction. Haha, pretty good, right? Lai stammered. Good? Just good? This isn't just a little good. It's. DC Hoso nodded. I've tasted every delicacy in the Central Plains, but this is on an entirely different level. You were a bit flustered by their reactions and turned to invite Ruo. Come over here and eat with us. The pink-haired girl was drooling from the aroma. She gulped and hurriedly pulled her chair closer. Make one for me, please, she mumbled. Of course, you replied cheerfully. Upon tasting it, Ruo practically melted, overwhelmed by the deliciousness of the fruit. The best fruit flavor in the entire world, she said, utterly satisfied. Lai asked you, did you create this with your ability? DC Hoso looked on, craving more. May I have some more? You smiled cheerfully. Of course. Here, eat as much as you want. DC Hoso licked her fingertips. It feels as if I'm eating something incredibly precious. You replied, not really. It is not expensive. Something unique caught Yoon's eye among the concepts gathered from the monsters. It was a concept he had never before witnessed. What is a soul? Friends should share with each other. Consider it a token of my gratitude for your earlier kindness. DC Hoso chuckled softly. Even so, this is too much. All right. I have decided how to repay you for this divine elixir of yours. I will personally teach you martial arts, DC Hoso said, leaning her face right in front of you, making you blush. After the meal, DC Hoso led you to a house in an ancient Eastern style. As long as there's enough space to move, this is fine. I didn't expect a place this peaceful, she said, eagerly admiring her surroundings. Meanwhile, you quickly realized the reason for the training room's layout. This room reflects your mental state, doesn't it? As expected of your class, you exclaimed, then turned to ask. But we left right after eating. What exactly will you teach me? Without answering your question, DC Hoso picked up a wooden sword and muttered, This length is perfect. Don't move, she said, while brandishing the sword, which made you a bit nervous. First, let us start with this, she said. As soon as he spoke, the Bangmanga mace eagerly pulsed forward. What is it? Do you want this? Yoon asked, getting into a thrusting stance, holding the sword level across her chest, her right hand gripping the hilt firmly while her left hand rested lightly on the pommel. Then, DC Hoso used her left hand to powerfully drive the sword toward you. She stopped just as the blade was about to touch your face, creating a blast of wind pressure that slammed into your face. This is a thrust, DC Hoso explained concisely. A decisive and unhesitating movement, a human attack that feels almost magical. In that brief moment, you discovered a new concept. To pierce. Piercing through. But why piercing? She's just showing me sword techniques, right? You thought in confusion. Your expression vacant. DC Hoso called out. Hey, you, are you listening? You snapped out of it. Ah, sorry. Then pay close attention. The thrust isn't just one form. You can perform it with anything. I've just shown you the fundamental meaning and the core of the thrust. How many times to thrust, where to thrust from, what target to aim for, and with what kind of intensity to thrust. As she spoke, DC Hoso executed several moves, concluding with a thrust straight towards you. The Bangmanga immediately affirmed with a nod. Seeing this, Yun did not hesitate to grant the concept to it. Of course, it is yours. She stopped and continued her explanation. Although there are countless applications, the fundamental, the core remains. Never forget that. Though he trusted Dohu, each time he saw that sword tip flash toward him, Yuan still flinched. The fundamental core. Dohu refined a single concept to its absolute limit, feeling far more potent than combining concepts. Perhaps that was how she mastered the thrusting technique. After her lesson, Dohu offered the sword to Yuan and asked, "Just a moment. I will give you the life, mana, and demonic essence as well." After speaking, Yun focused his mind, controlling the glyphs of power hovering at his hand and compressing them into a dense sphere. "This is what I have learned." Disoriented, he screamed, "Where am I?" From the shadows, too tall, hulking, to take these harvested concept fragments and infuse them directly into the mace. As he thought this, he forcefully thrust it forward, the sphere into Bangmanga. Instantly, the mace flared with a blinding light, signaling a radical evolution. The concepts merged seamlessly, forging a bizarre transformation, an item that shattered all known boundaries. Receiving the notification, Yuan's eyes widened in shock. Incredible. How is this even possible? Did one of my separated concepts just transform on its own? He muttered. Just then, the sphere of light imploded, revealing a small serpent within. Through the superior fusion, an M-class magical beast was born. A magical beast? So, monster and beast combined makes this? Unbelievable. Can I even touch it? Yuan wondered, cautiously extending his hand with a mix of thrill and fear. Thankfully, the serpent remained still. It recognized its master, affectionately nudging its head against his arm, its nature unchanged. I wonder if it can still shift into a gun or a shield, Yuan mused. Heh, you're cute. From now on, foul goblins emerged, wielding massive clubs, intent on crushing him. He quickly realized they were blind. Your name is Y. Before we leave, I need to check my growth. Saying this, he focused on his personal status screen. Yuan's stats. Life 45.1, Body 32, Soul 324.5, Mana 38.7, Swordsmanship 14.2, Leadership 1, Omniscient Eye 105, Omniscient Ear 100, Tongue of God 100. Let's see. The life stat seems similar to my in-game level. Body must be my physical condition, but why is my soul stat abnormally high? And these things like the omniscient eye and ear, they must be tied to my language abilities. I'll ignore what I can't figure out for now. After that, Yuan turned to Y, asking, "What do you think, Y? Can we pass for normal among our classmates?" At this, Y shook its head frantically, looking almost ashamed. "It's fine. The most important thing is our growth, right?" Yuan reassured it. Suddenly, the system announced, "The dungeon core has been destroyed. You are now permitted to leave. Do you wish to exit? All right, let's go. It's time for the Union Academy's entrance ceremony," Yuan said, tapping the prompt. Instantly, he was enveloped and teleported by a magic circle. They couldn't see. From every Manhwa level-up story he'd read, his quest was clear. Just then, his worn sandals scraped the stone. The next thing he saw was the Union Academy auditorium. Inside the massive hall, the new students were finding their seats. Yuan materialized right in the hall's center, causing a few nearby students to startle. Whoa. So many people. But as he spoke, he activated his omniscient eye. It's a skill that can perceive everything. Based on its level, it lets the user instantly gauge a target's aura and spirit. The stats of those around him flooded his vision. This hulking, lava rock guy has triple B stats, while that polished blonde kid over there is packing an S-rank stat. Impressive. Seeing these numbers, Yuan couldn't help but feel a chill. As expected, the students who got in normally are on a completely different level. They're at least 10 times stronger than I am. Now, where is my seat? He wondered. Just then, a voice boomed from behind. Hey, if you're from some subdimension, quit loitering. Scram and get over there. The speaker was a massive guy who looked like a raid boss from a game. Yuan knew he was hopelessly outmatched and could only raise a hand and reply, and a blind goblin instantly swung its club at the sound. Luckily, Yu was just fast enough to evade. Oh, okay. Thanks. Watching his meek response, the group erupted in laughter. But Yuan wasn't laughing, angry at all. It's no surprise the regular admission students are so self-assured. They're discriminating against me for hailing from a subdimension. It's the same story everywhere. The strong prey upon the weak, he thought grimly. Just then, as if sensing Yuan's isolation, a blonde-haired guy in the distance raised a hand, calling out, "Hey, special admission students are seated over here." Yuan moved immediately. Is this our designated pen? It feels like we're the exiles, he thought with a grimace. When he scanned the stats of those around him, his eyes nearly bulged from their sockets. My god, are these people really from subdimensions? This is a true Manhwa level up. Their stats could crush the regular admission students. In his vision, the blonde was SAA, the white-haired girl was SSS, and the pink-haired girl registered ABS. He also caught 3 others, a question mark, a C, and an F. Vuo stared with a hungry expression. I heard a fizzing sound, and then a sweet scent. You quickly pointed to the can and explained, "This? They sell these things outside." Lai's voice turned cold. "That's because you get to go outside. We don't." You quickly tried to calm them. "My apologies for drinking alone. I don't have enough to share. Besides, it only works when you're exhausted. It's useless for you now." With that, he quickly returned the can to his inventory. In reality, Yu was just bluffing, but Duho Jan's group believed him completely. "What if you get exhausted? I'll take the 3rd room," the swordswoman declared, already starting to warm up. Seeing this, Yu immediately wondered, "Huh? Didn't you say I should handle it myself to improve? Why the sudden change of heart?" At this, Doho Jan's cheeks puffed up as she ignored him. "I've never tasted that drink. I can't let you have it all to yourself." "Hey, that drink had a purpose," Lai reminded Doho Jan with a sideways glance. Putting that aside, after they finished their rest, you executed the unfortunate evil spirit, ending its torment at the hands of the group. As it perished, a teleportation circle appeared beneath their feet, pulling them to the next floor. "The teleportation is starting," Lai announced. While waiting, Yu took the chance to check his grinding results. This was his current status window. Vitality, 129, Physique, 72.8, Soul, 350, Mana, 101, Martial Arts, 62, Swordsmanship, 36, Dongshu Yen, 26, Leadership, 7, Piloting, 15, Resistance, 2, All Poison Eyes, 115, All Hearing Ears, 105, All Speaking Divine Lips, 107. Compared to when I first joined, my stats have skyrocketed. This kind of manhwa level up is insane. This level is already the Academy's average, and I've only swung my sword a few times. Even my swordsmanship and the piercing skill I just learned have improved. With this efficiency, I must focus on developing my swordsmanship. The upcoming match on Tuesday. It seems victory will depend on how much I can develop my martial arts. My physique and my opponents are separated by over 200 points. Honestly, that's a deadly disadvantage. Catch him in just 1 week, despite my efforts. But training under Doho Jan, I realized a true manhwa level up isn't just acquiring skills, but honing them. As for advancing my martial arts, if only Doho Jan would teach me more. He glanced hopefully at the swordswoman, but immediately chided himself. Asterisk, what am I thinking? Asterisk, depending on her, no matter how strong, is a mistake. It would unbalance our dynamic. Asterisk, think carefully. There's still time. Asterisk, he rubbed his forehead. Just then, teleportation magic flared, flinging them to the 3rd floor. While Yu was lost in thought, a terrified scream from Lai shattered his focus. "Hey, Yu! What are you doing? Snap out of it!" The scream jolted Yu, startled, realizing all 3 of them were in a freefall. Glancing at the distance to the ground, his face turned pale. Asterisk, what is this? Why are we falling? Asterisk, my god, the floor just vanished. Yu thought, dazed, as Vicky Cho shrieked, hands clamped over her skirt. He looked down and saw a spike trap waiting to impale them. Without hesitation, he commanded his snake, which transformed into a chain, wrapping securely around Vicky Cho, snatching her from death. Above, Yu gripped the chain with one hand, sighing in relief. "Phew, that was too close. Thank you, Yu," Vicky Cho said quickly, as he scanned the surroundings, thinking, asterisk, what the hell? What kind of teleportation is this? Why is this room asterisk so vast? And a trap at the entry point? Could this place be? Asterisk. An image of a certain place surfaced in his mind. Before he could speak, the swordswoman's voice cut in. "Hey, you move!" Hearing the warning, he snapped his head toward the sound. What astonished him was Vicky Cho standing firmly on the ceiling as if it were the ground. "How did you get up there?" he exclaimed, amazed. However, Vicky Cho offered no explanation, just a warning. "If you just stand there, you'll die." What? He still didn't understand her meaning. Just then, hatches on both walls flew open, and countless spears and lances shot out straight at him, a deadly situation. Asterisk. Damn it. I can't just leave Vicky Cho. Asterisk. Asterisk. Behind. Asterisk. With that thought, Yuan swung his arm with all his might, pulling the chain and Vicky Cho's body into the air, simultaneously summoning his flying bike, Lilith, to arrest his fall. With his quick reflexes, Yuan got them both clear of danger. Afterwards, he quickly retracted the chain and caught Vicky Cho in a princess carry. "Gotcha. You okay? Sorry for being rough, but it was really dangerous back there. I had no choice." Hearing that, Vicky Cho's face flushed red as she stammered, murmuring, "I'm okay." "Then hold on tight, Vicky Cho," Yuan said, sensing more dangers lurking within this space. He glanced around, spotting another volley of spears ready to fire from pillars in a corner. Nightlai was also facing a storm of flying axes. However, such simple attacks couldn't trouble him. With just a few sword swings, Lai easily shattered the axe blades as two pairs of wings sprouted from his back. Him to hover mid-air. Still, Lai was baffled. What is happening? Professor Illuminina swore traps didn't begin until the 20th floor. But we're only on the 3rd floor. This level of difficulty feels wrong. And Yuan, what is that contraption you're on? Lai demanded, watching Yuan weave the flying bike through a hail of spears. Back with Yuan, he clenched his jaw, thinking, this is absolute madness. Traps are firing relentlessly from every direction. This entire structure, what in the hell is it? In stark contrast, Vicky Cho appeared to be relishing the chaotic ride. Perhaps a bit too comfortable, she remembered Yuan's command. Hold on tight, Vicky Cho. Acting on the thought, she gleefully wrapped her arms around Yuan's waist, pressing herself firmly against his back. It caused Yuan's face to burn crimson. What is she doing all of a sudden? My back feels like it's on fire, he thought frantically. Just then, a stray arrow slammed into the bike's tail, making it cry out and swerve violently. That was too close, Yuan yelled, just as a golden blade sliced through the air, shattering the pursuing spears. Lai materialized beside them, demanding, you were handling it perfectly. Why did you suddenly veer off course like that, Yuan? Yuan slammed on the brakes, staring at Li in awe. Huh? Li, what's with the wings? Before I answer, I have a question of my own. What is that machine you're riding? Is this another artifact from your world? Lai asked, his curiosity piqued. It's a flying motorcycle. You've really never seen one? Yuan answered, slightly taken aback. A flying motorcycle? What is that? Lai looked utterly dumbfounded, his eyes clouded with confusion. Seeing Lai's reaction, Yuan instantly knew he was clueless. Not wasting time, Yuan scanned their surroundings and asked, right, by the way, where's Ho Jan? The question startled Li, who realized he'd completely forgotten the swordswoman. Yeah, now that you mention it, I haven't seen her at all. You don't think she was caught in one of these traps, do you? Lai asked, a note of worry in his voice. Yuan immediately shook his head. No chance. She's too skilled to get caught that easily. She must be observing from somewhere. As they cautiously advanced, Lai pressed again. So, what's the plan? How do we shut down all these traps? Yuan paused, considering. According to the guide, survival means we just have to endure for a set period of time. I don't know the exact duration or how the mechanism functions, but for now, you take that side, Lai. I'm going to try and analyze their patterns. Lai nodded and shot off in the direction Yuan indicated. Meanwhile, Yuan's focus narrowed, his eyes locked on the windows, firing javelins, desperately analyzing their activation patterns. They're all targeting Li. It seems they prioritize moving targets. I shouldn't have been so rash. What a fool, Yuan cursed himself. Just then, Vicky Cho called out, Yuan, look! He turned and yanked the arrow embedded in the back of his vehicle. Tisk, this could have crippled Lilith. I need to get everyone to stop moving so erratically. But if we stop moving, how do we ever get through this death trap? As he racked his brain for a solution, Yuan suddenly watched the arrow in his hand dissolve into a stream of pure light. Wait. What's happening? Did I just absorb something? It feels like I just read a concept. This is an actual Manhwa level-up moment. Why is this happening now? So sudden? I couldn't read a thing in the previous room, so why now? There must be a reason. Yuan frowned in thought, but quickly shook his head. No, perhaps it's just a coincidence. I must test it to be certain. He then touched a nearby sword and, just as he suspected, it also dissolved in his hand. Unbelievable. Yuan stared in awe at the two sigils floating above his palm and wondered. The concept I gained is behead, not sword. Last time, the concept was also different from its outward appearance. Before he could decipher the reason, Vucho cried out in alarm. Hey, Yuan, over there. Yuan spun around and saw Li being engulfed by a wave of water. Lai, you fool, Yuan yelled. Right now, Lai was using all his might to resist being swept away. Damn it. I dropped my guard. I thought only the weapons were dangerous. I never foresaw water gushing from a trap. There is definitely something in this water. I'm going numb, and my vision is starting to blur. At this rate, I will not be able to handle the next trap at all. Seeing the volley of spears flying toward him, Lai panicked, unable to deflect them all. I'm finished. In the distance, seeing his friend's predicament, Yuan quickly gunned his motorcycle and sped off to the rescue. Watching the back of the protagonist leaving, Vucho recalled what he had just said. Sorry, Vucho, I'm about to make a huge gamble, so I can't involve you. Just wait here for a moment, she whispered. Go get him, Yuan. Back with Yuan, he reached out his hand while driving, touching the water gushing from the trap. Right after, he received new concepts. From this, you have obtained over 10 points for acid and wave. Just as I expected, like before. Even though I touched water, the concept I got wasn't water, but wave. Now I see the reason the concept I absorbed before was behead and not sword. Elsewhere, unlike the others struggling to evade the traps, the swordswoman Du Jan moved freely across the pillars without any difficulty. However, her eyes were fixed on Yuan as he sped toward Lai, sensing he was up to something. Yuan, what are you planning? She asked, frowning. Back with Yuan, he processed what he had learned while riding. The state of the matter upon its appearance dictates the concept I can obtain. Earlier, those hidden weapons aimed for the neck, so the concept was behead, not sword. This thought process was a true Manhwa level-up moment, as he finally understood the traps. Yuan yelled to Lai. "Let me handle this!" With that, he hit the gas, deliberately charging to meet the weapons head-on. As he accelerated, he prayed silently. May the depths of the myriad venomy expand, allowing me to see through their true essence, or even better, to read the very intent of these hidden weapons from the traps. Activating the myriad venomy, Yuan could now see the concepts of all the weapons below him. Nightlai did not understand his goal, his eyes wide in disbelief. What? He's charging straight into the traps. Ignoring Lai, Yuan already had a plan. I realized, I don't need to absorb them all. Just mixing and destroying their form is enough. In the palm of his hand, a sphere of concept gathered, attracting all nearby concepts, causing the weapons to slowly disintegrate. Seeing this, Yuan knew he had succeeded. "All right," he shouted. When he stopped, Li rushed over and asked, "Hey, you, are you all right?" "Ah, yeah, Li, glad you're still alive." "Heh, we were almost goners," I laughed grimly. "What the hell was that?" Li asked. I pulled out the concept sphere and said, "Beats me. Seems everything combined into this mass. I've harvested something amazing." Li was impressed. "A true Manhwa level up. You awakened a new ability by facing a trap. Head on like that is beastly." The words had barely left his mouth when countless whistling spears flew from afar. Before Lai or I could act, Dujan and Wuzhou dashed forward, knocking aside all the incoming weapons. After she was done, Dujan coldly warned, "If you guys don't drop that careless habit, you'll run into serious trouble sooner or later." "Huh, thanks, you two. I was almost a goner," I sighed in relief. Meanwhile, Dujan glanced at Li and smirked. "Look at you, almost seriously injured and still so careless." "What did you say?" Lai retorted, gritting his teeth. After the group finished clearing the traps, a teleportation circle suddenly appeared. It materialized at our feet, signaling this challenging floor was complete. "Oh, it seems that was the last trap. We're about to be teleported again," Wuzhou said worriedly. As Lai and Dujan kept arguing non-stop. "What's with your attitude? Don't you think you're being harsh on someone who just escaped death?" Lai questioned. Dujan didn't back down, replying sarcastically, "Well, who told you to let such a weak trap attack you? Appearing at the right moment to act superior. You planned that from the start, didn't you?" Lai gritted his teeth, but only received a faint smile from her. "You're still asking that now?" Back to me. Witnessing the two arguing endlessly, I didn't bother to intervene. Haha, these two are hilarious. Anyway, when we're in danger, we all jump in to save each other. So, what's there to argue about? This proves our team is working well, I thought to myself. However, Dujan quickly shattered his illusion. Of course, I waited for the crucial moment. "Once you're in my debt, I will collect with interest." The whole group stared at her, dumbfounded. I hoped that feeling of camaraderie wasn't just an illusion. The scene changes to the 4th floor. The group stood in the middle of a ruined architectural space. I turned to survey the surroundings and spoke up. "The ceiling is lower here. At least we won't be attacked from the air like last time." "That's great." As I spoke, I pointed behind me, and the little snake in its AK-47 form immediately opened fire, aiming straight at a spider not far away. However, when hit, the spider only let out panicked screeches, while the bullets just created a few sparks. My joy was short-lived. Lai quickly identified the monster and warned, "It's a tower spider. They're a unique monster that appears on any floor of the tower, whether low-level or high-level." I gulped. "They're completely unharmed. They even deflected Li's attack." Lai stood before me and explained, "The abilities of tower spiders are random, regardless of the floor. It seems your weapon isn't strong enough. You'll handle this room. Do January. It seems this time she has to. I'm counting on you." The female swordsman nodded. "Got it." Back to Yan. Seeing his weapon was useless, he clicked his tongue. Annoyance. Tiesk. For a monster this strong to appear already. Dujan sighed, holding out her hand, halting the group. "All right then, everyone back. You too, you. Watch closely. This is what you wanted." "Key blast," she roared, as a torrent of energy erupted straight toward the swarm of tower spiders. A single attack utterly annihilated them. Yu gave a wry smile. "Whoa. A real key blast. Far stronger than my bullets." Most spiders were already down. Beside him, Dujan, after a quick glance, passed the cleanup duty to him. "Haha. You won't find a more merciful leader than me, right?" she declared arrogantly. With a golden opportunity in his lap, Yu had no reason to refuse. Instantly, he drew the longsword from his inventory, instructing his teammates. "Lai, you cover the rear. Want to give it a try?" "Yeah," Yuan replied, rolling up his sleeves. "I'm a little clumsy, so bear with me." Dohu laughed. "Ha, if you were perfect, then all my years of training would be meaningless." Just as she spoke, a fierce wind from Yuan's thrust created a perfectly sharp strike, her face flooding with astonishment. What the hell? Did he just grasp the concept from one look? She wondered, baffled. As for Yuan, despite unleashing a rather high-quality strike, his expression remained unsatisfied. Wrong. Still not right, Yuan mumbled, reminding himself. Focus. I can't just imitate it. I've only ever focused on combining concepts. I used to think they only grew stronger by combining them, but that's not it. My strength can be pushed higher by honing what I have. Let's see. Many characters mean thrust, so why choose the one for pierce? To her, a thrust must pierce the target a fatal blow. As he realized this, Yuan had an epiphany. He focused all his mind and unleashed a powerful thrust, a strike so fast it shattered the sound barrier, creating a massive sonic boom. Right after the strike, Yuan felt a powerful backlash slam into him. He collapsed to the ground, utterly exhausted. Dohu, watching, saw Yuan's reckless practice and stopped him. Stop. You don't need to push so hard right from the start. Remember what you saw. Apply it in a larger space against the enemy you must kill. I got it, Yuan replied, panting heavily. At that exact moment, as if to congratulate him for mastering a new technique, countless notifications flooded his vision. You have comprehended and experienced the concept of piercing. You have comprehended and experienced the concept of martial arts. Staring at these notifications, Yuan couldn't help but chuckle. Haha, I just swung my sword and my stats already jumped. Suddenly, a special notification caught his eye. Additional ability update successful. Observed and understood the concept of teleportation. Depth of myriad poison eye increased to 110, martial arts to 36, swordsmanship to 20, and piercing thrust to 16. Seeing these numbers, Yuan felt a jolt of panic. My stats just skyrocketed. The piercing thrust I just learned is already at 16 points. And swordsmanship? It wouldn't budge after killing countless goblins, but now it's at 20. His entire combat technique had just doubled. This insane growth was a true Manhwa level up. Meanwhile, Dohu stared at him with an astonished gaze. I can't believe I'm at a disadvantage. Who would have thought that right from the start? From the start, you could bypass the form and grasp the technique's essence? Duhoro asked with an annoyed tone. How did you master that so quickly? Not really. I just watched and copied, you replied, scratching your head. Your words only agitated Duhoro more. Really? If you could just imitate it by watching, who needs this grueling training? This isn't some Manhwa level up, Duhoro snapped. Seeing her anger, you quickly tried to placate her. Maybe. But what if you're just a great teacher? I'm not exaggerating. The first time I saw your movements, I felt the depth within them. I was truly amazed that someone could reach such a level. I was so captivated by that power that I lost all track of time. Hearing this, Duhoro's face slowly turned red. Geez, this guy. We've barely even met, and he says things like that so easily. She sighed, turning away. In return, you didn't forget to repay Duhoro for her help. Today's lesson was invaluable. From now on, let me handle the mana potions for you. That's not nearly enough for what I taught you, Duhoro stated, continuing in a sharp tone. What? Really? Then what should I do? You asked, panicked. In response, Duhoro suddenly broke into a smirk you'd never seen. Haha, it's fine. I'll collect what I'm owed. With interest, later on. Just you wait. Now, it's time for class. Let's go, she said cheerfully. Ah. Oh, right. That's right, you replied naively, waiting as Duhoro teleported away. Once alone, you muttered to yourself, I never knew she could make a face like that. The scene shifts to a hallway inside Union Academy. Lai and Ruo were walking down the hall when, suddenly, a group of students recognized Ruo and immediately moved to block their path. Hey little lady, where are you from? The question made Ruo freeze. From behind, Lai saw the group cornering Ruo and instantly stepped forward, shielding the pink-haired girl. This action made the blue-haired punk raise an eyebrow. What's this? He sneered. Lai replied coldly. She's my classmate. State your business. For some reason, hearing this, the blue-haired thug's anger flared. Huh? What kind of low-life insect dares to interfere? Get lost, he snarled. At that moment, you and Duhoro teleported in. Hope we're not interrupting. You spoke, drawing everyone's attention. Looks like we're just in time, Duhoro added. Meanwhile, you noticed your friends ahead and asked, surprised. Oh, what are you two doing? Not heading to class? On the other side, the blue-haired thug clicked his tongue, annoyed they were acquainted, while not forgetting to bark a familiar threat. Shh. You better watch your back, you trash. After saying that, the three turned and stalked away. You, just arriving, didn't grasp the situation, while Ruo stammered. Thank you. What was that about? What happened? You asked, watching their retreating backs. Time passes, and the scene shifts into a sterile lecture hall. A bald professor is droning on, explaining the school's history. Therefore, the history of Union didn't start when the chairman founded the academy, but rather when the tower appeared in primordial space. Blah blah. In another corner, the same lackeys from before were pointing a camera at Ruo, whispering, Ooh, nice. Perfect for the collection. the bald one said in a despicable tone, while the red-haired guy in the middle also glanced at her with utter disdain. What's the use of an insect like her climbing the tower? Hearing this, the blue-haired guy smirked and said, there's another job that's much more suitable. Suitable? Someone asked. If you come to my house to be a maid, you'll be pampered every single day, he said with a suggestive tone. What a psycho. Haha, in that case, I'll be the first to bid. They all burst into laughter. They didn't even try to hide their words, causing Ruo to tremble on the verge of tears. Naturally, Yuan and Li, who were sitting above, heard everything, their faces darkening. Sigh, no matter the scale. People are the same everywhere. But really, what's with that professor? It's this loud, yet he seems completely oblivious. Is he ignoring it, or can he not hear them? Yuan wondered. Meanwhile, Lai could no longer just stand by and watch the situation. So, he stood up and called out, Professor. Hearing his name, the professor stopped his lecture, turned around and asked, Ah, were you calling me? Realizing the situation, Lai decided to state his thoughts directly. Sir, the other students are too loud, and I can't concentrate. Could you please do something to address this situation? Hearing this, the blue-skinned professor mumbled for a moment before saying, Ah, right. Did you all hear that? No talking during class. Please focus on my lecture. Now, where were we? The Renaissance of the Union. He hastily gave the order and immediately returned to his lecture, leaving both Li and Yuan wide-eyed with astonishment. That's it, they thought. On the other side, the three unruly students saw that Li's complaint had no effect, and immediately started taunting him. Look at that model student, acting all righteous because he's good-looking. Ah, right. Is he? The reason I couldn't get her number earlier? Are you two a couple or something? No, we're not. Then why is he getting all worked up? That girl has a pretty great figure, wouldn't you say? Haha, totally agreed. Haha, their insulting remarks brought tears to Ruo's eyes. While Lai was so furious, he snapped the pen in his hand. However, before Lai could explode, Yuan patted his shoulder, reassuring him. Just calm down. Lai glanced at Yuan and asked, Are you telling me to just take this? Even after what they said about our classmate, Yuan remained calm and replied, If not, what will you do? Start a fight? A pointless act like that won't solve anything, and causing a scene in class only makes matters worse. Just calm down and watch this. Saying that, Yuan pulled out his phone and showed Li a video recording of the Union History class, Class 1, which was on YouTube. Lai asked in surprise, What are you getting at? Yuan smiled slightly and said, There are many ways to solve a problem. When you're dealing with clowns who only run their mouths, the best solution is to force-feed them their own poison. At this, Li's eyes widened in realization. Wait, Yuan, you're not. But without a word, Yuan was already working his phone. Haha, go on, keep laughing, you morons. Every disgusting word you're spewing in this class is going out live right now. At that moment, a high-angle camera shot revealed the three delinquents still spewing their contemptuous filth. What's the point of some bug like her climbing the tower? Come be a maid at my house. You'll be treated right. What a freak. This perfect angle came from a small snake. Camera clenched in its jaws from above. The instant those words hit the broadcast, the online community erupted, flooding the stream with outrage. What the hell? Calling her a bug? Where are these punks? What class is this? Must be the first years from Class 7. Are you all insane? Where's the professor? This year's rookies are out of control. The endless flood of comments brought a smirk to Yuan's face. Heh, an explosive reaction. Very quickly, the delinquents realized they had just become the internet's main event. Hey, what the hell is this? A damn live stream? Who's filming? Find that camera, now. They screamed, frantically scanning the room. Just then, the green-haired punk quickly spotted the small snake clutching the camera from above. Up there, he hissed to his two cronies. However, before the trio could snatch the snake, it vanished before their eyes, leaving all three seething with impotent rage. But there was one thing they failed to grasp. Their chaotic behavior, buzzing around the class like insects, had finally shredded the last of the bald professor's patience. Students, your academic attitude is utterly pathetic. You were the ones causing this disruption, correct? State your names for the class, and get out. Now, the professor commanded coldly. The sheer pressure he radiated made even the red-haired leader flinch. That's not it, Professor. Someone put a video of us online, he scrambled to explain, but the professor was unmoved. I don't care. Before the group could utter another word, he ejected them. I said get out, he thundered. He then turned, warning the remaining students, I am failing them for the entire academic year. As for the rest of you, cease the disruptions, focus on the lesson. Back to Yuan. Witnessing the professor's fury, Yuan gave a silent nod of approval. Wow, even an adjunct professor is not to be underestimated, huh? Still, just an F after trashing Ruo like that? That's getting off way too easy, Yuan mumbled. And Lai nodded in agreement. True, but their academic careers are effectively over. As for Ruo, seeing the two defend her, the pink-haired girl offered a contented smile. It's okay. This is more than enough. I'm fine now. Thank you both for your help. Her earnest expression made Yuan feel a bit awkward. And he looked away. No, I didn't do anything with brute force. I'm no match for you two. That was just my own method for handling things. And it worked. You don't need to thank me, he replied humbly. Even so, since you're the one, with you here, class president, I feel more at ease, Lai said, a rare smile gracing his lips. But peace is fleeting, and the scene quickly shifts to the combat arena. Just as expected, those three scumbags were already hunting Lai for payback. Hey, you, the pretty boy over there, they shouted. Lai turned, his gaze cold. What now? A problem? What do you want this time? The trio glared with pure malice, looking like they wanted to devour him whole. The green-haired one growled. Explain what happened yesterday, you insect. The redhead also gritted his teeth, still fuming over that damned live stream. My grades are ruined, my friends are being targeted by upperclassmen, and my classmates are all avoiding me. Do you have any idea? Ignoring these pathetic words, Yuan turned to observe the professor casually sitting to the side, watching to see how he would react. And just as predicted, the man was merely watching with detached interest, showing absolutely no intention of intervening. Asterisk, look at that. 3 students wielding sharp weapons are confronting their peer. Asterisk, but the professor has no intention of stopping them. It seems that both the professors and students here don't respect people from the secondary space. This whole academy is just a brutal asterisk Manhwa level up asterisk game, he thought. Who pays attention to the condition of their livestock? Meanwhile, Ruo instinctively hid behind him. Back at the confrontation, the blue and red-haired thugs gripped their weapons, snarling threateningly. What did you just say, you bastard? Hey, say that again, they bellowed, their voices full of challenge as if desperate for an audience. Lai let out a low growl as the sword in his hand suddenly pulsed with a ferocious aura, startling the entire group. Everyone was stunned. He was that strong? This was the first time they had ever witnessed his power. The other 3 guys cowered in raw fear, their faces pale, realizing they had provoked the wrong person, while Lai was consumed by fury, unleashing his power and about to tear them apart. Fortunately, Du Zhou quickly stepped forward and gave Lai a painful flick on the forehead, stopping him from doing anything reckless. You idiot, Du Zhou, is that you? Lai stammered while rubbing his forehead, his eyes tearing up from the pain. But before he could question her, Du Zhou spoke first. You're being too loud. Just because your being is influenced by a sword, you're acting all high and mighty. As she spoke, she flicked Li's forehead again. It seemed Li understood her intention and immediately dismissed the sword. As soon as the sword vanished, Yuan felt the oppressive energy dissipate as well, letting him breathe a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, the blue-skinned professor, leaning on a cane, looked annoyed. Tisk, a lowly creature from a secondary dimension. Such arrogance, he muttered before turning and walking away. His pathetic posturing left Yuan and Ruo speechless. That was a close call, wasn't it? Yuan glanced at his pink-haired friend. Meanwhile, Du Zhou was still lecturing Lai. You just got your hands on one useful item, and you're already raising hell. Is that your true nature or what? Asterisk, as expected. Asterisk, Yuan thought to himself. Asterisk, Li is the biggest ticking time bomb. Asterisk, when the group sat down to eat, Yuan didn't start right away, but just toyed with the food in front of him. He then turned to Lai and said, You know, I've been thinking a lot, and at this rate, you'll likely never be treated fairly at this academy. What are you even saying? Lai asked, taken aback. Yuan's eyes flashed with frustration. Huh? What about me? Didn't I attempt to make peace with the professor? I even agreed to an official spar just because he provoked me. How are we even remotely the same? Hearing this, Lai's voice faltered. Right, about that. After seeing how you reacted, I wanted to smooth things over. Yeah, and then you just created an even bigger mess, Yuan cut in. I don't understand you, letting the real culprits get away with it only to turn around and challenge the professor. I'm sorry, Lai stammered, his eyes welling with tears. In reality, Yuan was more concerned with Li's entire demeanor while wielding the sword. Normally, Li wasn't so reckless. It was as if someone had just flipped a switch inside him. It had to be that sword. To prevent any more trouble, Yuan frowned and demanded of Li, be honest with me. You could control that power from before, couldn't you? Li slammed the table and insisted. Of course, if I couldn't, how would I have even passed the entrance exam? I was just furious about the professor's lies. Oh, so it was the lies, Yuan noted. Well, lying is a terrible thing, isn't it? Yuan smirked, his voice dripping with doubt, making Li flinch. Trust me, I swear what happened today will never happen again, Lai declared, thumping his chest. Du Hojo couldn't resist chiming in. It's a good thing this didn't escalate into a major incident. The sight of you being puppeteered by a divine sword, that was quite a spectacle. You should get chewed out more often. That's enough, Yuan said, seeing that Lai had lost all his will to fight. He was just slumped over the table in despair. Du Hojo then turned to Yuan. By the way, Yuan, I'm starting to see the point of the professor's warning from a few days ago. If this continues, our life at this school is only going to get more chaotic. if you have any ideas about our future, now's the time. I want your take on this as the class president. Hearing Do Hojo's direct question, our protagonist was genuinely surprised. My opinion? After these last few days, I've seen the real problem. It's this whole idea that some people are just born strong, that your bloodline determines your worth, and the utter contempt for anyone from the lower realms, and the archaic system that treats it all as law. What can outsiders like us even do in a place where all of that is considered normal? His thoughts swirling, Yuan felt his mind cloud over and turned to the group. Hey, what do we need to do to win public sympathy? Or rather, to earn that support? What's our first move? Hearing this, the group, while confused, still gave their answers. Communication, Lai offered. Probably strength, Do Hojo replied. Yuan immediately cut in. No, it's something you all already possess, and that's your appearance. He said this while scanning the undeniably attractive group, after which Yuan laid out his initial plan. So, you want to create a channel to broadcast our daily lives? One of them asked, stunned, and Yuan simply nodded. Yeah, back on Earth, where I'm from, it's a common tactic to win people over. We will craft an image and broadcast it to everyone. Once that image is burned into their minds, it forges a certain bond, right? It evolves into respect, even admiration, Yuan explained, as he adjusted the camera's angle and backdrop, then faced Lai. He grasped the plan, but still had a question. But Yuan, if this is for respect and admiration, why a staged fight? It's not a staged fight. It's real, Yuan corrected him grimly. Just then, Dohuru lunged in with a flurry of attacks. Lai, still not taking it seriously, thought. But to be told to fight for real so suddenly, he muttered, throwing a right hook simultaneously. However, Dohuru instantly evaded the punch, who dodged it. Don't you worry. In a real fight, a few good hits are all it takes to make you start taking it seriously, Dohuru snarled, grabbing Lai's collar and executing a shoulder throw. The impact was immense, blasting a crater in the floor and leaving Li's head reeling. Dohuru taunted. Oh my. Is that all you have? I knew it. Last time, you were just a puppet for that artifact. What's the point of drawing that sword? Even if you did, you likely lack the skill to face me, Dohuru said with scorn, making Lai grit his teeth in fury. Unable to bear the shame, Lai roared and charged into the brawl with Dohuru. Witnessing their fierce clash, Yuan praised them. That's it, Lai. A perfect manhwa level-up scene. He said this while seeking the best camera angle. Seeing Yuan's excitement, Ruo asked with some concern, Hey, Yuan, will this truly make our school life easier? I still don't understand. Yuan chuckled, not entirely sure how to explain. Well, things won't change overnight, but I promise it'll have an effect, he continued, offering an example. Just think, if the vultures who prey on us knew how powerful you are, they wouldn't dare to touch us again. Makes sense, right? Ruo nodded, understanding. See? Look at them. They're treating the floor like it's tofu, Yuan said with a laugh, eyeing the shattered ground beneath their fists. Anyway, we won't know the result until we post it. So, don't worry too much, Ruo, because a beauty like yours is too elegant for such worries. Don't you know that beautiful people become even more radiant when they smile? That was for you, Ruo. You have a face that would be loved anywhere. It is a shame to keep frowning like that, isn't it? So, put your worries aside and enjoy this moment, Yuan advised. And as if mesmerized, Ruo immediately broke into a smile. Ruo's mind slowly calmed, and for some reason, a smile appeared on her lips. It was magical. Every time she heard Yuan speak, she believed everything would turn out exactly like that. Back to the battle. Though Lai fought his best, he was being beaten to a pulp by Dohuru. Where do you think you're going? I'm just warming up, the swordswoman said, cracking her knuckles. Meanwhile, a tearful Lai cried to Yuan for help. Oh God, Yuan, save me. She is not even human anymore. Yuan's words had worked their magic on Ruo. Back in the battle, Li was still trying his best. I can't eat this. It tastes like soap, Ruo said tearfully, but for the sake of building the YouTube channel. You gave her a look, advising, It's okay, Ruo. You'll get used to it. But why do we have to film this? Ruo whined. Time passed, and at the class president's urging, the 11th graders started uploading videos of their daily lives to the channel, the whole group's little rebellion. And just as you had foreseen, they got an explosive reaction, especially the clip of the battle between Lai and Duzone. Just witnessing the level of destruction they unleashed was enough to leave everyone shocked. Whoa, for real? Are they from a subspace? They're new students. Before they saw more, a video of the four of you playing some game appeared. What is that? Someone wondered. It's the boss game, a traditional game for a master strategist. You move pieces on a board by the game's rules, using square stones and paper. What? This is a game? That subspace is something else. Look, the rules are so simple. Why can't he get them? Haha. Someone laughed, seeing Lai lose so fast. The next scene featured Professor Yuma, and her admirers immediately flooded the comments. Wow, Professor Yuma is always an angel. The next clip showed Ruo crying over her bowl of vegetable noodles. Viewers began teasing her. Haha, so cute. Adorable. Ruo, did you fall from heaven? On to the next. Is the next video a live stream? This is awesome. Wait, the broadcast is tomorrow? That's right, early tomorrow morning. Hold on, isn't tomorrow the day we climb the tower? Someone exclaimed. As they checked, they saw it was a previously scheduled broadcast. Back with your group now. Even he hadn't expected the video he uploaded to get such a massive response. No way, I can't believe it. Why are so many people watching? Ruo wondered. As for you, he cared little, focusing only on the outcome. Our channel hit 100 subscribers in a single day. We're blowing up, you happily declared. Meanwhile, Lai looked irritated, unable to hide his frustration. Why is the video of me getting wrecked the most popular one? Lai complained. At that moment, the elegant Professor Yumina noticed the group's excitement, so she approached and praised them. This is remarkable. Union is a place full of wonders, where everything has become normalized. No student ever considered creating content, but you've all cleverly created your own channel, like a real-life manhwa level up, creating entertainment, and connecting with people. I would have never imagined it myself. Hearing her praise, you immediately jumped in to brag. Our first fight video is super famous. Hey, take it down, Lai said, crestfallen. Just let it go. The professor clapped once and went on. All right. Today, we will enter the tower. You all know this already, correct? Are you prepared? Hearing this, the entire group nodded with confidence. Meanwhile, the main character turned to observe his team and was suddenly taken aback. Wait a second. I just realized. Am I the only one in a uniform? Why is everyone dressed up like this? In reply to his question, the whole group turned to stare at Yuan with odd expressions. Since we'll be fighting constantly in the tower, we just chose comfortable clothes that are easy to move in. Exactly. If I have to fight, this outfit makes me feel the safest, Ruo added with a nod. A grim pact. I understand, Yuan whispered. Is that attire sufficient? Lai questioned. Yuan paused, his thoughts turning inward. I see. My past was one of peace, so I lack dedicated combat gear, but I chose this path. If this is to be a battle for survival, he mused, adjusting his tie with chilling precision. He declared with cold confidence, this will be more than enough. As he faced the professor, she saw their resolve and nodded. Huh, so you're all prepared. Let's begin. With a snap of her fingers, a sigil blazed to life beneath them. A blinding flash consumed them, and reality shifted. They stood before the monolithic Tower of Babel. Here, countless other aspirants waited to enter. Their sudden arrival drew eyes, and a murmur of recognition spread. Huh? Aren't those the rebels? Seriously, they're here too? A brown-haired student exclaimed. In the chaos, Ruo stared, bewildered like a lost child. Wait, this is the tower's entrance. The tower opens at dawn, but entry is staggered. By rank, we're the 52nd group, Yuan clarified. This caused Ruo's face to pale. Are we the first-year class to go in? Ah. Just consider it a testament to your skill level, she replied with a nonchalant shrug. As they waited, Lai spotted the 3 thugs who once tormented him standing nearby. Oh, it's them, the way they're looking at us. It's different now, isn't it? The swordsman mused, watching the trio avert their gaze, unable to meet his eyes. Witnessing this shift, Yuan felt a grim satisfaction. Well, they did subscribe to our channel, after all. Nearby, the swordswoman Hojan interjected, but there are still some murderous glares. Her eyes drifted toward Hector, who was staring daggers at Yuan. Hey, Yuan, she warned, but it was unnecessary. He already knew. I know. Let's move. With that, he led them into the maw of the tower. His mind raced. Today, the tower climb, and next Tuesday, the duel with Hector. Only 4 days remain. In that time, I will achieve a manhwa level up that Hector cannot possibly comprehend. Before their official descent, Professor Aluminina gave some final instructions. Now, for safety's sake, I hope you finish this expedition early and return before the weekend, but ultimately, the decision rests with you. How long do you estimate this expedition will take? Upon hearing the question, Yuan faced his companions. We're all in agreement on this, so allow me to answer. Yeah, okay, got it. The others nodded their assent. Yuan then faced Illumina, his voice laced with iron resolve. We will return, as promised, in 3 days and 2 nights. As he spoke, he produced a miniature drone, prepping it for the live broadcast. Seeing their meticulous planning, Illumina could only wish them luck. Well then, please be careful. After bidding their professor farewell, the 4 adventurers and their drone stepped through the gate. Yuan's silent plea echoed in his mind. Ansys, please watch over me. The scene flashes back to when Yuan's group approached Aluminina about filming within the dreaded tower. You want to record inside the tower, correct? Aluminina asked for confirmation. Yuan nodded grimly. That's right. I will document everything inside, and this drone will, to handle the filming. He indicated a teardrop drone flying near him, an autonomous creation by Yan, just like Evie and Lilith. Illumina noted that recon teams once entered to map strategies, so she reminded him, do you think this has any meaning? The tower's very structure shifts constantly, you know. Yuan was confused. Is that true? It seemed he was completely unaware. The knight, Li, reviewing data on his display, nodded to confirm. That's correct, Yuan. If you had read the guide, it states the tower's structure is in constant flux, and external machinery fails almost instantly. Yuan was shocked. What are you saying? Illumina explained further. Each level of the tower is a chamber. When you defeat a beast or survive a trap, the space warps to the next chamber. This phenomenon is called a shift. The more you endure it, the deeper you descend into the tower. Yuan asked with curiosity. So the chambers are always rearranging when they shift? Illumina nodded. Precisely. Once you've passed through, you cannot return to the previous chamber. Lai asked with concern. Do the beasts and traps change too? Illumina replied. Of course. With every shift, the monsters grow stronger, and the traps become far more lethal. Du, after a sip of tea, raised a grim question. What if someone perishes while ascending the tower? Yuan and Li were startled, realizing the situation was not as simple as they believed. He's right. What if we fall in combat? We almost overlooked that critical detail, they both worried. Illumina answered carefully. That is the crucial question. Contrary to your fears, in most zones of the tower, challengers do not truly die, even if they are slain. Yuan let out a breath of relief. Phew, that's a relief. The two of them exhaled, knowing they would not lose their lives in the tower. Turning back to Illumina, she continued. To be precise, if you die, you are ejected back to the tower's threshold. Huh? Does that mean we must restart from the first floor? Yuan asked, astonished. Not exactly. Your student identification devices log your shift history. So, upon return, you can resume from the point where you were last eliminated. Therefore, your student identification device is absolutely vital when climbing the tower. Do not forget it. Remember that. As she spoke, she gestured to a pendant in her hand which displayed the words, teleportation, null, no retreat, back to the two young men. After hearing their instructor's explanation, it felt like a twisted game. Haha, this is just like a Manhwa level up story with a save function. If I can revive after dying, I can challenge this as many times as I want, Lai said with confidence. Meanwhile, only Du was truly listening to the teacher's careful words. Hold on, you just said that in most areas of the tower, challengers don't die, correct? That implies some areas or situations are genuinely life-threatening. The tower doesn't guarantee absolute safety. Hearing this, the entire group snapped their gazes to Illumina, awaiting her answer. Is that true? Ah, you are very perceptive, Du. Yes, that is correct. I will now explain the special situations where even you could truly perish. The teacher's voice became grave, but the grim details that followed were left to the imagination. The scene shifts, back to the group. They are now locked in a desperate struggle against a swarm of toxic green slimes inside the tower. Here, monsters called glitz thrive, infamous for shredding equipment and snatching weapons from their victims. Adventurers. Yet, to Yoon's group, they were nothing but sludge. With a single, fluid swing of his sword, Lai effortlessly dispatched 3 slimes, as Dujan flicked her fingers, unleashing magic bullets that detonated their forms in midair. While his companions fought fiercely, Yoon was focused on a wall-mounted lamp, his experiment proving unsuccessful. Ha! Just as I thought. It's failing. I can sense the very concept of fire, but I can't quite grasp it. To separate it. It worked in other dungeons, so why not here? Unlocking this is key to my progression, and will unlock my abilities. As Yoon frowned, Dujan noticed his fixation on the lamp, and called out to him. Hey Yoon, sorry, I was distracted, Yoon admitted, startled. You needed time to think. So, have you figured anything out? She pressed. Yoon shook his head. I was testing if I could isolate fire, but it appears I can't. Is that right? A shame. If you could, we could exploit the tower's terrain, Dujan said with regret. Hey, don't jump to such terrifying conclusions about my powers, Yoon replied awkwardly. As they spoke, a green slime crept closer. As it neared Dujan's heel, it suddenly lunged, expanding mid-air as if to engulf her whole. But before it touched her, a supersonic chain erupted, blasting the creature into a gelatinous spray. The attack, of course, was Yun's. Seeing him wield such a strange and unique weapon, Dujan exclaimed, Oh, so that's how your automatic item looks in combat. Yeah, that's it. Yun nodded, gesturing for Y to attack. Thanks to its independent soul, Yun barely needed to issue commands. It flew autonomously, eliminating all the creatures at a dizzying speed. Even Dujan had to admit, not bad. That's incredibly fast. Yun replied with an odd smile. Actually, I have something stronger, but it gets a little loud. Hearing this, Dujan glanced at Wuzhou and asked, Can it compare to someone like her? At that moment, under their gaze, Wuzhou became utterly ferocious as her hand morphed into a beastly form. With a single swipe, she tore a large hole in the floor, sending debris flying. It's absurd. The first rule of combat is stealth, staying out of sight. Yet, she's fighting and screaming in a place like this. Dujan shook her head, exasperated by Wuzhou's style. Meanwhile, Yun was also stunned. Haha, Wuzhou's fighting style is pure instinct, isn't it? Gah, lion, Wuzhou roared, causing Du Jan behind them to grind her teeth, so loud. Must she scream with every single swing of her blade? She muttered. Time passed swiftly, and the group finished clearing the corridor. It seems this floor only has these creatures. Monsters of this level are nothing to us, right? Lai stated calmly, but just then, the echoes of Wuzhou's feral cries still hung in the air. A testament to her brutal style that made Dojian grind her teeth, so loud, yet she's fighting and screaming in a place like this. Dojian shook her head, exasperated by Wuzhou's style. It seems this room only has creatures. Monsters of this level are nothing to us, right? Lai said calmly. But just then, Yun began. Using his myriad poison eye to observe, he quickly detected a strange energy pulsing from the stone tablet. Up ahead. Hey Wuzhou, smash that stone tablet. Following his command, Wuzhou let out a loud roar and charged forward, punching the tablet hard, causing the monster to be destroyed before it could even fully form. The punch was so powerful, it made the entire hallway shake. My god. We destroyed a high-level monster before it even appeared, and it dropped an enhanced magic core this easily, Lai said in a daze, having prepared for a major battle, and didn't notice Yu quickly retrieving the magic core that had just dropped. But as soon as she touched the core, her pink hair turned a fiery red, and at that same time, he noticed something appear above her head, the words, Furnace Core. Hey, Yuchu, your hair is getting darker, he pointed out, while also noting the words above her head. Does Furnace Core mean a furnace in the heart? It's a concept of burning emotions as fuel for power, just like a berserker. I see. Will her hair change color entirely? Thinking on it, things are becoming clearer, he thought to himself. As if sensing his confusion, Yuchu anxiously tugged on his sleeve and asked, hey, did I look scary just now? He replied with a forced smile and said, not at all, you were actually very reliable, but what if it gets worse? Yuchu stammered. Dujun interrupted her. I already said it's fine. What are you still worried about? If you're afraid of losing control, don't worry, I'll simply kill you to prevent any damage, she said firmly, making Yuchu's eyes well up with tears. The other two panicked and yelled, don't, Dujun. If just one person dies, we'll have to start exploring all over again from the first room. The main character quickly raised his hand to stop her, but Dujun calmly stated her point of view. If things continue like this, perhaps only the three of us will be able to ascend. At this point, she paused, shook her head, and continued in a more decisive tone. No, I think it would be better if only the two of us ascend. Hearing this, Lai suddenly felt left out, with tears streaming down his face. Hey, wait a minute, what about me? He shouted in frustration, feeling as though he was being excluded. He wondered to himself, why is he getting so angry all of a sudden? Then he turned to look at Yuchu, who was still worried about her condition. He gently touched her shoulder, comforting her. Listen, I'll think this through carefully. I understand why you're worried, and as the team captain, I will find a solution. His warm smile made Yuchu's face light up. She grabbed his hand and said, thank you. Faced with her reaction, he blushed, scratched his head, and said, it's nothing. That's what a captain is for. However, Lai and Du Jun felt left out, and looked at him with annoyed expressions. So, you're just like other guys. The moment you see a pretty face, your eyes light up, Du Jun said contemptuously. He quickly retorted, that's a misunderstanding. I'm perfectly normal in front of you. Lai chimed in with a reminder. Hey, aren't you all letting your guard down a bit too much? After clearing the floor, they used a teleportation spell, descending to the next floor. Lai calmly announced, teleportation complete, we're in the second room. He crouched down, picked up a few weeds from the ground, and now, added, besides moss and weeds, I see no difference in this chamber from the last. Meanwhile, Yu was still fixated on the magic core from the first floor, the one from the high-level beast Yuchu gave him. As he focused, the core's stats manifested before him. Life 8, Demonic 11, Melting 12, Acid 5, Resistance 1. Staring at these numbers, Yu was disappointed. What is this? This dungeon is a total waste of time. The concepts in one room are barely on par with a single goblin den. Acid and melting are decomposition attributes for breaking down matter, likely from the chlorite we defeated. I'll absorb the melting concept into my blade. And, as for the acid, of course, that is for you. He tossed the acid orb to his small serpent, EV, but the orb seemed too large for it. It stared wide-eyed, unable to consume it. Dujun watched on curiously. She crept over and asked, this little one is getting strong awfully fast, huh? Her sudden voice startled Yuan. Hey, don't you just sneak up and talk to me like that? Dujun retorted. If you trained your senses, you wouldn't get startled so easily. While the two bickered, Lai reminded them. You two are unbelievable. The monsters in the second chamber are about to appear. Can you be a little more serious? Just then, a series of magic circles flared in front of them, preparing to summon monsters. Before Lai could finish, Dujun fired a magic bullet, dissipating the black smoke before them. So much for being serious. This second chamber seems no different than the first. A lion doesn't get devoured by ants, no matter how careless, right? she shrugged, appearing unconcerned. At that moment, a humanoid entity of black smoke materialized on the second floor. It was an evil spirit, a wicked creature that preys on the mana inside humans. Lai immediately objected to their carelessness. If we're this careless, we will be in big trouble. I suggest we let Banyuan handle the combat in the second chamber. What do you all think? A girl suggested, startling Lai. However, everyone knew Yu's weakness, so they immediately refused. What are you saying? That's far too dangerous. Du Jun, still smiling brightly, chimed in. I think that's a pretty good idea. Next week, we have a brutal match. He needs a serious Manhwa level up to improve his abilities, right? As she spoke, she glanced at Yu, teasing him. At these words, Yu could only laugh. Lai, huh? You're really something. Alright, let me try handling this myself. With that, he started warming up, rotating his arms, looking excited for the coming battle. Lai couldn't help but worry, advising, Yuan, it's dangerous. But Yuan was resolute. He was determined to improve himself. It's okay. Just as Dujun said, I need to get stronger, fast. It's a waste for you all to expend your energy here. You two will help me improve the fastest, right? Yeah, if you say so, then I'll trust you. Lai nodded in agreement. Alright, but if anything dangerous happens, I'm jumping in immediately, Lai added. Thanks a lot. Yu smiled and turned to Dujun. Listen, just save your stamina. I trust later you'll help me with all you've got, right? Dujun flashed a confident smile. I can at least promise you won't die from mere overexertion. Hearing her guarantee, Yuan's nerves settled. Alright then, let's do this, he roared. And immediately Yuan transformed, summoning an AK-47 and unleashing a storm of lead on the monstrous horde. They were annihilated before they could take a single step. Lai and Vucho witnessed this, nearly collapsing from the shock. What is that? Is that a unique weapon from your world? The speed of extermination was terrifying. If only our soldiers had this, Lai wished to herself. Dujan also observed in cold, silent assessment. Is that a Qiong? No. It fires iron slugs. It could handle a second-rate assassin, perhaps even breach the first-rate threshold. Very useful indeed, in the martial world. However, an attack method that only follows a straight line is fine for long range, but in a confined space like this, it's a fatal flaw. For instance, if an enemy strikes his blind spot, the moment the thought formed, a lurking evil spirit lunged at Yuan from behind. Lai and Vuo screamed in absolute panic. Yuan, but his reaction was inhumanly fast. He drew a long sword from his inventory and with one clean slash, bisected it. The evil spirit fell in two, its ambush utterly failed. Ha, you scared me. Yuan sighed in relief, as did Li and Vuo. Phew. What was that? Yuan, what's with that sword? Li asked. Yuan replied, this is my longsword with its stats. Magic Blade 12, Slayer 19, Blood Toxin 9, and Melt 12. You didn't know I was this good with a sword? Hearing this, the other two immediately began showering him with praise. While the group was chatting, a horde of evil spirits suddenly swarmed them from behind like a tide, seizing their moment of distraction. Back to Yuan. Hearing everyone's praise, he showed no arrogance, but simply replied with humility. It's nothing, really. Compared to Lai and Du Jan, I'm still a long way off. As he spoke, he tightened his grip on the blade, preparing to eliminate the rest. Du Jan observed Yuan's attitude, nodding, satisfied with the seamless combination. Of sword and gun, our protagonist wasn't the least bit concerned about the risk of being ambushed by the evil spirits. Soon, the second floor was cleared, leaving only a single, solitary evil spirit. It stood silently, looking almost ashamed. Yuan calmly remarked, I don't see any more evil spirits. This must be the last one. After we finish it, we'll advance. Let's rest for a moment. After saying that, he commanded his small snake to become chains, tightly binding the evil spirit to prevent its escape. The other group members also used this time to recover. Du Jan then knelt to examine the spirit's remains. She commented. The blade melted and decomposed them. He's using the ability he got from the previous room. Based on what happened and his swordsmanship, it was obvious he had never been on a true battlefield. So, how did he achieve this Manhwa level up so quickly, she wondered. Meanwhile, Lai and Vucho couldn't stop praising Yuan. To devise a way to coordinate teleportation like this, Yuan is truly brilliant. Only experienced students could have conceived of such a method. Haha, really? Yuan scratched his head, shy about such high praise. Even Du Jan didn't hesitate to admit, good job, that final slash was excellent. Huh, really? Well, thanks. You replied with a hint of pride, but she shook her head. You're too focused on pure speed. Still, it's much better than a brute just swinging his sword wildly. As she spoke, she eyed Lai, mocking him. The knight bristled. What? Why am I the brute? I was fighting with everything I had. Du Jan feigned innocence. Did I name anyone? How did you know? She mimed him, slashing wildly into the darkness. If that's not a brute, then what is? She retorted, as Lai stubbornly argued back. That's how I was trained to use a sword, whether it's in the dark or not. Turning from them, he ignored their argument and casually pulled a soda from his inventory, chuckling. You guys are truly one of a kind. Even on a break, you're not tired at all. His voice faded as he saw the other three staring at him with wide, intense eyes. Dujan's face darkened as she demanded, "Hey, you, what are you hiding for yourself?" And Vuo, you watch the ceiling for any surprises. Roger, they responded in unison, nodding in agreement. With his back secured, Yu calmly advanced on the crippled spiders to farm experience. How interesting, Yu mused to himself. Dujan isn't my leader, so why is she being so considerate? Honestly, I can't help but feel grateful. While thinking, Yu gripped his sword and charged straight at an immobilized spider. He expected the slash to grant him experience, but it didn't. The moment his blade struck, a sharp metallic clang rang out. Yu's entire body shuddered from the recoil. It turned out slashing the spider was like striking a block of iron. It's no use, it's too hard. Yu gritted his teeth, a look of helplessness on his face. Below, the tower spider grew agitated, its eyes glowing like headlamps. It lunged at Yu as if for revenge. Yu quickly stepped back. There's always a way though. He then built up momentum and lunged, powerfully thrusting his sword through the spider's head. It had revealed a weak spot, and Yu didn't miss the chance. He did it. Fu cheered as Li breathed a sigh of relief. Phew. But despite defeating one tower spider, Yu wasn't happy. If slashing is ineffective, this is useless. I can't just keep thrusting my sword against so many. The tower spiders are still too much for me, Yu thought. This brutal Manhwa level up required more than just brute force. Haha, I'm an idiot. I have that amazing thing from the last room. Why didn't I think of it? Now is the perfect time. With that, he took out the concept orb of severing with 20 accumulated points and fused it with the longsword. Instantly, the sword began to glow like forged steel. Let's see its compatibility with my sword. A notification appeared. Item evolved due to excellent compatibility. Executioner's severing longsword. 30 magic power, 30 lethality, 19 blood poison, 9 melting, and 12 corrosion. On the other side, the remaining spiders had recovered from the impact of Dujan's ki blast. Sensing the killing intent from Yu, they all charged at once, trying to swarm and overwhelm him. Yu confidently gripped his new sword, drawing it back for the kill. Now then, let's try this out. He swung the blade forward, and with a single, effortless slash, a new level of power was unleashed, cleaving through their ranks. 3 tower spiders fell, the very beasts he couldn't even scratch before. Behind him, Li's group stared, utterly amazed, wondering what possessed him to become so powerful so suddenly. Li asked, confused, while Dujan watched intently, seemingly dissecting whatever trick he had just used. Back with our hero, his own face showed a hint of confusion. Wait, though the slash was clean, something feels off. It's so awkward. I think I swung the blade harder than needed. Let's try again. I have to perfect this. After that, he continued to swing his sword, cutting down a few more spiders to test his theory. Lai and Vucho saw that the massive swarm of spiders was still huge, and they didn't hesitate to rush in and help. There are too many. Let us give you a hand, Lai said, nodding as they both charged into the fray. Dujan, however, had already noticed something was off. He definitely did something with that blade. In a single moment, he felled a foe he couldn't even damage before. How can one person have such intuitive, overwhelming power? More than that, he's developing his skills without relying on his existing abilities. This is like a true Manhwa level up. Normally, a stronger weapon makes one wild. But he shows no such weakness. Even if it's not instant, one day, he will surely master the essence of the blade. Although there's no reason to interfere with this process, it would be a waste to just observe. After overcoming the 3 calamities, I prided myself on being the greatest prodigy in the martial world. But now, I am witnessing a talent that makes my own past seem utterly insignificant. No, this man must be mine. As she thought this, a dangerous glint flashed in Dujan's eyes. Meanwhile, our protagonist was completely engrossed in the fight, totally unaware he had become the young woman's target. Suddenly, a cold chill shot down his spine, causing him to pause his swing. Hey, what's wrong? Lai asked. Oh, it's nothing. I just felt a sudden chill down my spine. Thought some high-level monster was about to appear, he said. Not noticing Dujan's expression behind him had darkened. He turned to her and said, Dujan, why are you just standing there? Aren't you going to keep firing your blasts? Huh? You're doing just fine. What do you need me for? She replied irritably. He smirked slightly. Is that so? Then I guess I don't need to give you a drink. I'm doing just fine. What? Jan's eyes widened in disbelief. We finally cleared the room, Lai sighed in relief. He then took out 2 cans of soda, teasing the swordswoman. I guess I'll have to share these with Lai and Vucho. You just want to keep the soda for yourself, Dujan yelled, chasing him. Suddenly, Lai received a message. Huh? A message from the outside. Not just Lai, but Dujan and Vucho also got one. A message from the outside. Why now? Did everyone get one? Lai, read the message, his eyes filling with deep worry. The message ordered every single person to leave the tower immediately. What? Why so suddenly? This is a direct order from the headmaster. Does that mean it applies to the entire school? I don't want to go. This wasn't even a warm-up for me. I haven't even had my soda. Unless there's a damn good reason, I won't accept this, Du Jan grumbled, frustrated. Before she could say more, Vuo suddenly screamed, "They're here!" The group spun around, shocked to find that before them, several spatial gates had ripped open, disgorging a countless swarm of tower spiders. Ah, so that's it. This must be the reason they're calling us out, Lai said, a grim memory surfacing. This is what we were warned about, wasn't it? Du Jan nodded, her expression grimly thoughtful. Haha, no wonder the difficulty felt so strange. You chuckled darkly. The swordswoman, Du Jan, checked her identification necklace and shook her head helplessly. The identification collar has gone dead. It appears we are truly trapped in this room. So, this is exactly what the professor warned about, a phenomenon where even students could actually die. An irregular space, Lai said, his voice tense as a wave of tower spiders swarmed them, flashing back to the meeting with Professor Alamanina when she warned of a situation where students could face life-threatening danger. When freshmen climb the tower, there is a chance that invading space pirates will appear. Hearing this, you turned and asked, "What are space pirates?" "I'll explain later. The problem is, their unusual invasion creates an irregular phenomenon. It's an unpredictable event, absent in normal expeditions. Normally, you can't die, but once an irregularity occurs, everything completely changes. All the rules within the tower will be distorted, safe zones will become lethal, and the number of cloned monsters will become uncontrollable. The difficulty of the rooms will skyrocket. You could call it hell mode. In addition, a series of other problems occur simultaneously. Hearing this, all three of their faces had turned deathly pale. Just imagining being caught in that nightmare was enough to terrify them to death. Back then, Professor Illumina said, "As you can see, the tower does not guarantee absolute safety. So, you must remember this carefully. If you're unlucky enough to get stuck in an irregular phenomenon, remember, it is a real life or death situation." Returning to the present, after realizing the situation, the group knew it was suicide to confront the seemingly endless wave of monsters. Yu immediately started his ship, grabbing Vuo as they fled, while the other two also accelerated as fast as they could. However, the spiders stuck close, never letting up. We don't know how long these things will keep appearing, so trying to hold out in this confined space is too risky. Yu frowned and said, "We must assume it's infinite," Du Jan muttered, just as spiders began pouring from the hallway. Du Jan unleashed a palm blast, firing a stream of internal energy that sent them flying. At the same time, Lai also swung his sword relentlessly, sending out blades of sword aura that pierced the spiders' bodies, shouting as he slashed. "Du Jan, don't stop. Just worry about yourself first." Du Jan grunted as the two of them joined forces to stem the tide of monsters. However, Yu was worried about their energy consumption. Du Jan had already slain dozens on the way here, and so had Lai. Their stamina was being bled dry, and Vucho's hair had become darker. He couldn't even speak. If his hair completely transforms, what horror will be unleashed? These spiders are too tough. What should we do? This is no simple Manhwa level up. This is an execution. Panic seized your thoughts. During a short break, Du Jan turned to you and said, "Your beast friend has seemingly lost her mind. Who could have foreseen this? I can't last much longer either. It'll become incredibly dangerous if I don't get some rest." As she spoke, she rotated her wrist, aching from overusing her palm blast. Without hesitation, you pulled a can of soda from your inventory and offered it to her. "Oh my, this is?" Du Jan asked hesitantly. "Just drink it. I'll hold them off. You take a break and drink." At your gallant words, Du Jan's face flushed slightly as she took the can. "Haha, can you really do it?" "Of course, watch this." "Let's go," you said, pulling a grenade from somewhere, yanking the pin, and throwing it into the middle of the spiders ahead. It exploded violently, sending severed limbs of tower spiders flying everywhere. "What was that? What is that power?" Lai exclaimed in astonishment. "How about that? Pretty cool, right? I put a lot of effort into making it." "Get some rest, Lai," you said with a smile, then piloted your flying motorcycle to rush back in and absorb experience. As you went, you absorbed concepts from the spider corpses, your mind racing. Vuo still looks energetic, but she's completely unpredictable right now. The monsters are increasing in number. I don't know how much time we have left. Letting Lai and Du Jan rest is the best choice, and in the meantime, I have to take down as many monsters as I can. I must buy time for them to recover, you thought to yourself before being drawn to a notification before you. Executioner's longsword's blood venom has increased by 15. You have grasped the concept of severing, a true Manhwa level up. The depth of severing has reached level 2. The moment the notification appeared, the sword in your hand was suddenly enveloped in a sinister red aura. Is the sword turning red? You frowned, looking at the blade. Even though I don't know what concept blood venom is based on, I will know once I test it. With that, you gripped the sword tightly and swung. Immediately after the attack, you noticed a difference. Wait, the sword's trail is expanding. If severing strengthens the slash, then blood venom expands the range and attack distance. By draining my own blood, I can't use it often. Each swing feels like donating blood. You thought in horror about this treacherous sword. From behind, Lai saw the sword transform and asked, Did you get something interesting again? What's going on with that sword aura? You didn't answer, asking instead. Vuo, where is she? Lai glanced to the side and shook his head. She's slaughtering the spiders over there. We shouldn't approach her right now. You looked towards Vuo, where she roared like a beast, punching to pieces every spider that dared get close. You sighed, and advised the two of them not to join in. Just get some more rest. There is no need. I've rested enough thanks to you. You should look around. The spider swarm has thinned out considerably, Lai said softly, startling you. You looked around and realized the number of monsters had indeed decreased significantly. Now that you mention it, I'm just noticing, Dujan also said, looking around. Their momentum has died down. Usually, when monsters stop attacking, it means the battle is ending, or something stronger is about to appear. Just then, even Vuo, lost in a battle frenzy, sensed the anomaly and froze, turning toward a forming spatial gate. A colossal spider crawled out from within. Staring at its building-sized frame, Li said gravely, "It's too late." Yu's eyes widened, failing to grasp what was happening. Weren't these giant monsters supposed to appear only on much higher floors? Beside Yu, the swordswoman saw his naive shock and couldn't help but scoff. Aren't you tired of whining about this bizarre situation? I've heard it so often my ears are bleeding. However, there wasn't just one giant spider, which amplified their terror. Confronting the behemoth, he finally grasped its true danger. Man, after all my confident talk earlier, what do I do now? The lesser spiders only needed slashes and blood venom, but against this thing, I doubt my attacks will be effective. This wasn't some simple Manhwa level up. His confidence crumbled. At that moment, the swordswoman stepped forward. Weren't you just telling me and Dujan to rest? What makes you so certain we can't win? You still refused my help? Is that pride, or just stubbornness? She whispered softly into Yu's ear, making his face flush slightly. Pink, huh? Yu asked unconsciously. You're a fan of this type, aren't you? It's unique, but not bad. Now, pay the price for that sweetness. The price may be steep, but don't consider it a debt. As she spoke, Dujan slowly drew her sword. This was the first time Yu had ever seen her use a weapon. A sword? She fights bare-handed, so why is she making a point to show me? Yu wondered. As if reading his mind, Dujan glanced back to explain, I just prefer not to get my hands dirty. Don't overthink it. Hearing that, Yu's face flushed crimson. Ah, sorry, he mumbled. His flustered expression made Dujan chuckle. You're only missing one more thing. I'll show you just once, and for you, a single slash from this sword will provide the answer. After saying that, she began to radiate an intense aura, warning in a grave tone, Hey, you, watch closely. She slowly drew her sword back, and the air around her grew more taut than ever. Just then, Yu heard a commotion from Li's direction. Hey Vuo, you idiot, don't hunt me. Go hunt the monster. Li strained, using his sword to block Vuo. You've completely lost your mind, and are attacking your own teammate. While the two bickered, the giant spider behind them seized the opportunity, launching a massive strand of silk straight at them. Vuo reacted in time, leaping aside to dodge. But Lai wasn't so lucky and was pinned to the wall by the silk. Seeing the spider interfere in his fight, Vuo immediately snarled at it threateningly. The scene made Yu break out in a cold sweat, thinking, oh man, what a complete mess. Just then, Dujan's voice cut in. Hey Yu, what are you looking at? Where are your eyes wandering? Focus on me. Yu quickly turned back, explaining, I am watching, but the spider is over there. Dujan calmly replied, I already told you, it's fine. There is only one spider left there now. With that, she swung her sword to attack. With a single slash, she cleaved the spider in half before it could even react. He watched, stunned, as Dujan's arm swung up from below, a simple motion that carried utter annihilation. In that single action, he saw death itself cleaving the world apart. After witnessing this ultimate skill, Yuan's mind felt overloaded, making him dizzy. A series of system notifications appeared. High-level skill has been instantly comprehended. Control over authority has been enhanced. The depth of the myriad poison eye, the myriad listening ear, and the myriad tongues God has increased by 5 points. Successfully comprehended a fragment of an extremely powerful and complex martial concept. Soul depth is 390. Martial arts depth is 97. Swordsmanship depth is 52. You have observed the essence of the slash. Depth has reached 15. He didn't have time to examine the notifications. His head ached, as if it would split in two. Unbelievable. Just by observing her art, my stats skyrocketed. That power is like when I shattered Optimus's energy field. It must be an evolved version of the deathly art she's shown before. How can a person channel such an intense will into a blade? The concept of death I witnessed was so clear and vivid that it sent a chill down his spine. Thinking on it, he couldn't help but tremble at the thought of ever having to face that attack. Seeing Yuan dazed after the display, Dujan called out, Hey, Yuan, were you watching closely? Don't expect to see it a second time. With that, she leaned her face close to Yuan, making him flinch and step back. Why are you avoiding me? She asked. You're standing too close, Yuan stammered. Then, Dujan casually tossed him the core of the elite spider they had just slain. Huh? Isn't this the core from that elite spider? Yuan stared in amazement at the stats of the three-bodied life core. Stamina 11, Demonic 12, Carapace 15, Spiderweb 10, Resistance 1. He was hesitant. Dujan was the one who defeated it. So is it really okay for me to take this core? He turned to the swordswoman with an unreadable expression, as if she had already guessed Yuan's thoughts. Dujan smirked teasingly. Hey, it's a reward. Don't be shy. Just take it. Hearing this, Yuan turned away in embarrassment. As the two were interacting and the air grew flirtatious, the knight Li, stuck to the side, witnessed the scene. This public display of affection right before his eyes. He couldn't stand it and had to shout, "Hey, you two, stop flirting and come help me. Vucho has gone berserk over here." As he spoke, Lai glanced fearfully at Vucho, who was currently beating the other elite spider into a literal pulp. Damn. It looks like Lai is completely useless. She'll be defeated in an instant. There's only one person who can stop her. And who could that be but, Yuan said, turning to look at the strongest member of the team. However, when he saw her standing there with arms crossed, as if this had nothing to do with her, Yuan broke out in a cold sweat. Don't look at me like that. I've already done my part in this battle. She, the swordswoman, replied coldly. But since he couldn't handle Vucho himself, Yuan had to try and persuade her. I know you don't like it, but this is an irregular situation. If one of us dies, who knows what will happen? Just as he finished speaking, suddenly, a leg twitched. The elite spider wasn't defeated. As expected, Dujan sighed. Fine. I'll go. Play with that beast, Dujan said, cracking her knuckles. Yuan was overjoyed. Yes, that's more like it, he exclaimed. However, Dujan set a condition. In return, you have to finish off the thing at your feet. Come on, beast. Don't just stay up there, get down here. She then fired a blast of energy straight at Vuo's face, to get her attention. Let's have some real fun. Provoked, Vuo gnashed her teeth, growling like a wild animal, before charging straight toward Du January. Her powerful landing shattered the ground. But Dujan dodged easily, taunting Vuo to draw her in. Over here, beast, she laughed. And so, Vuo continued, to charge and attack mindlessly. After a missed punch, Dujan swiftly grabbed Vuo's wrist and slammed, her body hard into the ground. Oh dear, not there, I said, over here. All you know is how to charge at stronger opponents blindly. Get up, beast. Still full of energy, huh? I'm going to play with you until you have a little sanity left. Go on, run wild, huh? Dujan taunted, making Vuo even more enraged. Seeing this, Yuan got goosebumps. Heavens, she's just playing with her. This is what a true Manhwa level up looks like. While Du January called out to remind Yuan, hey, no time to be slacking off. Asterisk clang. Asterisk. Hearing that, Yuan drew his sword and turned to face the elite spider. I know, but isn't this task a bit too difficult? He stammered. Even though Vuo had wounded the spider, it was still a tough opponent. If you observe my attacks carefully, then you can do it. Dujan gave Yuan a confident look, making him laugh awkwardly. Haha. Based on what? Makes you say that? The spider immediately attacked, slamming one of its legs straight at him. Yuan's body was hit and thrown into the distance. Hey, is Yuan all right? Li asked worriedly. What the hell was that? Yuan suddenly exclaimed in surprise. At that moment, he felt the spider looking down on him. It's barely hanging on, yet it thinks it can deal with me. Fine. Let's see you try, Yuan shouted with determination. Immediately, magic circles appeared around the spider. From them, chains shot out, tightly binding its legs. Is he tying up the spider's legs? Lie, exclaimed in amazement. Meanwhile, Yuan quickly took advantage of its restricted movement, rushing forward to attack. I'll use these to lock it down, then add more damage with blood poison and attack at close range. It's decided. Soon after, Yuan swung his sword fiercely, slashing straight into the spider's face. It immediately roared in pain from the deep wound on its face. Take this, he shouted excitedly. But Lai, trapped on the side, frowned worriedly. What should I do, Yuan? The situation isn't good. In the distance, Dujan, dodging attacks, also mumbled, too shallow. If you want to kill it, you have to cut off its head. What are you doing, Yuan? Back with Yuan. He now also realized that his attack only enraged the spider further without much damage. Was the slash too short? Why? Could it be that blood poison wasn't activated properly? On second thought, it's understandable. I've never used two abilities in a row before. As he realized this, the spider channeled its full power into its legs, causing the chains to explode into fragments. Instantly, its legs crashed down on Yun, triggering a massive explosion. Damn it all! Yun swore internally. Far off, Li cried out in terror while Dujan was frozen in shock. As the dust cleared, Yun's form emerged. By some miracle, he had managed to raise his sword to block the strike, just in time. But even with the block, the raw impact made his entire body feel like it was about to shatter. Asterisk huff. Huff. Asterisk. I barely blocked that. As it struck the blade, I shifted the angle. If I had met it head-on, my sword and arm would have shattered for sure. But how did I even sense that? In that instant, a fleeting second stretched into an eternity. Maybe it's because I witnessed Du's swordplay, Yun thought to himself. At the same moment, his ability rose slightly. In the heat of battle, he had perceived and grasped the concept of flow. The depth of his flow ascended to level 5. Yun used his sword to stand, confirming his theory. So that's what it was. That single sword strike influenced me. Huh. Amazing. I never imagined you'd awaken a martial aspect I never even knew I possessed. While I can't perfectly mimic your swordsmanship, I think I understand what I must do now. With this thought, a fighting spirit ignited in Yun's heart, and he stood with confidence before the elite spider. Alright, spider, let's go again. Bring it. As he spoke, he stared directly into its many eyes with a dead serious expression. To answer this provocation, the elite spider began to strike with its 4 forelegs. Miraculously, Yun swung his sword with incredible skill, moving as if he were a machine, deflecting every relentless strike from the massive foe. Witnessing the vicious clash between the two, Lai watched from afar and quickly saw something incredible, a technique called parrying. It's a method to deflect or repel an opponent's attack. If done right, it not only stops the blow, but it also helps prevent serious injury and can even create openings for a counterattack. But this technique isn't so simple on an actual battlefield. Most die before they can master it, or they adopt a different fighting style. After all, you only get one life to live. That's just how it is. But how could he display that technique so expertly in this situation? Didn't he claim he'd never held a sword before? The more she considered it, the more curious she became about Yun's impossible rate of growth. Back to our hero. Yun at this moment seemed to have split into 3, moving in 3 directions to parry attacks coming from all 4 sides of the massive beast. Amid the onslaught, his eyes were wide, fixed on his opponent, searching for an opening. And the moment the giant spider swung its leg to strike again, Yun knew his chance had arrived. This is it, the frontal assault. Block it, and the one from the right gets deflected. With that thought, Yun swung his sword, knocking aside the leg aimed for him. Instantly after, the spider swung another leg at him from the side. Facing this strike, Yun quickly set the sword on his shoulder, letting the leg slide along the blade, and lunge off in another direction. Having done that, he exhaled, a relieved sigh. All right, slowly, things are making sense. We push on. Meanwhile, the battle between Dujan and Wu was utterly one-sided. The beast girl was a mere plaything for Dujan, a cat batting a mouse. Growing bored of the game, Dujan simply tripped Wuo, causing the girl to lose her balance and fall flat on her face. Ignoring the pathetic girl, Dujan turned her focus to Yun's fight. Incredible. I thought you'd learn from the sword strike, but you've shown me something truly unexpected. A martial art exists in the central planes based on flow's nature, but very few ever study it. Deflecting a foe's force is a technique that requires seizing the instant within just 100,000th of a second. The risk is too high, the effort too great. Most choose easier paths. For someone like me, who has only pursued overwhelming power, you've opened a new perspective. I never imagined a skill I deemed trivial could be so profound and utterly impressive. At the thought, the swordswoman's face flushed, but Wuo's scream snapped her from her reverie. Thanks, beast girl, for reminding me of my shame. Hey, release me, she yelled, not responding. Dujan kept thinking, merely deflecting attacks won't end this. To actually win, you must see the bigger picture. If you've come this far, then show me, Yun. If you've mastered flow, to redirect power, then surely you can use it to counterattack. Yun, too, now realized this. So, he watched intently, searching for an opening. Then, just as the elite spider lunged its leg at Yun again, he charged forward to meet it. In that instant, Yun used the enemy's own force, executing a spin that combined 2 severing slash skills. He parried the spider's leg, using the momentum to empower his own slash simultaneously. He infused 2 more traits, poison blood and cleave, into the attack, swinging straight for its face, instantly carving a huge gash. The spider roared in agony, as if burned. From behind, Dujan saw it all, her fists clenched in excitement. That's it. That's the way. Well done, she cheered silently. With Yun, as the spider collapsed, he slumped to the ground, panting, utterly exhausted. Acknowledging his efforts, the system displayed a notification, a true Manhwa level up, temporarily synthesizing the concept's origin to forge a more powerful one. The conceptual depth of poison, air, and language has increased by 5 points. Staring at the notice, Yun was stunned. Oh, did I do that? It rose by that much? He wondered. But before he could check his status, he heard Lai and Du January calling to him. Hey, Yun, Li pleaded. Can you handle this? Still trapped in the web. Meanwhile, Yucho was still wildly attacking Dujan. And this thing, too, she added dryly. Yun could only manage a wry smile. Everyone needs my help just because I beat one elite monster. You're the all-powerful genius, Lai choked out, tears welling. I'm sorry, I'm trapped and my magic is sealed. Dujan nodded grimly. This monster has incredible strength and durability. I wish I was trapped like that idiot, she lamented. Dujan's words suddenly ignited an idea in Yun. That could work, he muttered. He immediately put his plan into motion, analyzing the concept of the silk-binding lie and feeding it to Yan. I just need a monster-catching net. He absorbed the concept from the spider silk, feeding it to the little snake. The little snake, Yan, acquired the spiderweb concept. Its conceptual depth is 25, which is greater than the level 16 spiderweb. Absorbing the concept, Yan's body morphed into a cage of chains. Yun hurled the chain net toward Yucho, catching her completely off guard. As a result, her entire body was bound by the chains, and the more she struggled, the tighter they became. Yun smirked. Go ahead, struggle all you want, Yucho. It's more durable, and it drains your mana. The more you struggle, the tighter it will wrap around you. Meanwhile, the chains began to constrict Yucho's body in a strange way, making both Lee and Yun blush. Lee quickly covered Yun's eyes and warned, "You shouldn't be looking at that." Yun gritted his teeth. "Then what about you?" "I'm fine," Lai replied awkwardly. Dujan surveyed their surroundings and nodded. "Phew. Thank goodness. This room hasn't been transformed yet. That chain seems useful." Just then, Yun's ID card started beeping with new warnings, filling him with urgency as he urged, "My ID card is beeping again. Let's get out of here quickly." Hearing that, Dujan agreed. "Right, we should leave immediately." As soon as she finished speaking, before the group could even move, a crimson orb of energy suddenly materialized behind them. From within the orb, a strange voice echoed, "You, the ones who have passed the trial ahead." Yun's group was startled and on guard, and Yun immediately turned his gaze toward the sound source and demanded, "Who is speaking?" In response, the energy orb gradually transformed, revealing the form of a woman. She reached out to the group and offered, "I will grant you your reward now. I will give you the chance to form a contract with the Overseer of the Myriad Eyes." Time flashed forward, the scene shifting to the outside of the tower. At this moment, Professor Illumina was still anxiously waiting for her students, as they had not yet emerged from the tower, but she didn't have to wait long, as Yun's group was teleported outside by a transport formation. "Is anyone hurt?" Yun asked. "Where are we?" Lai asked curiously. "This is where we entered," Dujan replied. Seeing her, students return, Illumina rushed over with a worried expression, asking, "Are you all okay? Is anyone injured or suffering from any after effects?" Looking at her face, which was on the verge of tears, Yun smiled reassuringly. "We're fine, Professor. We're all right. Please calm down." Hearing this, Illumina's heart still couldn't settle. Though the emergency evacuation notice malfunctioned, she was still terribly worried when no one came out. "But thankfully, you're all safe. So, what happened in there? Can you tell me?" Illumina's question cut the tension. Yuan stammered, "That. We need a secure room, and talk about it first." Moments passed, and the scene shifted to a secluded area where the main character finally had a chance to ask about the tower incident. "So, what happened here?" "We were pulled into a strange place after the 4 rooms transformed, not long after we went in." "What on earth happened out here?" Hearing Yuan's question, Illumina replied grimly, "Actually, a student was murdered by an outside intruder. The academy is trying to handle it, but that student's teammates are shattered. That might have caused the earlier anomalies. We've discussed the intruders before, haven't we?" Illumina's chilling words flashed through Yuan's mind. Dimensional robbers target and murder freshmen, stealing their certification cards. They can't be revived, trapped there forever. Thinking this, Yuan broke into a cold sweat and asked tentatively, "So, have we found that intruder yet?" Illumina shook her head. "They've escaped. The students who were there couldn't stop them." Hearing this, Duho Jan, standing aside, offered his speculation. "It seems this test was a setup. Even if they aren't students here, there are still beings who want to climb the tower with them. New freshmen are easy prey. This is a sick Manhwa level up. Murdering those who pass the entrance exam, aiming to ruin the tower, climbing Academy's reputation, and infiltrate using the stolen certification cards. So, from the Academy's perspective, confronting intruders becomes a mandatory test, placing a great responsibility on the students' shoulders, right?" As he spoke, Duhojan shot a teasing glance toward Illuminina. What he said seemed completely accurate, leaving Illumina unable to offer any rebuttal as she looked at Duho January. Seeing Illumina's flustered state, unsure how to explain, he sighed, and then smirked. "Truly, this place is quite strange. Intruders can brazenly break into the tower, a place within Academy territory, and yet, the Academy can't stop them from slaughtering its own students. This puts the reputation of the greatest Academy of all time into serious question." Behind them, Yuan's group also fell silent, seemingly deep in thought, leaving only the professor. Illumina disagreed with this view. "You've misunderstood. Duho-jan, protecting the students is the Academy's responsibility, but once they enter the tower, they must fend for themselves. Moreover, the tower allowing invaders to enter is unchangeable. It is the will of the tower." After saying this, Illumina slightly bowed her head, as if she dared not face the students before her. The female swordsman heard this and gritted her teeth in frustration. "The will of the tower. If that's the case, then I don't need to be here anymore." She immediately used her necklace to teleport, leaving Aluminina no time to stop her. Beside her, the main character spoke up to explain, "Please understand her, Professor. Some unfortunate things happened in the tower." Turning to Illumina, she now realized that since their return, Yuan's group seemed to be in a strange mood. She asked, "Tell me what happened in there. What horrors do you think they witnessed? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe to see the truth." Confronted with the question, Yuan paused, then recounted the chilling incident. "Right before we returned, we encountered a guardian of the stars." At these words, Illumina's expression became frantic. The omnipotent protectors, known as observers, consume countless dimensions, forming contracts when they find someone they favor. Through that person, they are transcendent beings with vast influence. They bestow power, magic, authority, transcendent skills, and artifacts to make others obey them. But in return, they also demand a great deal. Even so, some still refuse such things. Yet in a world where power is immensely valuable, nothing is more tempting than their gifts. The Guardians of the Stars are indeed incredibly alluring partners. Returning to Illumina, after a moment to compose, she asked with keen interest, "A Guardian of the Stars has appeared in this world?" Yuan nodded in confirmation. "That's right. The observer of all beings told me so in a very strange tone. That entity promised to grant me power. In exchange, I would have to fulfill its requests." As he spoke, confusion clouded Yuan's face, but Illumina did not seem to notice. Instead, she gazed at him with a radiant expression and congratulated him. "That's wonderful. To be offered a contract with a Star Guardian so soon after entering the tower is an unprecedented event in the Academy's history. Obtaining a pact with a Star Guardian this early proves that your talent has been recognized." She spoke with excitement, not realizing her words cast a deeper shadow over Yuan's face. Meanwhile, Yuan found it difficult to believe he was so highly regarded. "Is that really true?" he asked again, his eyes full of doubt. Professor Illumina nodded repeatedly, her expression serious. "You wouldn't be deceiving me, would you?" he continued to question. Though the praise brought him no happiness, but only deepened his confusion. "Professor, what is the Academy's stance on these contracts and the Guardians of the Stars?" he asked directly. Illumina, though curious, replied at once, "Of course, they maintain a neutral stance, but if a true opportunity arises, they will encourage you to seize it." Yuan nodded, understanding the professor's point. "So, the Academy encourages them to accept this contract," he said to clarify. Illumina explained further, "That's right. Among the dimensions, the tower is what attracts the attention of the Guardians of the Stars. No one is better suited to climb the tower than those with contracts with the stars." Hearing this, an even deeper suspicion grew within him. It was hard to believe a place like the Academy had no defensive measures against such intruders. Even if they seemed friendly, there was too little information about them to be certain. "It's so twisted," he thought to himself before Illumina's question broke his trance. "So, Yuan, what exactly did the Star Watcher demand of you?" Illumina asked, her eyes full of curiosity. Yuan replied, his face gradually hardening. "That entity demanded I take a life, promising to form a pact with two members of the group if one of us took out the other first." Illumina fell silent, her expression filled with dread. Yuan continued, "That was the Star Watcher's ultimatum. It claimed only those who craved power were worthy of its blessing. It wanted us to butcher each other to prove our conviction." He relived the moment the Star Watcher issued that cruel command. "Slit your comrade's throat and offer their life to me. I will make you my favored servant until you reach the tower's apex and claim your desire. My affection will be eternal. Now, begin." Its cold voice echoed, followed by a gesture beckoning them to the slaughter. Yuan found the demand utterly insane, killing friends just for a taste of power. It was madness. Did it think I would actually obey? He thought, casting a wary glance at Du January. If he lost control, no one in their group could possibly stop him. And as expected, Du Jan did not disappoint. He strode forward a few steps, his gaze like ice as he stared down the Star Watcher. "Leave us," he commanded, unleashing a menacing wave of his power. Back in the present, Aluminina was stunned by his recounting. "So that is what transpired? That boy must have expended all his strength, correct?" she inquired. Yuan nodded. "He did. He forced the Star Watcher into a retreat. But to have our lives treated like game pieces, it was truly terrifying." He paused, then asked, "So, does this mean the tower is off limits for the remainder of the week? It feels far too dangerous now." Illumina confirmed, "They will be monitoring the tower until the end of next week, to prevent any further intrusions." Yuan began to recalculate his strategy. His plans for a rapid Manhwa level up were shattered. He had to get stronger to face Erector. The duel with Erector was on Tuesday, but now he couldn't ascend the tower, he thought, the pressure mounting on his shoulders. "This is a catastrophic situation," Yuan thought, feeling a surge of panic. "How can I possibly utilize the time I have left?" As he wrestled with this, a thought struck him, and he turned to his professor. "Professor, I intended to report the tower incident, along with the audio recording we secured. Would that be acceptable, Professor?" Aluminina considered it for a moment before nodding. "That is fine. but if possible, I would prefer to hear your full account over a meal together. However, that seems impossible at the moment. As she spoke, her eyes shifted to Vuo, who sat silently in a corner. Seeing the grim mood, Yuan could only shake his head. Yes, everyone appears to be completely drained. Turning back, Professor Illumina gently addressed her students. I understand, Yuan, Vuo, you all performed admirably. I will ensure nothing like this occurs again, starting next week. I hope you won't form too negative an impression of the academy. For now, please get some well-deserved rest. Hearing this, Lai's expression seemed to brighten slightly. He turned and said, Yes, ma'am. If you'll excuse us, have a good weekend. After his farewell, both Li and Vuo activated their pendants and teleported away. Just as Yuan prepared to do the same, Illumina suddenly called out to him, asking him to wait. Yuan, I have a question, and I will be direct. That entity, the spectator of all beings, not only offered a pact to 2 of the 4 of you, but it also specifically singled out you and Dujan, correct? Her precise deduction startled him, and he nodded grimly. Recalling the instant the spectator of all beings spoke his and Dujan's names, you two, you can certainly reach the summit of the tower together. Indeed, but only if you discard these burdens, the spectator of all beings said, while pointing toward Lai and Wuo with a weary look. Both were stunned, but ignoring their reactions, the spectator of all beings continued. Now then, my beloved children, go and deal with those burdens. I promise that you two will climb the tower side by side, left with only the purest, most condensed potential to defeat everyone. Take the power I possess, it is what this world revolves around. Returning to the present, you return to your room, finding Lai curled in a chair, looking lost in his own world. He's finally back. Isn't he going to wash up or anything? You mumbled before speaking up. That's quite an impression. Even Wu Cho couldn't cheer you up. Are you comfortable sitting like that? It looks incredibly uncomfortable. Lai turned to look at you with a cold gaze. You. Are you mocking how I'm sitting? You quickly explained. Not at all. I didn't mean that. Lai lowered his head, his voice laced with shame. Sorry. I just want to dig a hole and bury myself in it. Feel free to curse me out. That's not what I meant, you replied, flustered. But for some reason, your words made Lai laugh scornfully. Really, I'm not even worth the breath it would take for you to curse me. The more you listened, the more you felt Li's mind wasn't in a good place. Why is he reacting like this? He's usually so arrogant, you wondered. Suddenly, Lai said coldly, Hey, you, I think I actually hate you. You didn't flinch, and replied nonchalantly, Haha, so what? I hate you too. You know, we finally have something in common. That's what you thought to yourself. But I didn't dare say it aloud. I really want to say that, but I have to hold back. I have to endure it because it's cruel to call a fool a fool. You clenched your fists in anger. After a few seconds of composing yourself, you sat down next to Lai and said, Hey Lai, if you have something to say, just say it. No matter what you complain about, I'll listen to all of it. As you spoke, you glanced over, staring at the night before you. Only after hearing these words from you, did Lai gradually open up and begin his story. Me too. In my world, I was considered one of the most outstanding geniuses. It's no exaggeration. My family, my subordinates, everyone admired and praised my talent. They entrusted me with the holy sword. Not out of flattery, but because of the faith everyone placed in me, I forged a pact with the holy sword and came to this academy with everyone's expectations. But what is this? What the hell am I doing? Why did it treat me like a useless burden? As he spoke, Li's mental state seemed to fracture, prompting you to quickly try to comfort him. Hey, Lai, don't pay any attention to the words of that sacred being or whatever. They're not worth your time. Before you could finish, Lai cut you off. Whether it's a sacred being or not, you can say that because you're the chosen one. But I'm different. I am just an outsider between the two who were chosen. First of all, they are transcendent, powerful, and knowledgeable divine beings. They know far more than humans. With an offer like that, how could you and Du Jan refuse it so easily? Lai questioned you loudly, causing you to fall silent. Seconds. Then, Yoon's quiet voice cut in. Because that path is utterly meaningless. There are other ways to get strong. Ways that don't require sacrificing people. We didn't come here for that kind of corrupted power, did we? Yoon countered. But his conviction failed to reach Knight K. Lai just recoiled, his head shaking in silent torment. That's easy for a genius like you to say. As for me, if that was the price to be chosen, I would probably falter and sacrifice it all. I don't have the strength you and Du Jan have. I would make that choice. The truth is, I'm resentful, terrified, and I can't forgive myself for even admitting this. Lai's expression became a mask of agony. Time blurred, and how their grim talk ended remained unspoken. Later, Yoon, fresh from a shower, returned to find Lai sprawled on his bed. Sensing Yoon's presence, Lai spoke. Yoon, I'm sorry for my pathetic display earlier. It's not on you. I'm the one who dragged up that darkness. I am truly sorry, Lai murmured with a remorseful voice. At this, Yoon gave a faint smile, dismissing it. We're comrades. I'm always here to listen, anytime. I'm heading out for a moment. The hot chocolate is yours if you want it. Sometimes, something sweet can chase away the bitterness. With that, Yoon set a cup of hot chocolate on the table. Lai replied softly, "Thank you." Back to Yoon. After closing the door and walking into the hall, he thought to himself, "He's changed so much since we met. I need to choose my words more carefully." At that moment, Du-jan appeared down the hall and spotted Yoon. She jogged over cheerfully. "Oh, you're back. Saves me the trouble of going inside." Perfect timing. Her voice made Yoon jump. "What are you doing here?" "This is the men's dormitory." His eyes widened. Seeing this, Du-jan quickly pressed a finger to her lips. "Shh, it's only a crime if you get caught. Don't you know that?" With that, she gave a wicked grin and pulled Yoon's shirt, dragging him off before he could protest. The scene shifts to a wooden bench outside. Yoon asked, "So, you came all this way because the cafe was crowded?" Ignoring his question entirely, Du-jan pivoted the conversation to Lee's condition. "I got curious. So, how's your dead weight? Is he holding up?" In response, the main character's voice dripped with annoyance. "Seriously? Dead weight? Why do you keep saying that?" Hearing this, Du-jan scoffed. "Am I wrong? He's just a brute who swings his sword blindly. A pathetic, talentless fool who can't adapt, correct?" Lai is not talentless. His swordsmanship is exceptional, and he has many other abilities, Yoon retorted, defending his roommate. But Du-jan had already dissected the core of the knight's abilities. The problem is, all of that is the sword's power. You know it too. His immense physical strength, his sharp combat instincts, his special abilities, it's not a real manhwa level up. Without the sword, he's nothing. A complete nobody. He can't even read the situation. At every critical moment, he panics, gets himself captured, and becomes a total liability. The swordswoman listed each flaw, making Yoon just rub his forehead in frustration, cutting her off. "All right, I get it. Enough. If I keep listening, this debate will take all night. Lifetime." Hearing this, Du-jan paused, her voice turning gravely serious. "That's how critical this is. If he loses his nerve and spirit, it's over. There is no reason for us to travel together anymore." The monster was already weakened. If he had just kept quiet, she wouldn't have said another word. But her meaning was clear enough. Still, he wondered if Du-jan was criticizing him or worried about him. With that in mind, he turned to ask her, "So, what about you? You acted strangely when you met the god, and you were on edge with the professor too. Are you all right?" His voice, full of concern, made the swordswoman's face flush as she grew flustered. "Are you worried about me? Why not just use your ability to check?" Du-jan stammered. Yu sighed. "I don't need my ability. It's already written all over your face. I just wanted to ask if you're okay." After saying that, he pulled a cup of hot chocolate from his inventory and handed it to her. Du-jan accepted the cup, a flicker of pleasure in her eyes. "Right, he's comforting me, isn't he?" She took a sip and nodded with approval. It's sweeter than I thought. Hot chocolate is meant to be sweet," Yu replied nonchalantly. Du-jan's mood seemed to lift and she began to open up. "Thanks for worrying, but it's not that serious. I was just irritated at the time." Yu asked curiously, "What had you so irritated?" "Well, I'm not entirely sure myself. Do you think that I, the observer, with 10,000 eyes, and that thing think alike? Is that what you believe?" His brow furrowed at her words. "What?" Du-jan continued to explain. "Essentially, it's the same thing. If those two can't be of any help, I was thinking of eliminating them." The more Yu listened, the more he felt something was wrong with her logic, and he pressed her. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Du-jan's expression turned to ice. "That's why I'm irritated. If I were more ruthless, I would have only brought along those with potential. If I were truly committed, even without killing them directly, I could have indirectly ensured their deaths through my own indifference." "Perhaps I was wrong to agree with that method," Du-jan said in a bitter tone. Meanwhile, our protagonist just took a quiet sip of his hot chocolate before asking again, "Is that so?" "That's right," Du-jan replied calmly. "So that means you're just being foolish, right?" His teasing tone made the swordswoman's face flush red with anger, and she turned away, muttering, "I share my deepest thoughts, and this is the reaction I get." "Huh?" Then she spun back and demanded, "Do you really think those two have talent?" Yu looked straight into Du-jan's eyes, his own full of confidence. "Of course, no matter how great the artifact is, if they lacked talent, they couldn't have come this far. Lai has a natural gift for the sword, but he's too reliant on the holy blade, making it hard for him to adapt to the variables in a fight. As for Vuo, she possesses an incredible physique and potential, but is held back by her own mentality. If they can cover for each other and conquer their weaknesses, their talent will be a true manhwa level up, that will far exceed anything we can imagine." Yu smiled as he finished his assessment. His words sent the white-haired girl into deep thought, she considered. While her trust in them was far from absolute, she decided to gamble on Yu. "Fine, I'll believe you. If they train relentlessly, the results will prove everything." At this, Yu's eyes lit up with triumph. "So, you are willing to help them? As you said, if they conquer their weakness and grow, I'll concede you were right. But if the results fall short, you will bear the consequences," she declared while locking eyes with Yu, unsettling him. Before he could respond, Du-jan pressed on, You have made me suspend my judgment to waste time on these fools. Consider this. I'll see you then. Bring those 2 brats tomorrow at dawn." With that, she vanished, leaving you stunned. Time passed, and the next morning, the ordeal began. Lai and Dujan clashed bare-handed, their strikes tearing through the air, echoing all around. The outcome was predictable. Lai was utterly dominated, his fists failing to even graze Dujan, as she sent him hurtling toward you with a single blow. "Hey you!" Lai cried out feebly, as if giving his last words. "What is it? I'm right here." Yu scrambled to his side. Lai glared at him, full of resentment. "You said you'd teach me, so why am I the only one taking a beating?" "Well, about that," Yu faltered, failing to find a real explanation. Before he could invent an excuse, Dujan advanced, slamming her foot on the ground and roaring, "Pathetic. This is body conditioning. This method is perfectly standard. You're not the type to learn by observation like you, so quit whining and get up." Lai shakily reached for his sword, whimpering, "My sword. Give me my sword." "Absolutely not. Until you can fight without it, you are not getting it back. This is just like the tower." Dujan's blunt refusal made the young knight Leah's eyes widen in disbelief. "But I am a swordsman. To take a swordsman's blade? How is that remotely logical at all?" Dujan glared at him as if he were a complete moron. "If you lose your blade, do you just lie down and die?" Lai retorted instantly, "No, I would never lose it." His evasiveness only enraged Dujan further. "So, you want your blade back to face me? I guarantee you'll lose it within 3 seconds. Her potent declaration left Lai speechless, only muttering in despair. "But without my sword, I..." Sensing the crisis, Yu intervened to encourage Lai. "This regimen is to force your growth. Something Du and I agreed upon. Trust us this once, and train without your blade. It is all for your own good." Yu's sincere plea seemed to reach Li, slowly rekindling his resolve. "If Yu has a plan, there must be a reason. I understand. I'll trust you and try it this time." "All right, let's go again," Lai declared with renewed vigor. But before he could finish, Dujan surged forward, unleashing a spinning heel kick that sent Lai flying like a ragdoll. "You left another opening. What are you doing? Your stance is a wreck. Why aren't you blocking? Don't just rely on sight to attack. Feel it with every sense. If you understand, then focus. Are your combat instincts really this pathetic without your holy sword? This isn't some easy Manhwa level up," Dujan roared, unleashing a relentless, blindingly fast barrage that Lai could only throw up his arms in defense. From the sidelines, Yuan watched intently, realizing the problem. Everything Dujan said was brutally true. At this moment, Li's stats were visibly deteriorating. Ordinarily, he's a monster who can handle an erector with ease, but for some reason, he's fighting without his sword. He has the potential for explosive growth. If the sword's absence is causing this, his condition is far worse than I imagined. At this, Yuan's brow furrowed. Meanwhile, Dujan pressed her verbal assault. "You're getting weaker. Is the holy sword your true self? Are you nothing but the sword?" "I'm not," Lai roared. "What's that supposed to mean? Are you utterly useless without a blade?" Dujan taunted. "That's not true," Lai snarled through gritted teeth. "If you truly believe that, then stop grasping for a sword you don't have and face me," Dujan commanded, her eyes wide with intensity. Her words ignited something within Lai, as his entire form erupted in a blinding light. Instantly, Lai bellowed and threw a punch with blinding speed, forcing Dujan to flinch and jerk her head aside to evade. The blow was so powerful, it unleashed a shockwave that blasted everything behind him away. But the real shock was Li's appearance. It had utterly transformed, with long, flowing hair and a new, feminine physique, complete with a well-endowed chest. This new form left both Yuan and Vucho stunned. Dujan stared at Li, deep in thought, and was about to speak when Li's body convulsed, transforming again as rays of light enveloped her. They were violently absorbed into a cross-shaped mark on her chest, and this sudden event sent a searing pain through Li, who collapsed to the ground. Seeing this, Yuan rushed over to check the situation. However, Dujan's hand shot out, stopping him. "Calm down, he's fine. But this isn't something easily resolved," she said, her eyes narrowing with grim seriousness. Moments later, Li slowly reverted to his normal state. January, you were right. I can't go on like this anymore." Dujan then suggested coldly, "In that case, we'll have a rematch. First, I apologize for misjudging you." Li scratched his head, embarrassed, and replied, "No, don't apologize. You're the one who helped me." His voice held a hint of cheer, but that relief lasted less than 3 seconds before Dujan continued. "I thought you were just a clueless fool, but you're a fool carrying a bomb on his back. I just hope that bomb doesn't detonate inside the tower." After speaking, she let out a weary sigh. Li could only shout, "I really can't stand you." Meanwhile, Vucho watched the exchange between Li and January, and with a spark of excitement in her eyes, she suggested to Yuan, "Hey, Yuan, we should do that too." As she spoke, inspired by Li and Dujan's dynamic, she excitedly repeated, "Yuan, we should totally do that too." Yuan noticed something strange. What was that just now? Holy and demonic energy. How can two opposing forces coexist in one body? That must be the cause of his outburst. Does Lai even know? I'll have to tell him about this after we get back to the dorms, Yuan thought, then turned to Vucho. Ah, sorry, Vucho. You were saying, you've been calling me, haven't you? I was lost in thought, Vo replied awkwardly. It's fine. More importantly, could we maybe spar too? You recalled her crazed state, and couldn't help but hesitate. Is that a good idea? Vo quickly explained. I know it's not, but you can restrain me, so I want to control my power. I want to be useful, too. The pleading in her voice made it impossible for you to refuse. All right, he nodded, walking to the weapon rack. As he moved, he thought, Vo is unusually proactive today. Could yesterday's shock have triggered this? He then tossed Vo a wooden sword and began to explain, You're being exceptionally proactive. Is it because yesterday's event was so shocking? He tossed Vo one wooden sword and began, I think we should set our own pace. No need to be as loud as them. Let's increase the intensity slowly. Okay. Vo nodded. I understand. You raised his sword. All right. Shall we begin? Vo replied. Yes. I'll do my best. Just then, you had a sudden realization. Wait a minute. Thinking on it, isn't this my dream school life? The youth I pictured wasn't chaotic battles, but a boy and girl encouraging each other, honing their skills together. This is it. Haha. I'm so lucky. Thanks to Vo, my dream has come true, he thought happily, so much that the tip of his nose turned slightly red. Vo asked worriedly, So, shall I start? You replied softly. All right, bring it on. Immediately after, the pink-haired girl's demeanor completely changed, shifting into a frenzied state that terrified him. After just 5 short minutes, he had to hastily command Y, the little snake, to form a chain and restrain Vo. Y, hold on tight. Don't let go no matter what happens, he exclaimed in a panic. It happened fast as the chain gradually absorbed mana from Vo's body, allowing her consciousness to slowly surface. Are you awake now? Yu asked, his eyes welling with tears. Seeing his expression, Vo realized things hadn't gone smoothly. She covered her mouth and asked, Are you okay? Are you hurt? How many times has this happened? Yu, looking completely drained, answered, I lost count, but it had to be more than 10 times. It's okay. My limbs are still intact. Hearing this, Vo could only cry, blaming herself. I'm so sorry. It's because of me that you have to suffer this way. The corners of her eyes were wet, looking truly pitiful. You couldn't bear it, and patted her head comfortingly. It's really okay. I promised I would help you, and I was prepared for this, so please don't be sad anymore. His warm voice made Vo's face blush. However, that sweet moment was shattered by Dojan's shout, startling them both as if they'd been caught red-handed. Haha, while I'm over here training my butt off, you're flirting with a beast, you do, John said, dragging a limp body behind her towards them. You quickly retorted, What flirting? Can't you see I almost died just now? Dujan looked unconvinced, whispering sweet nothings to an innocent beast. Her voice was full of discontent, and Vo quickly explained, That's not it. He was just worried about me. Dujan glanced at Vo with a suspicious glare. Is that so? Does the beast harbor some ulterior motive? Her words made Vucho flush with embarrassment. Dako's teasing ceased, her tone turning serious. Distraction in training is an insult to your opponent, beast. You must purge those thoughts. Meanwhile, Yun sat in silence, his mind consumed by Vuo. She used to be so positive, but now she was withdrawn. It was like her personal Manhwa level up had stalled, too soft on Dujan, but wasn't she trying her best? Yun resolved to act, to lift the pink-haired girl's spirits. He spoke up, All right, I petitioned the professors about taking one of you with me when I leave the floating island. I just received approval, Dujan flipped, her hair, fantasizing. Excellent. It's so suffocating here anyway. Yun ignored her, his gaze locked on Vuo. So Vucho, from now on, let's go out. Let's have a date, okay? His words stunned the other two. Time passed, and as planned, Yun and Vuo were on their date in a clothing store. Dujan's questioning voice cut through the communication screen. No, I already told you before I left, Yun explained wearily. We are not staying overnight. We're just going out for a short time. I will be back before nightfall. Hearing that, John seemed to relax slightly, and replied, Very well. Have you been in another world so long that you truly think it's normal for a man and woman to venture out so carelessly at night? In another corner, Lai couldn't contain it. His tears, his voice, choked. Hey, Yun, is that it? If you go out with someone besides me, your roommate. Before Lai could finish, Yun cut him off sharply. Are you my mother or something? Just then, Vuo emerged from the fitting room, her face blushing with embarrassment. Sorry, I tried on the outfit you suggested. Does it look okay? It feels a little revealing. Despite her embarrassment, the outfit accentuated her beauty so profoundly that Yun couldn't help but cover his mouth, then offer a thumbs up and praise. It's really beautiful. On the other end of the line, Lai and John were practically losing their minds watching. Lai screamed, Just you wait until you get back. I want to go out too. Ignoring the outburst, Yoon and Vuo began their stroll. It was Vuo's first time, off campus, and she was visibly thrilled. Wow, this is incredible. I never knew such a vast city was right outside. The academy, she said, looking all around, filled with curiosity. Yoon offered a gentle smile and a nod. Incredible, isn't it? I've only been to the city outskirts twice myself. Let's walk around. There are shops, and a shopping district over there. Yeah, okay, Vuo agreed, hurrying to follow Yoon. However, she soon realized she was being swallowed by the crowd. At this rate, I'll lose sight of him, she thought, hastily reaching out her hand. Fortunately, Yoon sensed her distress and quickly grabbed her wrist, his voice apologetic. Oh gosh, are you all right? I'm sorry. I forgot this was your first time in a place like this. It's okay, I'm fine, Vucho said, shaking her head. At this, Yoon gently took her small hand, suggesting, the shopping area has a lot of people, so let's hold hands from now on. After saying that, he turned his face away, as if to hide his own blushing face. Vucho also nodded softly. Okay. The two spent the entire day happily exploring the city. From trying street food, visiting a teddy bear shop, and strolling through a park, all of which lifted Wuo's mood than ever before. As night fell, they settled at a street stall. Yoon asked with a hint of concern, Are you certain about this dish? The ingredients here are all monster flesh. A valid worry, but his concern was entirely needless, for Wuo was devouring it with a primal relish. This is exactly why I love it. It's incredible, she said, with a look of pure satisfaction, forcing him to nod. Wow, it's tastier than I expected. Wuo kept enjoying her meal, humming a contented tune. I can't believe I'm eating meat this good after reaching the city. It's all thanks to you, Yoon. But just as quickly, the light in her eyes died, a shift Yoon caught instantly. What's wrong? Don't you like it? Wuo answered sadly. No, it's not that. I just realized I was getting too carried away. This is the first time you've brought me to the city in so long. You even gave me fine clothes and treated me to a delicious meal, but I've done nothing for you. Is it right for me to be enjoying myself this much? I don't even know if any of this is actually helping me control my abilities. As she spoke, her voice frayed with rising bewilderment. Hearing this, Yoon grew still for a moment. He then slowly raised his hand, drawing a concept into his palm. Take a look at this. The turmoil you're feeling right now is manifesting in my hand. Wuo stared, her eyes clouded with confusion, then shook her head. I don't see anything. Yeah, let's just say it is there, he replied awkwardly, then continued. Until recently, my ability could only display anger, but it's different now. It's my own kind of manhwa level up. In the short time we've been together, I've been able to recognize these emotions. If we grow closer, I am certain we can find a way to solve your problem. Wu lowered her head, her face shadowed with sorrow, and quietly mumbled, My problem. You already know about it, right? Yes, but now all your worries are gone, Yoon said as he crushed the orb representing sadness in his palm, then declared, I promise you, I will solve every single problem. So, for today, just live without the weight. His firm words seemed to quell the storm in Wuo's mind. She replied softly, Okay, thinking to herself. It's amazing. What you said is like magic. Turning back to him, he scratched his head in embarrassment, as if realizing he had been too confident. Maybe I went a little overboard. Next time we hang out, I won't call it a date. Wuo quickly interrupted. No, it wasn't overboard at all. In fact, I want to get closer to you. I need to understand you more. Just like Do January, she might seem terrifying to everyone, but she is utterly devoted to you. He shook his head in denial. She isn't devoted to me. She just wants to wield me like a sharp blade or a weapon. Wuo burst out laughing. You, do you truly believe that? He looked bewildered. What's so funny? Wuo replied gently. No, I just feel more at ease. I saw you as an all-powerful mage, but maybe I was very wrong. So, I feel like I can try even harder. Come on, if you're finished, let's go. You've bought me so many gifts and clothes, so to thank you, I'll pick out a killer street outfit for you. He smiled and nodded. All right, don't worry about the money. The bonds they forge in this broken world are just beginning to take shape. To see how their story progresses, consider subscribing and share your theories on what comes next in the comments below. Let's just enjoy this, Wo managed to smile. An outing with someone this capable feels like a rare luxury, but elsewhere, in the Academy's sanctum, a meeting had turned venomous. The small automaton on Professor Illuminina's shoulder twitched anxiously. I am fine, she silently commanded it. This is merely awkward. It will pass. Yet a furious shout shattered the pretense. How did tower intelligence leak so completely? Who sanctioned a ranking like the tower climbing leaderboard? The sheer audacity, a professor raged. The data is spreading too fast. It's impossible to contain now. Correct, because there is no internal strife to exploit, another countered, before a third slammed his fist on the table, his voice seething with indignation. Our mistake was letting those from the lower world ever act with such impunity. Through the boiling tension, a sharp voice cut like a blade. That is enough. Professor Illuminina. Regardless of your sentiments, your students' autonomous actions have crossed a sacred line. This is a flagrant violation of Academy law, is it not? Are you prepared for the consequences of his recklessness? The purple-haired professor glared, his words dripping with accusation. Rewind slightly, to before this tribunal began, where Illumina reviewed the footage from Yu's team. Her world tilted. My God. He actually recorded the entire process, and every moment inside the tower. He'd only said he would climb and film his journey. I saw no reason to object, but I never conceived of this level of success. It was known that electronic devices and artifacts were useless inside, certain to be overloaded by the raw energy flowing from the tower. That law was absolute. Yet he achieved a true Manhwa level up, returning with impossible results. He likely has no clue of his true accomplishment. He didn't just return with video, he created a tool that could operate within that hostile domain. It defied all logic, and his ambition didn't stop there. Illumina recalled her conversation with Yu when he first presented his plan. What? You intend to post that footage to your channel? Illuminina had asked, stunned, as Yu replied frankly. Yes. I believe it will garner significant attention. Our group is rebel. This will help reshape our image with the other students. Illumina had not forbidden it. Meanwhile, Yu sat, quietly contemplating Vuo. Once so vibrant, she had grown timid, and she was far too soft with Dujo. But on second thought, it wasn't a blind infatuation. Yu resolved to do something to restore the pink-haired girl's spirit, and so he spoke. All right. I've petitioned the professors to allow me to bring one of you with me off the floating island. My request was just approved. Dujo preened, smoothing her hair smugly. Excellent. It is so suffocating here. Yu paid her no mind, his gaze fixed on Vuo. So, Vuo, let's go out, starting now. How about a date? His words hung in the air, shocking the other two into silence. As planned, while a storm gathered at the academy, Yu and Vuo were on their date, a fragile piece shattered by Dokojo's voice. No, I told you before leaving. Yu sighed into the comms. It is not an overnight trip. But with enemies circling, one must wonder how long such moments can last. Stay, we're just heading out. I'll be back before nightfall. Hearing this, Dujo seemed to relax slightly, and replied, Fine. You've been in another world so long you think a man and woman can just wander out so recklessly at night? In another corner, Lai couldn't suppress her tears, her voice cracking, with emotion. Hey, you. Is that it? You're going out with someone else? Your own roommate? Before Lai could finish, Yu cut her off sharply. Are you my mother, to be this concerned? Just then, Vuo emerged from the fitting room, her face flushed. Sorry, I tried the outfit you picked. Does it look all right? It feels like I'm showing too much. Though she was embarrassed, the outfit amplified her beauty so intensely that you could only cover your mouth, giving a silent thumbs up of approval. It's perfect. On the other end of the line, Lai and Dujo were practically losing their minds. Lai screamed, You just wait until you get back. I want to go out too. Ignoring that, Yu and Vuo began to walk together. This was Vuo's first time beyond the school's walls, and she was utterly captivated. Wow, this is incredible. I never imagined a city this massive existed outside the academy, she said, her eyes wide with wonder. Yu offered a faint smile, and nodded. It's a real Manhwa level up, right? Though I've only seen the outskirts twice. Let's walk around a while. There are shops and a market district over there. Yeah, okay. Vuo agreed, hurrying to follow Yu. However, she quickly found herself being swallowed by the dense crowd. I'm going to lose him, she thought, and she desperately reached her hand forward. Luckily, Yu sensed the problem and quickly seized her wrist, your voice apologetic. Whoa. Are you okay? Sorry. I forgot this is your first time in a place like this. It's okay. I'm fine. Vuo shook her head. Seeing this, Yu gently took her small hand and suggested, There are a lot of people in the shopping district, so let's just hold hands. After saying that, Yu turned away slightly, as if to hide your own blush. Vuo also nodded softly. Okay. The two of them spent the entire day lost in the city, from sampling street food to visiting a toy shop and walking through the park. All of it made Vuo feel more alive than ever before. As the day ended, they stopped at an outdoor stall. Yu asked, concerned, Are you sure about this dish? The ingredients at this place are all sourced from monster meat. It appears so, but your worry was misplaced, because Vuo was devouring it. That's what I love about it. This is absolutely amazing, she said with a look of pure bliss, making Yu nod in agreement. Wow, it's better than I expected. Vuo continued eating, even humming a cheerful tune. I can't believe I'm eating meat like this. It's only because of you that I could experience the city. But her mood suddenly plummeted, which Yu instantly noticed. What's wrong? You don't like it? Vuo replied grimly. No, it's not that. I just realized I was getting carried away. This is the first time you've brought me out. You even gave me beautiful clothes and bought me this incredible meal, but I've done nothing for you in return. I wonder if this is even okay, for me to enjoy myself this much, not knowing if what I'm doing is actually helping me control my ability. The more she spoke, the more her voice broke with despair. Hearing this, Yu paused for a moment, then he slowly raised his hand, gathering a concept into his palm. and said, "Can you look here for a second? The emotion you're feeling right now is visible in my hand." Wu Cho stared, her eyes clouded with confusion, then shook her head. "I don't see anything." Let's just say it's there," Yu replied awkwardly and continued to explain. "Until recently, my ability could only manifest anger, but now it's different. Though we've only spent a short time together, I've become able to recognize these emotions. If we get closer, I am sure we will find a way to solve your problem." Wu Cho lowered her head, her face tinged with sadness, and murmured softly, "My problem. You already knew, didn't you?" "Yes, but now all your worries are gone," Yu said as he crushed the orb representing her sadness in his palm. Then he affirmed, "I promise you, I will solve all your troubles. So, just enjoy today without any worries at all." Yu's firm words seemed to soothe Wu Cho's mood. She replied softly, "Okay," and thought to herself, "That's amazing. What Yu says is like magic." About that, he scratched his head shyly, as if realizing he had been too confident. "Maybe I went a bit overboard. Next time we go out, I won't call it a date anymore." Wu Cho quickly interrupted, "No, it's not overboard at all. In fact, I want to get closer to you. I want to understand you more. Just like Do January, she seems a bit scary to everyone, but she really likes you." Yu shook his head in denial. "She doesn't like me. She just wants to possess me like a sharp blade or a weapon." Wu Cho burst out laughing. "Haha. Do you really think so?" Yu looked bewildered. "What's so funny?" Wu replied gently. "No, I just feel more at ease. I used to think you were an all-powerful mage, but maybe I was very wrong. So, I feel like I can try harder. Come on, if you're done eating, let's go, so I can thank you for all these gifts and clothes." At this point, he turned to Professor Illumina and asked, "Tell me, Professor Illumina, shouldn't you share some more information from the footage so the other professors can understand better?" Immediately, all eyes in the room turned to the female professor, filled with curiosity. "Is there something else, Professor Illumina? Is there more info? Undisclosed information?" Faced with this sudden turn in the conversation, Illumina's expression grew bewildered. She was at a loss for words. What? What was that? Sho watched her confused expression, his eyes flashing with a hint of surprise, then explained, Perhaps Professor Illumina isn't aware of this. Then let me tell you, Ban Yu and his classmates are the only ones among the tower climbers to be chosen by the Guardians." This piece of information that was just revealed made all the professors in the room lose their composure. Professor Thalia even stood up abruptly from her chair and asked again, "Oh, the one who climbed the tower for the first time yesterday, he was chosen by a constellation." Before Co could answer, Professor Illumina quickly interjected, "Vice Chairman, connecting with a constellation is a student's personal achievement. If you speak so carelessly," but Sayo's voice sliced through her words, sharp and final, "then answer me truthfully. This is a command from me in my capacity as Vice Chairman. Did Banu and the others seal a pact with a constellation?" Confronted by his authority, since this was an order from a superior, Illumina was forced to confess whether she desired to or not. "No, neither Banu nor the other students have signed a pact with a constellation." Co processed her answer, his expression hardening with grim contemplation. "So, they refused. As I suspected, they are not ordinary. It must have been incredibly difficult to assert their will under pressure from the constellations." With a sharp clap, his decision was forged. "In that case, very well. I will permit Banu and all the 11th grade students to attend my special lecture." His decree immediately ignited dissent among the professors in the room. "What? Wait a moment, Vice Chairman. Didn't you just confirm that none of them signed a pact with a constellation? So why is he granted this privilege?" Hearing this, Co seemed utterly weary as he explained to the fools around him. "Professors, the important thing isn't whether they sealed a pact, but that they were chosen times by a constellation. Being marked by a constellation is already proof of their superiority. Since they refused, other constellations will surely notice them. Aren't they precisely the talent that needs a proper Manhwa level up? I am the professor who guides students chosen by the stars. If Banyu has been chosen by a constellation, then he is also my student. Do you understand?" As he spoke, his eyes flashed, his gaze sweeping across the room, releasing a palpable pressure that crushed all dissent into forced agreement. "Yes, sir," the group replied weakly. Seeing their submission, Co continued. "Then we will address the leak of the tower's internal feed. There is nothing the school can, or will, do to punish that student. As for his abilities, individual inquiries will be permitted. But if, in the process, we find that anyone has pressured the student or caused him any disadvantage, the one involved, professor or student, will be expelled from this academy. Everyone, remember this." With that, this meeting is concluded. I hope you all have a productive week. With those words, the smiling vice chairman exited the meeting room while Professor Illumina finally grasped the entire situation. "Now I understand. This meeting wasn't to decide on a punishment. The vice chairman's true intent. It was the chairman's will. This is the chairman's warning, delivered through the vice chairman. Do not touch Ban Yuan." What a relief. I never thought he had earned so much of the chairman's favor. I don't need to worry anymore. Thinking this, Professor Illumina let out a deep sigh, while for some reason, Professor C suddenly approached the beautiful professor and suggested, Professor Illumina, what do you say? Shall we have a drink? I would like to celebrate your student's success with you. In response, the small robot shot him a venomous glare, its silent fury asking how he dared after siding against her. Professor into a corner, and now, he has the gall to ask her for a drink. Beside him, Illumina also glared at him with eyes that saw through his facade, and promptly left the meeting without a word. Witnessing this, a few other male professors could only manage a forced smile and console C. Haha, looks like she shot you down. Professor C, come have a drink with us instead. Time passed quickly, bringing the next day. The scene shifts to the cafeteria where, for some reason, Yuan was utterly swarmed by a massive crowd of students. Everyone wanted a piece of him. You're B. Yuan, correct? I'm Mira from the Hater World. Are you interested in our student council? Yuan, can we talk for a moment? My name's Eureka. Are you truly from that monolith secondary world? Hey, are you listening? I'm asking you out. Let's meet tonight, okay? Should I put this in my diary? The student council always welcomes talented individuals like yourself. An onslaught of questions assailed him, leaving Yuan with a completely baffled look on his face. He had no idea how to even begin to react. Observing the scene before her, Dujo couldn't help but ask, what in the world? Why is it so packed over there? To explain, L spoke up, his voice dripping with pride. You recall that channel we made, right? It's exploded. After the tower climbing video, our subscriber count blasted past 2 million, and the tower clip itself has hit 5 million views. It's like a real-life manhwa level up. Everyone in the academy has seen it. Lost in thought, Dujo mused to herself, watching Yuan get mobbed by everyone. To be honest, compared to his raw power, I never thought filming would be so impactful. But seeing everyone's reaction, the vision and talent of Banu are truly something to respect. Time passed, and Yuan finally escaped the horde, collapsing wearily at a table and venting to his friends. My God, it's only Monday morning, and it's already this chaotic. Across from him, Vuo smiled and offered praise. You handled that well, Yuan. Lie didn't waste the chance to jab him. Well, look at you, Mr. Popular, soaking it all in? Yuan shot back with a sarcastic grin. I suppose it beats being dragged into controversy for merely breathing. Then a thought struck him, and he turned to Lai. Oh, hey, you have a ton of fans. If someone wants to talk, maybe try being a little nicer. They mentioned they're too terrified to even approach you. Lai smiled serenely. If their intentions are pure, there is no issue. However, not everyone was part of Yuan's new fan club. A few began to mutter venomous remarks. How pathetic. Making a scene over a completely staged video. There's no way they cleared 4 floors that fast. Especially that trash from a secondary world. Look at the scale of this spider. It's obviously fake footage. How can they let fakers like that run loose? Just you wait. Tomorrow, every single one of those lies will be torn to shreds. Chung glared at Yuan with malicious eyes, and his words made Yuan's blood run cold. Ah, that's right. Tomorrow is the day I face that struggling giant after all of this. The people who doubt the video or just despise me are likely praying to see me get utterly crushed. Hearing this, Lai and Vuo's faces filled with visible concern, but besides offering support, they could do little else. At that same moment, Du Ho-jun, having just finished her meal, calmly wiped her lips with a napkin, and he said with a grim smile, then you just need to give them a show, for both your haters and your supporters, right? Yoon laughed. You're right. He thought to himself that tomorrow would be a perfect chance to gain an audience. Time bled away. The scene shifts to the training arena where Yoon and his opponent Hector were already present. The referee announced, this match is being live-streamed on the school's channel. Do you both consent? If so, sign the document. As he finished speaking, a system window materialized in front of them. Yoon couldn't hide his shock as he read the contents. Asterisk. What the hell? What are these disclaimer asterisk clauses? Asterisk. If a party surrenders or is incapacitated, the match ends. Attacking vital spots is forbidden. But for any other injuries, you're on your own. Asterisk. Are they telling us to fight until one of us is crippled? Asterisk. The more he thought, the less Yun understood the school's policy. However, Hector spoke, his voice dripping with provocation. Hey, negotiator. Yun, taken aback, retorted. What? Hector continued his taunts. Getting cold feet now? Are you? If so, just go ahead and surrender. You just have to crawl between my legs and bark like a dog, and I'll accept it. Those words infuriated Yun. Asterisk. This meathead. What the hell is he even asterisk spouting? Asterisk. In the surrounding area, the thugs Lai had humbled were already running their mouths. That lowly commoner has the nerve to cause a scene. Hector, tear that guy to pieces. In another corner, Optima watched from the stands with a pensive expression. Unaware, Du Hojun turned to her friend Lee, who was also live streaming, and asked, how are the reactions? Hearing her, Lai replied with a stiff face. Live viewers just passed 10,000, but most of them are cursing out Yun. Seeing the situation, Vuo worriedly said, everyone is targeting Yun, it's so unfair. Meanwhile, Du Hojun didn't seem to take the issue seriously. She casually thought, asterisk. This isn't surprising at all. The number of asterisk people who support us can be counted on one hand, so this reaction was expected. With so many *** people watching, Yoon has no choice but to prove himself. This is his moment for a real manhwa level up. Back to Yoon's perspective, Hector's words made him laugh out loud. He thought to himself, kneel, crawl, and bark like a dog? Not a chance. I never thought I'd hear a line like *** that outside of some third-rate novel. Yoon felt that if he didn't respond to this fool, it would eat at him. Hey, did you practice that provocation just for me? That line sounded pretty good, but do you have the strength to back it up? Hector replied from across the arena, his face a mask of defiance. I wonder how long you can maintain that composure. Yoon shrugged, turning away as he said, whether I'm calm or not, just come over here and find out. Saying that, he drew a sword from his inventory and made a taunting gesture at Hector. This action made him grit his teeth, a furious growl escaping as his blood boiled with the desire to crush Yoon. Immediately, he yelled at the referee, Professor June, start the match. Let me end him. Tear that bastard to shreds. Now. His venomous tone made the professor beside him break out in a cold sweat, and he hastily complied. Very well. Class 1's Erector versus Class 11's Ban Uni. Let the match begin. As soon as the words were spoken, Erector surged forward without hesitation to attack. First, he balled his hand into a fist, swinging his colossal arm like a sledgehammer straight at Yoon. Die! He bellowed, as if to send Yoon straight to the afterlife with a single blow. Meanwhile, Yoon calmly observed, thinking to himself, you seem a bit overconfident, aren't you? But being that slow, what could you possibly do to me? He took a small step back, twisting his body to evade Erector's attack. At the same time, his sword struck Erector square in the face, snapping his head to the side, dragging his massive body along with it as he collapsed to the ground. Facing a boulder like him, the key was the movement technique he learned, a true manhwa level up. Yoon recalled the memory of the night after his date with Vuo in the Class 11 training room, when Ho-Jan began to instruct him. Her voice echoed in his mind. But before you can use this technique, it takes much trial and error. Otherwise, it's nothing more than a half-baked skill. When facing a new opponent or a new attack, you must rely on your wits. You might feel a little overwhelmed, but you must calmly observe your opponent's actions. To master it, you must practice so that you can use the movement method at any time. With this staff, I will attack you with different speeds and forms, each with a different intent. If you can counterattack even just one time, you pass. Faced with Ho-Jan's sharp voice, Yoon trembled like a newborn lamb, tears even welling in his eyes. Back in the present, Yoon observed and analyzed intently. That stupid boulder can't even touch me. If he keeps up these useless attacks, he's bound to show an opening soon. On the other side, Erector still hadn't collected himself. How did I even get hit? Wait, what just happened? A sudden scream erupted from Erector. But as the sound left his throat, the rocky skin on his face suddenly cracked open, causing him to clutch it and howl in agony. Yoon watched this, nodding in satisfaction. It seems my technique is quite effective. Before I attacked, I infused wave energy into my blade. A body as hard as rock, like yours, conducts this energy perfectly, which is why you're in so much pain. In response to Yoon's explanation was Erector's crazed glare. He roared like a wild beast. How dare you harm my body? Yoon turned back, looking coldly at the screaming Erector before slowly walking towards him, remarking, Excuse me, but could you stop whining and attack me? If you don't want more pain, just give up now. Erector, arrogant and foolish. How could he possibly endure such taunts? His entire body trembled with rage. Suddenly, without any warning, he swung his gigantic arm toward Yoon to grab him. However, with his sluggish speed, how could he ever hope to touch Yoon? With just a light leap, Yoon easily dodged the attack. This only made Erector even more furious. You, a lowlife from an inferior dimension, dare to look down on me? His eyes turned as black as ink, and from his mouth, and the cracks on his head, white smoke billowed out endlessly. Next, he unleashed a skill that made his massive hands swell even larger than me. I will absolutely kill you, Erector roared, raising his fist high before crashing it down. The raw impact shook the entire arena, but making his arm larger only made him slower. This attack posed no threat to Yan at all. He even smirked inwardly. How foolish. After a blow that powerful misses, you should try a new approach. If you just keep using the same useless move, I'll be forced to end this quickly. Oblivious to Yan's thoughts, Erector was completely unhinged. He charged, attacking wildly without a plan, as Yan moved with fluid grace, channeling energy into his blade. Just as Erector's colossal hand crashed down, Yan's sword arced up and met the stone arm. A single slash sent countless fractures across the massive limb, making Erector howl like a beast in pain. Elsewhere, Vice Principal Zhou watched from his office. He chuckled softly, shaking his head. What a meaningless match. It wasn't just him. Even Yan's detractors were now flooding the comments with question marks in the chat, which left Lai immensely satisfied. Haha, even seeing it with their own eyes, they probably can't believe it, Vo added excitedly. Exactly. Compared to when he first arrived, Yan is now unbelievably powerful. The thugs Lee had previously humbled were now just scratching their heads, baffled by the outcome. Is this real? How was Erector beaten the moment it started? And lost to a kid from a lower world? Could those skills shown on that channel have been real? They wondered with doubt. Meanwhile, Professor June, the referee, was stunned by the scene. He thought to himself, what the hell is this? Just 1 week ago, he wasn't this strong. It's like a real-life manhwa level up. What happened in those few days? Before his very eyes, Yan now radiated a brilliant golden aura, exuding an immense power. However, before he could look closer, an urgent message from the professor's council flashed. Turning back to Yan, he saw Erector motionless on the floor, his body riddled with wounds. Yan wondered to himself, what now? Attacking someone this injured and immobile. It's just cowardly. Get up and fight. But before Yan could think more, Professor June raised a hand to intervene. That's enough. Stop now. By the supervising professor's decision, we declare Erector is unable to continue the fight. For the safety of both fighters, this match ends now. The announcement left both Yan and Erector stunned, especially Yan. He felt something was wrong with stopping the match at such a critical moment. What are they talking about? If I were the one injured, they wouldn't have done a thing, Yan thought, with a sneer before calling out, Professor June, please wait. But Professor June immediately cut him off. You have no right to object, Yan. This match is over. Leave the arena. His commanding tone left Yan gritting his teeth in frustration. Though unwilling, he couldn't defy the professor's counsel. Yan turned and walked off, thinking, the match ended with no winner. How irritating. But at least I didn't lose, so I can accept that. Just then, Professor June's panicked shout echoed. Wait, Yuan, don't move. You can't fight anymore. The match is over. At that moment, Yuan turned to see Hector, his body riddled with wounds, trembling as he struggled to his feet. He roared, Who says it's over? You want me to kneel to a low-worlder and suffer this shame? You bastard. I'll end you. With that, he activated a skill, his right arm swelling grotesquely like a cannon, and charged at Yuan, the floor cracking beneath his feet. Meanwhile, Professor June could only stand behind, shouting helplessly, Stop! Hector, get out of the way, Ban Yuan. Being treated so unfairly had already enraged Yuan, and now Hector was foolishly charging in again. Yuan decided he would not hold back. He drew a sword from his inventory, muttering, Dodge? Why would I dodge? He's trying to kill me, Hector. I'm sure he heard the warning, correct? If his opponent is from a lower world, he thinks the rules don't apply? The professors pushed for the match, ended it on a whim, and now this guy is acting a fool for his pride. The way this place operates is infuriating. At that thought, Yuan's eyes turned to ice. He swung his sword in a flash, and instantly, Hector's right arm was severed, flying through the air. Hector's eyes widened in utter shock. Then, he clutched his stump, screaming in pure agony. In the stands, every student's jaw dropped, unable to believe their eyes. Professor June rushed over, attempting to calm him. Calm down, Hector. Your arm can be reattached. I will take you to the infirmary immediately. As he spoke, he hastily operated his system window. At that very moment, Yuan suddenly received a startling notification from his system. System notification. Do you want to steal the following traits from the arm of Hector? Vitality, Titan's body, volcano, monstrous strength. This notification made Yuan break out in a cold sweat. What is this? Is this even possible? While Yuan was still reeling from that bizarre notification, June, after completing the operation on his system window, swiftly transported Hector's body and the severed arm to the infirmary. Once that was done, the assistant professor turned and confronted Yuan. What was the meaning of that, Ban Yuan? I told you to get out of the way, did I not? Yuan calmly sheathed his sword, shrugged, and replied, My apologies, Professor June, but since it all happened so suddenly after the match concluded, it was hard for me to react in time. June was not satisfied with that explanation and yelled, Is that your excuse now? Just then, a call screen appeared beside him, and the calm, steady voice of Vice Principal Jean cut in. That is enough, Assistant Professor June. I will handle this matter. Hearing this, June immediately wiped the angry expression from his face and replied meekly, Yes, I understand. The system screen turned towards Yuan as John spoke in a stern tone. Hello, Ban Yuan. I am speaking on behalf of the faculty. We have witnessed the entire incident. From now on, I will be asking the questions, and you will answer. Think carefully and answer truthfully. Yuan paused, his sharp, cold gaze fixed on Yuan regarding Hector's reckless attack. You surely cannot say you were unable to dodge it, can you? With your skills, dodging would have been easy. The power gap between you two was so vast that the faculty council decided to end the match. So, give us an answer we can accept. Why didn't you dodge that attack, Ban Yuan? The pressure from Zan's question was suffocating. Yuan didn't answer immediately, his mind racing to find a path. Though I've mastered wielding words, I never considered their soul a completely new way to manhwa level up. Yuan felt the immense pressure, a cold dread creeping in. Just who on earth is this person? He wondered. Yuan then spoke up. As everyone surmised, I didn't dodge Ector's attack. I chose to counter because I saw that a student who dares disrespect the professor's authority, and even revels in it, deserves to face consequences. Sun asked in surprise. The authority of the professors, you say? Yuan nodded. That's precisely right. Furthermore, in an official match where rules must be strictly adhered to, I wanted to make it absolutely clear that no student should dare disregard the rules or think they can get away with cheap-shotting an opponent without punishment. Sun probed further. Why? Yuan calmly replied. Because many students and viewers from other dimensions were watching today's match. Ector deliberately ignored the announcement, ending the match, and continued his attack on me. If I had simply dodged passively, it would have sent a twisted message that when fighting students from so-called inferior dimensions, the rules don't need to be followed. Although the decision was made in a split second, I am certain my actions were entirely correct. I acted to uphold the Academy's code, Yuan replied with an incredibly calm and confident tone. His clever response, using the Academy's honor as a shield, made Vice Principal Sun smile to himself. Haha, what a clever answer. He knows full well that many people are listening and has turned a personal issue into a matter concerning the entire Academy. I can't refute that logic. But as he thought this, Sun's voice turned stern again. Student Ban Yuan, disregarding sparring regulations is indeed punishable. However, deciding who to punish is the responsibility of myself and the Academy, not a student like you. Is that not correct? Sun's words caused Yuan's expression to darken visibly. Nearby, Assistant Professor Run grinned smugly. Ha, serves you right. No matter how silver-tongued you are, you're up against the Vice Principal. You're finished, Ban Yuan. However, Yuan understood the situation perfectly. He had no path to defy the Vice Principal's authority, so he chose to concede. You are absolutely correct, Professor. If my actions inadvertently infringed upon the authority of the faculty, I sincerely apologize. Whatever happens, I am prepared to accept my punishment. Hearing this, Sun suddenly chuckled, his tone becoming much more relaxed. Haha, punishment you say? No, not at all. I never had any intention of discussing punishment. I was simply curious about your thought process. Saying this, Sun paused for a moment, his sharp gaze assessing Yuan. He's truly eloquent, and has an incredible determination to win the constellations over to his side. With that thought, Sun concluded the matter. In any case, the ultimate fault lies with Ector. He ignored the signal ending the match and still tried to attack you. Therefore, I will recognize Ban Yuan's actions as justifiable self-defense. In the stands, Lai and Vu Cho immediately began to react. Celebrate. Only Assistant Professor Run stood frozen, stammering, Professor, but what he did. Before he finished, Sun turned, his voice cutting like glass. Enough, Assistant Professor Run. Cease this shameful display. If you had stopped Ector from the beginning, before he lost all control, then today's incident might have been avoided. Yes, you also bear responsibility for this. Assistant Professor Run's face drained of color. He dared not utter another word. Sun concluded, reattaching Ector's arm is hardly an issue. So, we stop here. All students, please return to your seats and focus on the next activities. As for you, Yuan, your work is done. You may leave. Realizing he was being dismissed so easily, Yuan was stunned for a moment before quickly bowing and turning to leave. But just then, a whisper brushed his ear, a faint voice saying, So, we meet again. The statement sparked a chilling curiosity. He glanced at the screen behind him, then went to find his friends. Seeing Yuan's overwhelming victory over Ector, Li and Vuo cheered. You're back, welcome. That swordsmanship you used at the end was absolutely insane, Lai praised. Vuo, however, just let out a sigh of relief. More importantly, I'm just glad you're not hurt. Yuan nodded to them. You guys were here. Thanks for the support. Fighting those elite tower monsters really paid off, didn't it? Elsewhere, the swordswoman Ho Jan spoke, her voice cutting through. I enjoyed the match. You've grown stronger again, haven't you? How does this new power feel? Is it more useful? Hearing this, Yuan scratched his head and faced her. Thanks. It's because you often train me with those mysterious exercises of yours. But Ho Jan cut him off, her tone turning dead serious. Not that. That man's arm. You absorbed it, didn't you? Ho Jan's words made Yuan's expression harden as he recalled the final moments of the fight. He had decided to absorb the energy from Ector's arm, a pragmatic choice to seize an opportunity. First, Yuan made his choice and pressed the confirmation. Instantly, the system displayed a notification. Depriving life force, 22.9, body, 27.9, Titan 14, Volcano 14, super strength, 14. Giant and volcano are attributes that humans cannot possess. After reading it, Yuan was momentarily stunned. Back in reality, he admitted to them, I still can't control the attributes of living beings at will, but it seems I can deprive specific body parts by severing them. So, I chose to absorb the power from Ector's right arm, Yuan confessed, a grim look on his face. Seeing it, Ho Jan coldly prodded, Isn't that a good thing? Why do you look so drained of life? Yuan explained. At first, I was thrilled, like some kind of Manhwa level-up fantasy, but after a moment, I felt that something was deeply wrong. I took a human's arm, not a monster's. Being happy after severing someone's arm for power. It makes me feel corrupted. Yuan's voice grew quiet, filled with a deep sadness. This made Vuo visibly worried. However, Hojan immediately challenged him. What? What nonsense are you spouting? Hold your head high. He was the one who came for your life. An arm is the price he paid. You were the victor. He was the vanquished. The outcome is absolute. It doesn't matter who they are. If someone means to end you, you show no hesitation. Understand? Hojan's sharp words cut through Yuan's turmoil. His mind slowly cleared, and a soft chuckle escaped him as he nodded. Yeah, you're right. Haha. My apologies. I was overthinking things again. Seeing Yuan return to his senses, Hojan scoffed. Worrying about such things is a complete waste of energy. So, what if I went and politely requested an arm from each of those rumored special kids? What then? Take their power, spare their lives, but utterly shatter their spirits. Hearing this chilling intent, Yuan could only manage a strained smile. Haha, you're terrifying. Lai also shook his head, disapproving of Yuan's weakness. Don't worry, compared to H. John, you're still recognizably human. This provoked H. John, who glared at them both. Hey, what's that supposed to mean? Suddenly, a notification screen materialized before Yuan. He groaned. Oh, come on. What is it this time? His outburst drew the gazes of the other three. In front of Yuan was a summons for a class by Professor Zhou. A cold sweat broke out on his skin. Oh no. It's a mandatory supplementary course with no right to refuse. Professor Zhou's Babylon Constellation Seminar for final year students, from the 4th year and up. Professor Zhou's voice emanated from the screen. How to attract patronage from the constellations. How to negotiate contracts with greater skill. Essential knowledge and preparation to avoid a constellation's wrath. How to seamlessly change constellations, and so on. This course especially welcomes the participation of Class 11. Time passed, and Yuan's group began to move, but the surrounding students watched them with hostile eyes. Look, the underclassmen group is headed this way. Look at that guy, walking so smugly. It's a real eyesore, so damn irritating, one person muttered. However, another had a different take. You think so? Even as an underclassman, he's got potential, and his dueling was dangerously sharp. But why are they up here? This is the 4th year's floor, someone wondered aloud. Yeah, that's right. This floor only has Professor Zhou's lecture hall. Back with Yuan, the protagonist noticed his friends were silent amidst the whispers. To break the tense atmosphere, he spoke. Have I ever told you this? In my world, there's a saying, the more you're cursed, the longer you'll live. In response, Hejun gave him a disbelieving look, as if he were a child. Huh? Then you must be immortal by now, right? She mocked. Meanwhile, Lai scowled. Cowards, talking behind our backs. Do they think we can't hear them? Vivi, the small girl, tugged on Yuan's sleeve and whispered, Are you okay? After what happened yesterday, I was so worried everyone would avoid you. They don't even know you, and they're already spreading such vicious rumors. Her eyes welled up, on the verge of tears. Yuan realized that maybe Vivi was the one who truly needed comforting. It's okay, Vivi. It's a bit unnerving, but it's better than being looked down on like before. It seems this is just part of the Manhwa level-up process. Thanks for worrying about me. As he spoke, he gently patted her head, making her blush deeply. Her spirits began to lift. However, the fragile peace shattered at the grating sound of Hyun grinding her teeth. Heh, 1 weekend out and you're already this close. Her words sent a chill down Lee's spine, forcing him back. Hejun's glare bore into Vivi. You like that outfit Yuan gave you that much? Take your little love fest somewhere else. Monster, Vivi shot back unexpectedly. Are you jealous? Her words stunned Yuan, while Hyun erupted like a cornered animal. Wasn't getting beaten in the duel enough for you, monster? Hyun snarled. Vivi ducked behind Yuan, her eyes still blazing with defiance. Yuan had no choice but to step in and mediate. Wait, calm down, Hejun. Class is about to start. Let's not fight. Vivi glanced at Hejun, smirking, as if you weren't the one who bullied me first. Her words made Jun tremble with rage, while Yuan shot a warning glare at Vivi. You too. Time slipped away as the group made its way to the Babylon Constellation Lecture Hall. Before we enter, Lai asked worriedly, This is the Babylon Lecture Hall, right? We're not late, are we? They also had a class last week. If underclassmen like us join halfway, what will the seniors think? Yuan smirked. Worried about that? Of course. They'll think we're genius underclassmen, right? He opened the door, and the gazes of every student inside fell upon them, a wave of considerable pressure. Hyun conceded, just as expected. They're upperclassmen, and I can't underestimate their abilities. In contrast to Hojun's composure, Fucho nervously gripped Yuan's arm, his face pale with dread. Compared to his friends, he perceived so much more. Gods, I knew this was a class for the exceptional. But what is this? Before Yuan's eyes, countless unclear notifications appeared, revealing the terrifying power of the upperclassmen. His current strength was too low to assess their power. A true Manhwa level up was needed. The system announced, You have successfully understood and interpreted a portion of a transcendent being's concept. Your understanding of the Book of All Poisons has reached 137. Unable to read Yuan's thoughts, Professor Jean, after seeing the freshmen had arrived, spoke up to welcome them. Welcome, 11th graders. I am very happy to see you all joining my class. I am Jean, your supervising professor. You may sit in any empty seat. As for you, Yuan froze. He recognized that voice from his battle with a rector. After the group settled in, the professor began the lecture. In the syllabus I've handed out, the goal of this course is very clear: to understand the origin of the tower and the constellations. Since today we have underclassmen joining, we will first learn about the tower. At first glance, the tower may seem to have no rules or an endpoint, but in reality, it is a living organism. When climbing the tower, we must overcome trials and discover the hidden treasures within. You might think you receive rewards for overcoming the trials, but that's a misconception. You are not hunting for treasure. Rather, the tower itself has prepared them for you. The purpose is to select the most elite individuals with more precious items, rarer treasures, and more transcendent magic. The tower seeks out those who can comprehend it, revealing more secrets to those who understand. It is a fundamental condition of any intelligent being with higher reasoning abilities. Returning to Yuan, he inwardly scoffed at the vice principal's words. What utter nonsense. A fragile system, overturned by one invader through unorthodox means, and he's talking about the tower choosing people. Isn't that a gross exaggeration? How can anyone believe this? But then Yuan suddenly became pensive. He began recalling events from the tower climb and thought, wait a minute. The period when the principal's letters were sent out was not long after an invader had entered the tower. So, we assumed the unusual phenomenon was the spider swarm. But thinking on it now, the difficulty on the first floor was quite strange. The thing that instantly erased Luai was definitely an elite monster. If the tower only started getting weird after we reached the fourth room and the invader started causing trouble, then the hell-level difficulty in rooms 1, 2, and 3 makes no sense. What on earth is going on here? Could the tower really be like a living organism? This assessment sounds crazy, but if I change the premise, suppose the tower's difficulty didn't change because of invaders, but for another reason. Could it be because of that? Just think, was that hell-level difficulty truly set by the tower itself for us? Or was it perhaps because I am a descendant of the tower's master? Is that why it happened? Gods, that sounds so narcissistic. It makes absolutely no sense. The more Yuan thought, the more confused he became, so much that his hybrid friend next to him had to ask, "What's wrong, Yuan?" At the front, although the vice principal was still lecturing, his eyes were constantly on Yuan. Seeing the boy's restless expression, he suddenly gave a mysterious smile, turning back to Yuan, who was still stroking his chin in thought. There's no need to overthink it. If the tower itself chooses its climbers, as the professor said, then there's no better environment than this. At the very least, our class faced a more difficult challenge and a different situation compared to everyone else. They say high risk, high reward. This is a true Manhwa level up, so the prize must be on a completely different tier. Why can't I grasp this idea? What is this class really? Across the room, Vice Principal Zhou met Yuan's confused gaze and said in astonishment, "Have you already discovered it? The barrier layer surrounding it. Some students don't notice it even after many years. Yet, you discovered that orb on your first day auditing the class. That's right. You're very sharp, Banan. It is surprising. Even as a first-year student, you are completely worthy of attending this lecture." As he spoke, the professor reached into the air and pulled down a purple orb that was floating above the class. He continued, "I have a question for you, Banan. What do you see inside this orb?" The cryptic question made Yuan observe the orb intently, but his system only showed vague information. Yuan answered awkwardly, "I don't see anything." Hearing this, Zhou simply smiled. "You need to focus more. Check again. Still nothing." Yuan shook his head. "Try to focus again. There must be something you can. Behold. Try to uncover the secret of this orb," Zhao encouraged. After a moment of intense observation, Yuan began to notice a few concepts inside. Shield, sever, protect, but he couldn't grasp anything beyond that. His face clouded with confusion. Zhao realized he had reached his limit and didn't push for more. "Very good. You can close your eyes and rest now." Yuan let out a sigh of relief. Zhao couldn't help but be surprised. "I didn't expect you to discover 3 of the orb's abilities. You're truly not ordinary at all. Now I understand why the principal has taken such an interest in you." He continued to ask, "Do you understand what this is?" "Not at all," Yuan answered bluntly. The response left the vice principal a bit flustered. "You're very honest, but you must think more carefully. I want to emphasize to all of you that in your studies and in life, expanding your thinking and nurturing your imagination is extremely important. Expanding your mind is directly related to expanding your power. If you want to use your abilities at a higher level, you must develop your thinking and strive to direct it. You must train your ability to think. Even if the results aren't immediately apparent, you must never stop thinking." These words made Yuan feel confused, constantly thinking, "What does that have to do with the orb?" He thought to himself before asking directly, "If someone has high perceptive ability or a powerful imagination, can they control this orb?" The question surprised EXO, but he nodded. Precisely. One day, if you can understand the structure of all things, analyze it, and develop the ability to expand upon it, this orb will turn you into a god. The entire class fell silent, seemingly deep in thought. Zhao laughed. It might be hard to understand now, but through the process of learning, you will gradually come to understand. This is the core content of my lecture, and it is closely related. Let's get to the main topic, the Constellation War simulation. Today's class ends here. For homework, I want you to imagine the possible applications of this. See you all next week. As for Yuan, he still hadn't grasped much from the lecture. He scratched his head and muttered, "This is too complicated. A god is a god, but what's a pseudo-god? A godlike being or a false god? What's the principle behind becoming a god? This is far beyond a simple manhwa level up. This class is way too hard," Yuan thought, his brain about to explode. Meanwhile, the students began to leave the lecture hall. Lai turned to the others and said, "Let's get going." After they went outside, Yuan still didn't understand anything from the lecture and wanted someone to explain it. "Can anyone explain that lecture to me again?" His question made Li's eyes go wide. "Huh? I thought you'd be the one to naturally summarize it for us." Just then, a familiar voice rang out from beside the group. "So, the lecture is over already." Hearing this, Yuan jumped and turned to shout, "Tima, what are you doing here?" In response, the blonde noble shot him a contemptuous look. "You lowly creature. Shut up, I'm the one asking the questions here." He glanced around and asked, "Where is she?" The whole group was confused. Lai vaguely spoke up. "Her? You don't mean?" The image of a certain person immediately popped into their heads. Just then, Hojan's voice cut through the tension. "What's all this noise about?" She walked over, looking on with curiosity. At the crowd, her gaze cutting through them to settle on Optima, she mused coldly. "Well now, I thought something significant was unfolding before me." Spotting Hojan, Optima strode forward without hesitation. He met her gaze and declared with grim intensity, "You are Hojan, correct?" Hearing this, Hojan simply crossed her arms, her voice laced with ice. "I am." "What of it?" Optima pressed on. "I have a matter to discuss with you." His words earned a flicker of irritation from the swordswoman. "Another challenge? If you have a death wish, I won't deny you. But a proper duel is difficult within this academy's walls." However, Tima's next action stunned the onlookers. He abruptly fell to one knee, manifesting a perfect bouquet of roses from his inventory. He offered the flowers to Hojan and proclaimed solemnly, "Hojan, I am asking you for a date." After speaking, his face burned crimson with the weight of his declaration. Yuan's companions, standing behind, stared with wide eyes, a cold sweat breaking on their brows. They feared for Tima, who would dare utter such a thing to Hojanuary. As for Hojan, her face went dark, unleashing a killing intent that threatened to consume everyone present. None could process what they were seeing. Yuan and Lie's faces went ashen. They could not comprehend the man's twisted fixation. "He's actually obsessed with the girl who nearly ended him," Lai stated flatly. "The answer was embedded in your question," Yuan whispered in horror. "This can't be real." With a resigned look, Jian calmly interjected, "You are both the same, so cease your bickering. I am far more curious about his underlying strategy." The three turned to her, question marks hanging over their heads. "What strategy?" Jian then said coolly. "You all fail to see it." She then walked closer, explaining as she moved, "He must have a deeper, ulterior motive. I see no trace of romance in his eyes." Yuan glanced back lazily and retorted, "No, it's not what you think. You're looking rather sharp yourself." Hearing that, Jian, who was easily flustered, grew shy. Her entire body tensed as she stammered, "You? Why are you suddenly saying such things?" "I am aware of my own appeal. You don't need to announce it." Someone beside her warned Jian, "Pay his silver tongue no mind. That man is trouble." Jian replied bashfully, "Of course, I know that." "Fine. You don't have to tell me." Nearby, Ducha wondered to herself, is there truly another motive? But those eyes were undeniably fixed on her. Recalling the events from moments ago, Hojan had flatly rejected the blonde man with a stern voice. "I have no interest in you, so do not seek me out again," she stated, turning her back on him as he remained kneeling on one knee. Just then, Yuan turned and caught his expression. It was clear he was shattered and crestfallen from the rejection. He looked utterly broken as he struggled back to his feet. Why pursue such attachments in this era? It is so draining. You are better off focusing on your own survival. A moment later, at the training grounds, he received a system notification. You have exposed yourself to numerous entities, engraving your existence into their consciousness. You have awakened new concepts, charisma and honor. The value for both is 10. He thought, this is a true asterisk, Manhwa level up asterisk. A new concept materialized just after this week's video was uploaded. Charisma, 10. The ability to captivate and influence others. Honor, 10. The authority gained from being acknowledged by other beings. These stats seemed potent, but were they useful for ascending the tower? Curious, he immediately faced Ducho and asked, "Have I been looking more handsome lately?" She was startled and confused, but still complimented him, saying he seemed even more striking. The praise instantly inflated his ego, but this only provoked Xian, who unleashed an aura of terrifying jealousy that stunned everyone. She then roared, "You two, focus on the task. Stop the public displays right now." Her eyes blazed with murderous intent, her hands gripping Lai, who was being used as a punching bag to vent her fury. He quickly asked Ducho if she noticed anything different, but before he could finish, Xian shoved him squarely in the face. She snapped with a blush. "Didn't you hear what I just said? You are supposed to be focused on your training." Then she chided him in frustration. "At this rate, we'll be training until dawn." Yun saw this and called Ruo over to practice. Meanwhile, Li looked like he was about to weep. "Please let me rest for a moment." His wish was granted, as he collapsed onto the floor. In the training yard, Yun was sparring fiercely with Ruo. They moved and parried attacks with blinding speed, and her combat prowess was steadily sharpening. The force of their clashing techniques was staggering. From the sidelines, Lai offered his assessment. "Yun, you've gotten much stronger. I believe it might be time for more advanced training." But Xian immediately shot that down. "Not yet." Leaning against the wall, she clarified, "He has gotten stronger, but he's still a far cry from you two. The only reason he's able to keep up is that Ruo is holding back." She watched him fight, her mind a storm of calculations. "Tomorrow, we enter the tower. Have you devised a way to deal with that monster, Yun? This is a true Manhwa level up challenge. If not, it'll be a repeat of last time. If we don't find a solution, we'll just fail again." Meanwhile, Yun activated his all-seeing eye. Golden sparks flashed in his vision as he thought to himself, "After training with Ruo for a week, I'm beginning to understand her. Her rage is triggered by her emotions, and her state shifts depending on which emotion is fueling it. When negative emotions like anger are used as fuel, she becomes much harder to control. But conversely, when fueled by positive emotions like joy, her rage subsides, and she becomes stable once more. But in the chaos of battle, feelings of rage are almost unavoidable, and that's the reason she can't control her power." He dodged the blow, then used the flat of his sword to send her flying. With a loud thud, Ruo's body was knocked back, landing flat on the ground. Witnessing this outcome shocked the other two. Ruo seemed to be growing angry just as he had an epiphany. In that moment, his hands formed a magic circle as he silently calculated. He had spent the entire week with Ruo, collecting fragments of her emotions from when she was happy, relaxed, and quiet. Not the fake emotions, but what she truly felt, her very own feelings. In his hand were those very emotions. He lunged forward to strike Ruo with her own happiness, his desperate plan now in motion. It should have worked. However, as his hand neared, Ruo violently slapped it away, baring her fangs. She then lunged, a feral blur, slamming him to the ground. In that moment, Yuan was completely powerless. He could only watch, paralyzed, as the enraged Ruo raised her sharp claws, forcing the other two to rush over in a desperate panic. Just then, the serpent's chains erupted, binding her arms securely to her sides. Ruo shrieked against the bonds, unable to break free. Mercifully, she returned to normal, and Yuan gasped, finally breathing a sigh of relief. That berserker state was terrifyingly brief. But must we do this every time? Each fight is a deadly risk. Something has shifted. This is a dark Manhwa level up. But what is the trigger? Her demeanor suddenly flipped. "Thank you. Because of you, she fights more freely." This alone was a massive step forward. "I'm so glad you're here." He was thrilled. Aiding her brought its own rewards. Abruptly, John appeared, startling Yuan, who stammered, "We're just training hard, not fooling around." She just calmly replied, "I know. It's fortunate no one was seriously injured. More importantly, everything is." She suddenly stopped, leaving the sentence unfinished and everyone in confusion. What's gotten into her? That's all for today's training. The next day, they would enter the tower again. What waits for them inside will unfold in the next part. The tower's gates await. If you're curious about the horrors they'll face, consider subscribing and share your theories below.